A thunderstormy night kicks off the tale in an old house. A group in black cloaks stands silent. Only one dares to speak through the wind. Raindrops pool into a mirror reflecting the sky in the courtyard. A muddy kid appears, dripping like a walking lump of dirt. He glares fiercely at the dark strangers. The air is so tense it could snap like a violin string. One man with embered eyes studies the boy. He wonders why the kid is in this forsaken place. He calls him little warrior and politely asks to stay the night. The boy's curious about their oddly refined tone. He figures they must think Hez the caretaker of this ruin. Trying to act grown up, he replies politely. He says has lived here for years and lets them choose any room. But he firmly warns them not to touch his little pavilion. The cloak group nods, grateful for his hospitality. Their leader orders everyone to avoid the boy's quarters. They all answer in unison like soldiers. They scatter to find dry spots to rest. The boy notices the word Tang embroidered on their clothes. A spark of thought, could they share his origin? He shrugs it off, there's more urgent stuff to do. He returns to his cozy pavilion. Time to prepare dinner for the little ones. His stern face melts into a bright grin. He yells for the gang to come eat. On the stove sits a pot as big as a jar. He lifts the lid, steam and secrets billow out. Inside, a tiny, lively brown cricket jumps. He jokes they must be starving enough to tremble. Then he opens another pot. Inside lurks Haidihu, a huge, beautiful, terrifying spider, a tarantula almost hand-sized, patterned like a tiger coat. He feeds Hai cricket while chatting tenderly. Hai chomps down with crunchy satisfaction. The boy watches, thrilled like he just won the lottery. He marvels Hai used to be the size of a bean. Now it's big enough to be a true companion. After feeding he opens a drawer. Out comes an orange-white striped lizard named Balang. He mutters how he once couldn't afford pets. Now his room's full of creatures that keep him smiling. While feeding, Balang bites his finger. He jumps and waves like drumming, but the bite holds firm. His yelp pulls him back to distant memories. Once, he was a million-follower streamer and biologist, specializing in the world's most dangerous creatures. On his million-view stream, he featured 10 deadly snakes, but his black mamba hunt in Africa became a one-way trip. In the clip, he joked it was like finding Wi-Fi in the jungle. He said he'd take a break and return to hunt the boss again. Loyal fans told him to rest easy, they'd wait for his comeback. But he collapsed, still empty-handed. Comments blew up half-joking. Did the mamba move in with him? Turns out the snake was chilling atop his fridge, and in one frame, it sent him straight to meet his ancestors. Thus ended the streamer Turnelegends saga. Thinking back, he feels like he failed at the final boss. Outside, an old man in black appears at the pavilion door. He knocks gently, calling the boy in a friendly tone. The boy opens the door and politely asks what he needs. The old man smiles kindly, inviting him to dinner, boasting about a freshly caught deer. Hearing deer meat, the boy's eyes light up like headlights. Usually he eats reptiles, so forest venison sounds divine. He nods eagerly and follows the group. The clearing glows under crackling campfire light. Everyone sits in a circle, chatting lively. A golden deer roasts over the coals, smelling heavenly. His mouth nearly floods like a spring. The old man laughs, not done yet. Patience. To pass time, he asks a few questions. The boy blushes, caught drooling mid-stare. The old man asks if he lives alone, how old he is. The boy lies about memory loss from a childhood fall. For a job, he claims to catch snakes and sell their skins. The man looks shocked. The boy shrugs his routine now. Someone brings fragrant grilled meat and shares it around. Another teases, "Kid, you must be starving." The boy grins, it's been ages since Hez had real meat. One bite and flavor explodes straight into his brain. He thinks blissfully, taste but heaven achieved. The elders watch, smiling softly. They tell him to eat freely, they'd like a chat later. The leader says they're hunting something strange. His face turns somber, clearly weighing words. The silver-haired man urges, "A debt's a debt, tell him." The chief nods and begins the tale. They're tracking a centipede with bizarre blue spots. The boy gasps, "Blue-spotted centipede. They say it's enormous, surely has seen one." He asks, "How big?" The chief says gravely, "Big enough to swallow you whole." The boy pales, heart nearly leaping out. He wonders if this is time travel or a whole new planet. The silver-haired man pats him. "Don't worry, we're close to catching it." The boy frowns, planning to keep it as a pet. The group stares. Did he just say what we think he said? The silver-haired man laughs. The chief joins, "Funny kid." "Nope, it's for alchemy." The boy's brain spins. Are they alchemists, hunters, or a cult? He asks, "How do you make medicine from a centipede?" The old man sighs, his granddaughter's dying. Only the centipede's core can save her, so they've hunted tirelessly ever since. The boy starts connecting dots. The chief confirms the sick girl is his daughter. The boy realizes they'd risk everything for family. Though skeptical, he feels for them and for the centipede and decides to help. He mentions the creature, making the chief's ears perk. He says he hasn't seen it directly, but has a strong hunch where to find it. Though once killed by a snake, Spicy Fabry was still a monster of zoology. He knows venomous creatures inside out. On Earth's 8 million species, 20,000 are venomous, and has studied them all. The centipede family's on that list too, making Fabry a walking toxic encyclopedia. He digs through his mental archives on centipedes, flipping old textbooks in his head. Facts resurface crystal clear. until one clue clicks, snapping back. He confidently claims he knows their lair. The elders leap up shouting, "Where?" He counters, "Which areas have you searched so far?" They say they've scoured the north and east only in daylight, mostly along the river banks. The boy smirks. "Well, no wonder you found nothing." The chief frowns, urging him to explain. The boy starts lecturing centipedes are arthropods, class Chilopoda cold-blooded pros. They need stable warmth, not soggy places. With thin skin, they avoid sunlight and strong winds. Unlike dry-bodied bugs, centipedes have fragile shells and tiny breathing pores, meaning the blue-spotted one hates both soggy and deserty, so forests or rivers are dead wrong. The elders gape, realizing their old knowledge was garbage. He adds, "Small ones differ, but big ones need dry, hidden cracks in rock to live." The group nods in awe, utterly convinced. They beg, "Then where exactly? Tell us." The boy grins mischievously, then points west, saying, "Try the Rocky Mountains over there." They hide under warm stones by day and hunt at night. Hours later, the crew reaches the mountains, searching every crevice. The chief stands atop a cliff, eyes scanning every cave. Someone mutters, "Maybe the kid guessed wrong." The chief thinks, then fires a flare to regroup. Red light rips the sky, and they gather, wary but hopeful. Still empty-handed, yet faith in the boy remains strong. The chief stays silent, eyes heavy with thought. He speaks hoarsely of Huyen, genius daughter of the Tang clan, and laments to heaven's indifference. Suddenly someone shouts, "The Grand Chief has returned." The chief leaps up to greet him. The group gathers around the fire in solemn quiet. The Grand Chief asks, "Still no sign?" Only a grim nod answers. He asks back, "And you?" Met with silence again, he murmurs, "Yu Yun has 3 months left, 10 days won't be enough." The group sinks into a heavy silence. The chief suggests, "Tomorrow we try south, never check there." The Grand Chief agrees, saying he's never seen any trace there. That line suddenly sparks realization. He laughs, slapping his forehead. "Heavens, it's so simple, we're already there." The chief asks, "You've discovered something?" The Grand Chief shakes his head. "No, but absence itself is the clue." He continues slowly, "No signs mean it's hiding right here." Then asks, "Past 3 days, any creature spotted?" The chief answers, "None. No droppings, no tracks, nothing." And he suddenly understands. The Grand Chief confirms, "This desolate mountain is no accident, something's claimed it." The chief gulps, picturing a monster ruling this land. The Grand Chief concludes that all others were eaten or driven out. He grips his clansman's shoulder, declaring, "The blue-spotted centipede lies beneath our feet." Hope sparks among the wary faces, though the chief's eyes still mourn a worried father's sorrow. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently. The whole team drops into battle stance. Cracks echo through the mountains. The campfire collapses as if sucked below. Then something colossal bursts from underground. The group freezes, minds blank. A gigantic leg emerges. Then another, scraping and hissing horribly. Everyone trembles, pointing there. It's that thing. The creature rises, spreading terror through the team. Even the Grand Chief feels a chill. More legs keep crawling out one by one, each leg thick as a house pillar. Then the full body of the blue-spotted centipede emerges, so monstrous it swallows their screams. Meanwhile, back at the academy, the boy grumbles at the rumbling outside, guessing it's the biggest boss on the map. He mutters, "I only said look for it. Are they mining the whole mountain?" Yet his eyes gleam. Toxic animal fans can't resist. After a brutal fight, the hunters finally slay the beast. Battered but victorious, from its corpse, they extract a glowing blue core and seal it in a wooden box. Tears fall. Huyen can finally be saved. The chief tells the Grand Chief to take the wounded back to Sichuan. Surprising him, the chief says, "Hatred is carved in blood, but gratitude must be carved in stone. That's our way." The Grand Chief realizes had nearly forgotten gratitude while worrying for his daughter. He agrees. Right, the boy deserves reward in anything he asks. The chief sends the wounded home and goes to find the kid. He suspects the boy's probably watching the chaos like an action movie. At the academy, the boy's surrounded by 3 golden critters, mini Pikachu centipedes. Yep, our hero's now the accidental dad of 3 baby blue-spotted centipedes. Tiny and absurdly cute, they nuzzle his cheeks affectionately. He glances at the pot, suddenly remembering last night. Returning home, had cleaned 3 eggs and placed them on his bedside table. By morning, they'd all hatched at once. One perched proudly on his head like declaring ownership. He knew eggs could hatch early, but that was record speed live broadcast. The little ones crawl all over him, and he gently tries peeling them off, but they cling tight like super glue. Shadowing Dad nonstop, he recalls the night before, daring to crawl into the monster's den out of curiosity. His thirst for research made him ignore the risk of death. He tells himself, still spicy Fabry the mad scientist lives, so he roamed the cave, and in frustration kicked something solid. His torch fell. He stumbled, nearly losing balance. Luckily, the 3 eggs nearby were unharmed. Had the rain not eased, they'd be mushed by now. Knowing he couldn't linger, he packed the eggs and cleaned them up. He tied them at his waist, walking and whispering like a proud father. Though he never met their mother, is glad to save a biological treasure. He sighs, "Kids, let me breathe, please," knowing they won't eat until molting twice. He relaxes, just annoyed by their clinginess. Then an idea strikes. If I go in water, they'll have to let go. He grins wickedly as kids shiver, sensing doom. Meanwhile, the Grand Chief reaches the academy. He heads toward the familiar pavilion. Knocking, he calls, "Young warrior, are you in there?" No answer. He waits a bit longer, then gently pushes the door open. Inside, herbs, bottles, and glass jars line the room. He wonders aloud, could the boy be a healer, then realizes his trespassing. He turns to leave, planning to return later. Suddenly he hears rustling. It's coming from a lidded pot. Curious, he lifts the lid, nearly drops his glasses. A giant spider stares back. Even more curious, he opens the next drawer, revealing a brightly colored lizard. Then he tries another pot. Inside, glittering beetles shimmer, not to mention a few eggs and a coiled dried snake. He freezes. This kid's basically running a venomous zoo. Even the famed Tang clan of toxin tamers never dared breed whole colonies, just milked venom at best. He realizes saving his daughter might have been luck, but true fortune was meeting this boy. Just then, the young warrior enters and bows politely. Seeing the man's bandaged arm, he worries, but the elder smiles. It's just a scratch. The elder's about to speak seriously when he suddenly stops. A chilling aura fills the room. Then boom, an explosion at the front door behind the boy. From the smoke, a shadow forms, steps in a lighted, deformed body. One eye, half-burned face like a walking nightmare. The elder reacts instantly, shoving the boy aside, shouting, "Run!" But the boy's still stunned. The monster roars like thunder, charging in a blur. It moves like a living storm. Its hand, the size of a mortar, comes crashing down. The old man blocks with his good arm, groaning from the impact's fury, is hurled away like straw against a wall. Dust clouds choke the air, sight lost in chaos, coughing blood. He realizes the creature's strength rivals his own father's. He yells again, "Run, kid!" When the smoke clears, his heart stops. The boy's lifted by the neck. He wheezes weakly as the monster laughs wickedly. It rasps. The Tang clan came to Hainan, the saint of 10,000 poisons, son reduced to this. The elder shouts, "Who are you? Why attack us?" And the child? The monster growls, "Don't recognize me. In Bloodhand Rakasa Takanyang, your father made me this." The elder gasps, "Takanyang, you survived. You fell off the cliff with a poison strike." He pleads, "Kill me if you must spare the boy." But Aang sneers coldly, "Anyone of Tang blood must die." The elder curses, "You demon in human skin." Aang only grins, squeezing the boy's throat tighter, his face paling fast. He roars, "Die, so I can rest easy." The boy gasps out a plea, vision dim into black. Then 3 tiny lights flash the eyes of the baby centipedes. They leap straight onto the monster's arm. Small but savage, they bite like lightning. Blood sprays everywhere. Aang panics at the sudden assault. He screams, flinging the boy down. "Little pests think you can kill me." But his neck darkens purple. Blood spurts from his mouth, and he collapses, writhing on the floor. The boy gasps, wide-eyed as dead. Trembling, he asks, "Sir, was he truly evil?" The old man, frozen by what he saw, stands stone-faced, then suddenly bursts out laughing, realizing this kid is anything but ordinary. Inwardly he vows, "I must bring this boy into the Tang clan no matter what." Days later, when Aang's corpse is mere rumor, calm returns. The boy tends to the elder, placing warm towels and urging him to rest. The elder thanks him. The boy replies, "No thanks, just tell me where everyone is so I can visit." But then he realizes he can't leave the old man alone or fetch a doctor. The elder smiles, "No worries, he'll recover soon." The boy gazes in admiration, wounded yet unflinching, then shakes his head. "You're stubborn." Lying there pretending to be steel. The old man chuckles, "Am a martial artist pain's just part of breakfast?" The boy's eyes widen. "You mean the anim kind flying, fireball shooting stuff? Poor spicy Fabry, he really thinks everyone graduates from Shaolin Academy." The old man laughs, "Not exactly, but you're not wrong either." The boy gapes again, proof positive has not unearthed no planet home to house his eyes centipedes. The elder's voice softens, "I owe you my life." Then he introduces himself formally, "Im Tang Kailson, of the Tang clan in Sichuan." The boy replies, "Im Wei Sorian." "Sir." Kailson nods approvingly, "So means small." Ryong means dragon, bold name. He says he's got a million questions. Soriang beams, "Ask away." The first one makes him grimace. "Those 3 centipedes on you, are they venomous?" Soriang smiles gently, stroking one. "Yes, sir, they're blue-spotted centipedes." Kailson jumps like electrocuted. "What? You tame blue-spotted ones? And the other beasts, are they yours too?" Soriang scratches his head. "Huh? It's a long story, you want to hear it?" Kailson grins. "I've got all day." So Soriang recounts how he found and raised the eggs. When he finishes, Kailson asks again, "From eggs?" And the boy nods. He even predicts hatching time. Kailson stares, mind spinning. This goes beyond human limits. Soriang jumps up, runs to a drawer, pulling out 2 lizards to show off. One's brown with yellow-white stripes, common species. The other's rare brown body, pure white tail, no stripes, his own hybrid creation. Kailson gapes, "You bred that color yourself?" Soriang blushes proudly. "Yeah, I thought it'd look cool." Kailson regains a serious tone. "Then could you breed venomous species to make something deadlier?" Soriang blinks, then nods thoughtfully. "In theory, yes." He explains, "If I find stronger venom carriers, crossbreeding's possible." Kailson doesn't even let him finish. "Really? Truly?" Making Soriang's heart skip like meeting a fanboy elder. Kailson grabs his shoulders excitedly. "Join the Tang clan. Kid, you'll learn martial arts, toxin arts, alchemy, anything you want. With talent like yours, Even the 10 mythic venoms of Zongyuan would bow to you. Then the killer offer, and if you don't mind, I'll introduce my daughter, one of the 3 flowers of Zongyuan. Soryang jolts. Wait, what was that last part? Kaelson laughs. Haha, still a boy after all, and rambles about the 3 legendary beauties. Soryang waves him off. Forget the girls. Tell me about the 10 venomous beasts. Are they cooler than blue-spotted centipedes? Kaelson nods firmly. Far deadlier. Blue-spotted's just beginner tier. From giant scorpions to metallic gold frogs, whatever you imagine. These are the nightmare upgrades. Seeing Soryang's eyes gleam like twin lanterns, Kaelson smiles. His 10 venoms bait has hooked the young scientist's soul. Soryang is ecstatic, eyes blazing like truck headlights. 2 days later, Tang disciples rush in, panting, shouting shocking news. Bloodhand Rakasa Takang has reappeared. Kaelson says gravely, has been secluded. Refining poisons, his power now rivals my father's. The Tang disciples realize if the founder allows his return, the man must have reached the realm of 10,000 venoms sovereign. Everyone bursts into applause like they just won the lottery. The Grandmaster chuckles awkwardly. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't me. He reveals the real hero who defeated Aang was the young man himself. Tang disciples gape, shaking Soryang's hands in thanks for saving their master. Some suspect has an ageless elder in disguise, while Soryang just looks like a confused student at pop quiz time. Seeing his blank face, an elder laughs, show us something then. Instantly hyping the crowd, Soryang pats his chest, calling his little darlings out to play. Tang disciples fixate on him, as 3 adorable centipedes peek out from his shirt. Gasps erupt, they recognize the lambda centipedes that felled Aang. Disciples bombard him with toxin questions. Stunned he tamed such beasts. The Grandmaster says that's why they want him to join, but Soryang asks for time to think. One advises, don't miss this heaven-sent chance. The Grandmaster suggests they depart soon before opportunities fade. Soryang, puzzled, asks what's left to find, and Kaelson explains, Bloodhand Rakasa, also known as Tak Ayang, once mastered the Bloodhand Venom Claw, a vile martial art fueled by blood and marrow. Soryang's skin crawls. Kaelson adds that if any scrolls or disciples remain, they must erase them completely. They also need to rescue captives. The Grandmaster turns to Soryang for help, since he knows Hainan's terrain best. Soryang pauses, weighing his future. Joining Tang Clan feels like signing a long-term contract, one toxic boss and you're doomed. He agrees to help once the Grandmaster recovers, earning praise for his prudence. Soryang just smiles, saving people is natural to him. Deep down, he sees it as a chance to investigate the Tang Clan's secrets. After all, true heroes conduct reverse interviews. Kaelson needs 3 days to heal. The team stops at a village near an old dojo, tracing Rakasa's trail. They ask locals about missing persons. A village elder says a few vanish yearly, nothing strange about that. Kaelson stays silent, thinking hard like taking a brutal exam. They thank the elder, who humbly calls helping the Tang Clan an honor. The team leaves empty-handed, trekking through the forest. Soryang remarks the village was dull enough to induce naps. Kaelson replies Aang once appeared nearby, but finding his lair is like fishing in a sandstorm. Soryang also finds it odd no traces left at all. Then Aang's last words flash in Soryang's mind like a light bulb. He asks K. Olsen if he remembers Aang's words. K. Olsen admits he forgot, since he was being tossed like a sack of rice at the time. Soryang reminds him Aang mentioned hearing of the Tang Clan's arrival, meaning someone leaked their presence. The clue is crystal clear. They just need to check every Hainan stop the Tang Clan made, and the leak will surface. Soryang suggests using Aang's portrait to gather intel. The group stares like he just invented infinite energy from iced tea. They all praise his razor-sharp reasoning. If anyone saw the Tang Clan and informed Aang, tracking that lead is child's play, so the group heads to a village duller than a sad indie movie poster. A disciple reports rumors from Hainan's port pointing straight to this place. An elder notes it's a Halai settlement, pray they're peaceful. The villagers move, like ghosts drained of souls. The Tang group calls out for someone, drawing one man's attention. Upon hearing they're from the Tang Clan, the villagers coldly ask why they've come. An old man emerges with a small girl and 2 wary guards. Kaelson steps forward to greet and introduce himself. Soryang silently observes the exchange. He noticed the frail girl and the villagers looking like a pandemic sale drained their souls. A sudden spark of thought flashed in his mind. Everyone looked worn out, like they accidentally swallowed emotion killer pills. The village chief insisted no one was missing. Everything was fine. He stubbornly drove the guests away. A village elder tried to comment about fewer people in many houses but got cut off by the chief's mantra, no problem here. The group was escorted out. K. Olsen and Soryang froze like lagging MCs. Kaelson murmured that the Halai people used to be friendly. Now neither could explain the change. Soryang glanced again at the little girl. Suddenly, she collapsed. Panic broke out. The chief hugged her, crying and begging Majin not to leave him, fearing she had the same illness. Kaelson stepped forward, offering his limited medical skills, asking if it was Central Plains medicine. Kaelson confirmed, not a doctor, but knew enough to try. The chief nodded in approval. He revealed a strange plague, kids dying, adults turning into sticks. K. Olsen promised to help however he could. The chief thanked them profusely as they carried the girl inside. He yelled at the guards and motioned the accidental healers to follow. The group rushed in. Soryang asked a Tangman disciple if that elder knew medicine too. The man nodded, explaining Tangman martial arts tied to poison mastery. Strong skill needs strong medical base. Soryang thought they were less assassins and more biotech researchers. The The man added they sometimes tested poison on criminals, making Soryeong mentally scream, "Ethics class! Anyone!" He imagined human experiments and shivered like watching a midnight horror flick. The village road was so quiet they could hear leaves fall like in a ghost meeting. Inside one house, a small figure lay unconscious by the wall. Kaelson said he had used internal force to steady her breathing, making the chief cry waterfalls. The old man knelt, begging them to save his only grandchild. Kaelson sensed a strange pulse and asked if she had heart issues. The chief said she'd been weak for half a year. Many villagers were sick too, hence his wish they'd leave soon. K. Olsen suggested heart medicine and proposed gathering everyone for treatment. The chief wept in joy, thanking endlessly. Soryeong looked at Kaelson with admiration and curiosity. Night fell. A Tangmin disciple strolled with the patriarch. Praising his compassion, the patriarch smiled, thanking Jupi. Pai asked about the illness, and Kaelson described odd symptoms, including fatigue, swollen eyelids, mild fever, and erratic heartbeat. Severe cases had heart damage. Kaelson asked where Soryeong was. Pai said he was probably asleep from exhaustion. Kaelson nodded. No martial arts meant weak stamina. He decided to check on him. Pai led the way. They tiptoed into the room. Soryeong was snoring, with 3 centipedes curled up like tame pets. Kaelson peeked through the door crack, noticed something odd, stepped closer, and reached towards Soryeong. His hand struck down in a flash, making Soryeong jump up, clutching his cheek in pain. Kaelson glared like a teacher catching a cheater mid-test. Soryeong froze, retreating defensively. Furious, he yelled why he got smacked. As Kaelson hurriedly apologized, there was a bug on his face. Soryeong doubted it, but Kaelson pleaded, "Wait, hear me out." He said he saw a bug crawling on Soryeong's face, and since this region swarmed with venomous insects, he reacted instinctively. Then he showed the tiny bug he had just caught. Soryeong looked down, eyes wide. He froze for a few seconds. Then his eyes lit up like cracking a case. He confirmed with K. Olsen that all patients had heart issues. K. Olsen nodded. Soryeong declared it found the cause, pointing at the bug and calling it a kissing bug, a species from the Reduvida family. It bites around eyes or lips, sucking blood while giving a deadly kiss. Smaller than a mosquito but crueler than a vampire, carries parasites that infect through waste. The result, Chagas disease, a global nightmare once upon a time. Soryeong asked if the village dogs also had shortness of breath. The chief confirmed and asked if it was because of the bug. Soryeong nodded firmly, saying the right medicine could save them. K. Olsen grinned like winning the medical jackpot. Kaelson asked his opinion, who praised Soryeong as a living treasure. Seeing them whisper, Soryeong grew suspicious. What are these guys plotting now? They just replied they were from Sichuan Tangmin, making Soryeong so what? Face cracked the group up. Kaelson explained about Gyuyu, a dark art using poisonous insects made by evil cultivators in China. Those people controlled or tortured others through bugs. Soryeong gasped, "For real? That's nightmare fuel." Kaelson nodded, saying many martial artists died or became puppets under Gu curses. Some even harmed loved ones, so the martial world always sought antidotes to end it. He said they were developing medicine to expel or kill Gu parasites inside bodies. Soryeong finally grasped the whole picture. Kaelson dramatically asked and answered, who else could craft the cure? The legendary Sichuan Tangmin. Of course, he bragged they once made a potion that dissolved worms the size of fists. These bugs were nothing. He produced an antigu pill, claiming a drop would work. Soryeong politely praised it but suspected it was fancy laxative. The Tangmin disciple reassured the chief they would definitely save little Majin. Soon, villagers began recovering, starting with her. The chief sighed in relief, smiling warm like early spring festival joy. Kaelson admitted without Soryeong, they'd be lost, and all thanks belongs to him. Villagers swarmed to thank the young hero, calling him their lifesaver. Though Tangmin made the cure, K. Olsen gave Soryeong all the credit. The scene warmed K. Olsen's heart like chicken porridge on a cold night. Soryeong was so moved he nearly cried. The villagers cheered, tossing him up like a Lunar New Year lion dancer. Later, the chief whispered to Kaelson, reminding him of their first talk at the village gate. Kaelson asked in surprise what he meant. The chief mentioned the missing persons cases. Kaelson instantly recalled and urged him to tell more. The old man recounted a strange tale. A woman from another village said years ago her people vanished without a trace. The clue might lie there. Kaelson asked where that village was. The answer, westward. When they arrived, the stench of death choked the air. They knew they had reached the cursed place. Kaelson scanned the desolate scene with grim eyes. Corpses lay everywhere, trash and insects covered the ground. Toxic fumes rising thick. Pai tried to cover Soryeong's eyes, but had already seen it all. A trembling member pointed at something strange. A golden chicken leg gleamed. It was pecking at a dead snake. Just kidding, it was a bizarre bird with golden tail feathers and a violet pink-black body. Like myth-made flesh. One teammate, offended by the sight, picked up a rock to throw. Kaelson shouted to stop him, but too late. The rock missed its mark, making the creature snap its gaze toward them. The thrower fumed, ready for another shot, but Kaelson gripped his shoulder, whispering, "Not good." The bird spread fiery wings, breathing out a haze of green poison. Soryeong's eyes went wide, watching human bones melt like wax in toxic mist. Someone clamped a hand over his mouth to stop him from inhaling. Kaelson yelled, "Run!" and shielded Soryeong himself. His tone grave. That's a Gu bird, the supreme poison avian. Once safe, everyone gathered around K. Olsen. He described the beast, wings nearly 2 meters wide, a bronze beak, dark purple feathers shimmering with venom. One flap, and everything nearby turned to ash from its deadly aura. A golden crown on its head, king of toxic birds? Kaelson called it the ancient beast Jinio, or Neo. Soryong's eyes lit up one of the 10 deadly beasts. Kaelson nodded. Top of the list, Soryong beamed like a fan meeting his idol. Thinking Earth's vipers and centipedes were now mere pets, bioweapons wouldn't stand a chance here. Kaelson said Jinio was drawn to venomous snakes, eating only their heads. Soryong asked if it was rare. Olsen said, 1 in 100 years. Soryong gasped, making Kaelson chuckle. You that obsessed? He blurted. Can we catch it? Everyone froze. Kaelson smirked. You serious? Soryong nodded, though wary of the poison. Realizing his love for toxic beasts, Kaelson hinted, then there's a way to protect yourself. Soryong's eyes sparkled. Kaelson explained that mastering Tangmen poison arts granted immunity to all toxins. Even genius, that skill made one untouchable by poison, but it was taught only to true disciples, himself included. Soryong asked, so if I join, I can learn it, and it really blocks all poison, even that genie birds? Kaelson confirmed, absolutely. He promised to personally teach him if he agreed. Immediately hesitate. And no deal. Feeling the bait but too excited, Soryong shouted, I agree, and called him patriarch on the spot. Kaelson smiled slyly like a fox catching a chicken. He laid a hand on Soryong's shoulder. From now on, we're family. The group returned to their old cave, finding footprints and traces of Tak on Yang, the bloodhand Rakshasa. They offered the patriarch a notebook found inside. Within lay horrifying martial secrets. Kaelson confirmed it was bloodhand venom claw. Its text written entirely in blood made Soryong shiver. Kaelson decided to withdraw. Soryong asked, back to Sichuan? He nodded. Yes, with the blue centipede core and manual. Mission complete. Soryong requested a detour to his martial hall to save a friend. Kaelson agreed it was on the way anyway, so the group set out again, but glancing back, Soryong noticed something odd. He pointed, shouting, something's weird over there. They approached and found a shimmering purple feathered genius. Everyone froze. Lost in thought, Kaelson picked it up, saying he'd keep it as Soryong's initiation gift. The boy beamed, thanking him like a kid with his first membership card. Kaelson added one thing left. Soryong's way of addressing him needed proper respect. He said they'd fix the title after the initiation rite, making Soryong curious, like a Taoist ceremony. Meanwhile, at Tangmen headquarters, Grand Patriarch Tang Musong, who had left earlier, finally returned. Exhausted yet unyielding, he refused to rest. His first words, how's Huayan? Disciples rushed him inside, saying she was still hanging on. The door burst open. He cried, Huayan, stunning everyone present. He told his daughter-in-law had brought the medicine back, pulling out the blue centipede core. The woman burst into tears of relief. They quickly prepared the cure for Huayan. Musong's heart ached watching his granddaughter writhe. Grateful had made it in time. His daughter-in-law urged him to give it fast. He gently lifted the girl and poured in the medicine. A blue aura spread around her frail body. Musong pressed her pulse. Sensing Kai flowing again, everyone held their breath, waiting for her to open her eyes. The air grew thick, only heartbeats echoed. Meanwhile, Soryong was exhausted, thinking, the Central Plains feel like a whole other planet. From Hainan to Hangzhou, then Nanjing, the trip dragged on for over 6 weeks. At last, they reached Sichuan, the legendary Tangmen headquarters. Pai cheered, we're here. The Tangmen of Sichuan, leaving Soryong speechless, they halted before the towering main gate. Rumor said the entire mountain belonged to Tangmen, hence the name Tangmen Shan. Soryong gulped audibly. Hundreds of disciples poured out to greet the patriarch. Dazzling his eyes, he thought, whoa, this whole crowd's family. Suddenly, a girl in red dashed forward like the wind. She cried, Father! It was Huayan Teriad, radiant, hugging her father tight. Soryong stood frozen like under a spell. Kaelson sighed in relief, eyes misty. Huayan sobbed in apology, voice trembling like a storm of rain. Soryong was stunned, unable to believe such beauty was real. Had flirted with idols before, but none made his heart race like this. Kaelson smiled, saying, let me introduce my daughter Tang Huayan. Soryong felt thunderstruck. He stammered, wait, the weedflower girl you mentioned, making Kaelson burst out laughing. Huayan's cheeks flushed pink, shy as spring peach blossoms. Kaelson teased, that weed you spoke of is my most precious flower. Soryong's jaw dropped, speechless. He recalled that flower story, face red as chili when realizing had basically proposed to her by accident. The only daughter of Tangmen Sichuan, the famed poison blossom. Tang Huayan, she had carried sorrow since childhood, hearing whispers about the strange power in her bloodline. People doubted her gift but praised her beauty, one of the 3 martial flowers. Someone even joked the patriarch should find her a husband, earning an icy glare that silenced all. Hearing that, Huayan believed her parents were right and trained fiercely to prove herself. She wanted to show that a woman could uphold Tangmen, but rushing too fast led to grave mistakes. Patience easily leads hearts astray, and that very haste let inner demons invade, sending Huayan into key deviation. Then Huayan awoke, seeing by her bed the Grand Patriarch, her mother, and 2 familiar figures. Her mother sighed in relief, tears brimming. Huayan burst into tears, apologizing for trying to serve the clan but ending up losing all her inner power. Her grandfather scolded sternly, you little rascal, trying to scare us to death? Then smiled, but congratulations, you've achieved the 100 Venom's body. She choked up, not understanding what he meant. Looking around, she noticed pale green energy wafting from her body. She asked, "What's this light?" The Grand Patriarch smiled kindly. "Let me tell you about a young warrior who saved you and even infused you with the celestial venom body, not just 100, but 1,000 poisons." Back to the present, Huyen softly brought up the weed flower story. Soryang froze, wishing he could vanish, remembering how he had once called her a weed while daydreaming about the 10 deadly beasts. He swore to watch his mouth next time. Forcing a grin, he stammered, "That was just Patriarch joking. Pleased to meet you, Miss." Around them, Tangman disciples giggled. Huyen replied gently, like spring breeze, "I'm glad to meet you too." She introduced herself, saying she was also called Poison Blossom, thanked her savior, and vowed to remember forever. Soryang gazed blankly, heart about to explode. Suddenly, Kailson's voice asked what he thought, but it echoed inside his mind. He startled, realizing it was voice transmission. Hearing Kailson tease, "Pretty, isn't she? Want to get to know her better." Later, Soryang soaked in a vast misty bath. His 3 centipedes lay quietly in a basket like sleeping babies. He exhaled, utterly drained, body melting into the water. Then his eyes caught something strange. He smiled at the centipedes. One opened an eye and smiled back. They usually clung to him, but when he warned, "Hot water's not your vibe, stay put," they obeyed, making him both amused and baffled. "Do they actually understand me?" he thought, remembering Kailson's words about their sensing killing intent. He grew more curious as 2 stared intently. He joked, "Hey, getting stared at while bathing's kinda awkward." They ducked in embarrassment, making him laugh. He recalled Pai saying blue centipedes had intelligence, and resolved to study them more deeply, but Kailson's earlier words echoed again, stirring unease. He knew their departure loomed. In another house, the Tangman family gathered. Grand Patriarch, Madam, and Huyen all present. Kailson announced he'd gift the young warrior a classic double suit once meant for lovers. The Grand Patriarch wondered if the boy truly possessed rare talent. The Patriarch nodded, saying it wasn't luck but skill. His mastery of venom arts ran deep. He had defeated Yang, faced the poison bird, and even hatched the blue centipede eggs himself. The Grand Patriarch marveled Kailson had found a priceless gem. All eyes then turned toward Huyen. Kailson asked his daughter what she thought about taking the boy as a son-in-law. Huyen froze, her mind spinning at her father's words. Once she grasped the meaning, her calm turned stormzillant. She reminded herself she now had the celestial venom body, and must prove her worth to Tangman through deeds, not pity. Lifting her head, she declared she understood her father's intent and vowed loyalty to the sect. But she added that whether the young man was truly trustworthy, she'd investigate personally to be sure. Saying that, she dashed off, leaving a red-faced silence behind. Kailson thought the boy should start wearing armor. His daughter was dreamy to look at, but one bite, and you'd feel it forever. Huyen sprinted off like chased by bees. Her heart felt sliced in two. With the 10,000 venoms physique, she vowed to prove her strength and scrutinized the boy's skill and soul. Meanwhile, Soryang scratched his head, plotting his next move. He sensed she might still hold a grudge, so he sought help from his little housemates, those mini centipedes doubling as love consultants. Suddenly, Huyen appeared, face thunderous, yet her beauty froze the very air. She politely asked to speak with him alone, then reached out her hand, asking for his. He obeyed like a puppy following command. His face flushed bright red. He stammered, "Isn't this a bit fast?" He mumbled further that things should progress in proper order. Huyen blinked, not getting what he meant. When realization struck, her face ignited, blurting, "You've got it all wrong." Soryang's heart sank, dreams shattered like glass. Both froze in mortifying silence. Huyen's cheeks burned as she stammered. She explained she only meant to check his pulse, while he wanted to vanish from embarrassment. Sitting beside him, she apologized for the sudden and improper act. She said though he was young, he seemed mature, so she'd tell him the truth. She began her confession, while Soryang listened like a diligent student. The more he heard, the more it sounded like a martial soap opera. She revealed she was the sole heir, battling family intrigue and pressure to find a worthy consort. Elders even proposed elevating Soryang's rank if he joined Tangman, and she apologized for needing to confirm something. She reassured him that regardless of outcome, she'd treat him with respect as a dear friend or brother. Soryang extended his hand. He said he understood, urging her to do what she must. She studied him intently, as if appraising a rare artifact, then gently placed her hand on his wrist to read the pulse. A blue-green aura rose around her like venom mist. She explained Tangman arts couldn't be practiced by just anyone. It required sensing inner force with toxins. Only after absorbing poisons from the 5 venoms up to 10,000 could one reach the peak realm. Luckily, Soryang's body harmonized with poison arts, though had reached only the 10 venom tier, meaning he could withstand 10 types of venom, no more. Still, the 10 venom physique was enough to earn Tangman's admiration. Hearing that, Soryang stood stunned, as if slapped by winter wind. Huyen added that his level equaled top-tier mortal masters. She quietly rose to leave. He watched her go, eyes full of questions. His mind lingered on being a 10 venom man. Panic struck if he couldn't surpass it. He might never tame a mythic beast, tragic as losing his rice harvest. Hours later, a figure emerged from the bath. It was Huyen, breathtaking enough to slay weak hearts instantly. She noticed after absorbing the blue centipede core, body exuded a strange scent. Even bathing thrice a day couldn't wash it off, making her wonder if it was karma for speaking rudely to her savior. And Soryang, he was sleeping blissfully like a dog after a belly rub. In his dream, a stranger appeared, offering heartfelt gratitude. It was Huyen, or rather, another soul wearing her face. She explained she borrowed that familiar form so he wouldn't panic and that this wasn't an ordinary dream. She introduced herself as the mother of the blue-spotted centipede. Making his head spin like he'd been poisoned, 3 tiny girls appeared beside her, like her mini replicas. He asked why she'd come to his dream. She said she'd been wrongfully slain, leaving her children behind, her vengeful soul bound to the core. In that cursed instant, she saw a chance to meet him since he carried her centipede brood. Soryang froze, realizing he'd stumbled in her tragedy, though blameless. Guilt weighed on him. He gazed at her with sympathy. She gently asked for a favor. He instantly agreed, pledging to do all he could. She wanted him to care for her children until they could survive on their own. He blinked, but their centipedes a few molts and they're off. Right? The mother explained they still needed to absorb the remaining life essence from the core before seeking new hosts. He asked if that meant they must stay near Huyen, the one who'd consumed the core. She nodded and clarified. She confessed to placing a curse, causing the girl's strange lingering scent. Its purpose to ward off any flirtatious insects, literal or human. She added that breaking the curse would cost the girl her ability to bear children. She proposed letting the baby centipedes siphon kwai from Huyen's core, half-joking it might help Soryang earn romance points. Soryang pondered a moment, then smiled, saying it would be immoral to profit from her suffering. The mother nodded approvingly, praising his integrity, and asked his plan. She said Huyen sought a strong man, but she herself had no more venom cores to offer him. Her words sparked an idea in Soryang's mind. He told her to trust him, and promised to handle everything himself. The next morning, Soryang and Huyen sat talking side by side. Huyen had realized the strange scent came from the blue-spotted centipede core. Soryang confirmed and advised her to let a few centipedes draw excess kai to fade the smell. Huyen agreed, yet doubted his motive for helping freely. She knew he had every right to ask for payment. He simply smiled, saying he couldn't exploit a girl in distress. Had rather be a fool than a schemer. Huyen was speechless. Shame and warmth stirred in her heart. She vowed not to accept his kindness without giving back. Remembering her father's words, she realized virtue outweighed mastery. Soryang confessed he'd been thinking deeply. He recalled her saying he could absorb only 10 poisons, so he proposed, if I only get 10, I'll pick the 10 deadliest venoms in the world to master. Huyen gaped at his insane ambition. She realized his true goal was to become invincible. For her, the thought made her heartbeat stutter. As the famed poison blossom of the martial triflowers, she'd never met anyone so reckless for her sake. Blushing hard, she asked if he knew what he was implying. He honestly said no. She explained that path would be long and perilous, perhaps a lifetime's journey. Soryang grew pensive, imagining himself gray-haired from poison training. Still shy, Huyen reminded him he was only 15, 3 years from adulthood. If by then he remained steadfast and could slay one of the 10 great venom beasts, she would admire him deeply, and even hinted that, if it works out, maybe fate will tie them together. She blushed, yelled go for it, and dashed off like the wind. Soryang called after her, dazed. She turned back, wondering if he had more to say. He told her to stay for a bit more treatment, just to be safe. She was so embarrassed she couldn't look him in the eye. He smiled and assured her the little centipedes were as tame as kittens. Then he told the bugs to go back to their mother instead of clinging to Dad. Huyen blushed redder than a chili, stammering Mom and Dad. He waved frantically, denying any weird meaning. Meanwhile, Kailson, his wife, and Museong were having a mealtime meeting. They said the young man still hadn't won Huyen's heart. Museong asked if anyone noticed something odd between them that morning. Huyen's mother confidently said her daughter must have rejected Soryang. Everyone sat deep in thought, faces scheming like chess masters. Miu sighing said forcing love never works, let the kids fall naturally. Huyen's mother suggested assigning Soryang as Huyen's trainer so they'd spend more time together. Chilson agreed. Museong added they should ask the old medicine saint for a body-cleansing elixir for the boy, since if his physique was weak, the elixir could fix it. Chilson, surprised since Huyen couldn't get one before, just nodded cautiously. Suddenly, Huyen appeared at the doorway and heard everything. She greeted her father, startling him as he asked why she was there so late. He invited her inside. She froze. Seeing all 3 elders gathered, she said she had something to tell them, her face glowing red like a ripe gak fruit. Then suddenly, she declared loudly she would obey her father's wishes. Chilson blinked, thinking his ears deceived him. Huyen's mother gently asked if that meant the boy had won her heart. Huyen turned crimson, stammering wordlessly. Chilson wondered how she changed her mind so fast. She said Soryang once promised to become the strongest man alive for her. That vow left everyone stunned. Chilson leaned forward, urging her to continue. She said though he had the 10 poisons body, Soryang still wanted to defeat all 10 poison beasts to prove his devotion. Everyone burst out laughing at his boldness. Huyen's mother Touched, said few proposals were that heroic, but set a condition before adulthood. He must capture at least one great poison beast. She wondered aloud if he understood that hidden meaning. Her father joked they should have made it 3 beasts. Instead, her mother replied men are slow to catch hens anyway. Hyun asked if she should tell Soryong, but her mother advised silence, let him work harder to prove himself. Musaeang suggested they treat him as a future son-in-law, but pretend they are still deciding. The 3 agreed with that willpower. Had be family soon enough. Meanwhile, Mother Centipede praised Soryong for winning Hyun's heart so spectacularly. He laughed, saying it was all perseverance, no tricks. The kind old spirit thanked him, calling him her benefactor, and said this would be the last favor she could repay. She said her resentment had faded, her soul was leaving the mortal world, and offered one last help before departing. Soryong paused and asked if he could see her true face. She blushed but agreed, warning him not to have strange tastes. Slowly, she lifted her robe, revealing her shoulder, but as she was about to undress more, Soryong panicked. Is that really necessary? Making her blush. She stammered, so keep it on, and he flailed, that's not what I meant. While the baby centipedes giggled, pretending to cover their eyes but peeking anyway, he clarified he just wanted to see the true form of the blue-spotted centipede. Nothing else. Realizing the misunderstanding, Mother Centipede froze, face pale as a young banana leaf, a thick mist rose, covering everything, then her true form emerged through the haze. Soryong gawked, thrilled like an archaeologist finding treasure, even complimented her size, asking if he could touch it. Before she could answer, he was already examining her slick, waterproof shell, touching every detail and asking about her legs, eyes, fangs, and venom. Mouth talking, hands moving, brain imagining her movements. He looked like a bug-obsessed scientist. The little centipede squirmed and giggled, embarrassed. While he grew more fascinated, he got so excited he asked to touch her fangs too. Mother Centipede warned him he might lose a hand, but he insisted. She started worrying, can my daughter handle a guy like this? Feeling both scared and oddly amused by his eager hands. After that scientific session, Cheolson sat drinking tea with Soryong, smiling. He said it heard everything from Hyun and would now treat Soryong as future son-in-law. Soryong gaped. Wait, I thought that's 3 years away? Cheolson waved. Marriage can wait, but your family now. Hyun's mother cheered, calling herself your mom-in-law, while Musaeang bragged their Tang sect would prosper with such a groom. Soryong glanced at Hyun, still stunned by the lightning-fast approval. He wondered, wait, what about all those marriage conditions? Did they just skip them, then shrugged oh well and politely thanked them for the warm welcome? Before he could breathe, Musaeang turned to Cheolson. Shall we begin now? Cheolson sternly told Soryong. Before learning poison arts, you must see a place. Soryong asked curiously, what place? The elders exchanged mysterious smiles. Cheolson declared, the 10,000 Poison Pavilion. It was the Tang sect's hidden treasure vault now open to their new family member. Soryong's eyes sparkled with excitement. He even called Musaeang Grandpa affectionately. He thought, but that place holds 10,000 deadly creatures. But when he glanced at Hyun beside him, the light on her face made her look like a living masterpiece, freezing him in awe. The moment felt like a wedding photo shoot, his ears burning red. The entire Tang family saw it and laughed slyly. Cheolson teased, looks like my son-in-law can take his eyes off his wife already. Mother-in-law added, look at that face is drunk on Hyun. Both turned crimson. She muttered, watch where you're walking. He whispered, eyes ma'am. Soon, the group stopped before a giant gate. 2 muscle-bound guards stood like bronze statues on each side. Soryong thought, whoa, these guys look like upgraded Yupin and Ipin. Between them stood a Tang disciple bowing to the elders. Musaeang ordered, open the gate, let my grandson-in-law into the 10,000 Poison Pavilion. The guards obeyed. Soryong's mind went, security's tighter than ancient Sia protocols. The black-robed man solemnly shouted, open the gate, and the 2 strawmen roared in reply. Then they hived the massive iron gate open with a thunderous clang. The black-robed man commented, wow, record time today. Soryong paled. Wait, how long does it usually take? The gate swung wide. The 2 musclemen looked like they'd just deadlifted half a ton. Faces green, shoulders trembling. The black-robe solemnly invited them in. Cheolson shot Soryong a look meaning, now the real part begins. My boy. On the way, Soryong kept sneaking glances at the guards, eyes sparkling like a gym fanboy. Cheolson explained the gate was forged from Kunyu black steel, a rare southern metal. Passing through it was an honor most never earned in their lifetime. They entered the main hall of the 10,000 Poison Pavilion, heart of the Sichuan Tang sect, holding 10,000 sealed toxins. Musaeang warned, touch the wrong thing and you'll become a walking poison statue. Soryong nodded like a woodpecker, asking, really 10,000 poisons? Cheolson confirmed, listing paralyzing, sleeping, and countless variant toxins. The elders exchanged sly smiles. Cheolson nudged Hyun. You guide him. Instantly both blushed like dumplings in a steamer. Embarrassed but dutiful, Hyun grabbed Soryong's hand and led him to the prime toxic exhibit. The elders grinned like they were watching a live rom-com. Hyun began the tour, pointing at the first jar. This is dissolving mist poison. It erases inner energy in one breath, legendary in martial circles. She warned him carefully, then showed off other horrors: gut-eating, soul-melting, flesh-rotting, spirit-snatching venoms. But the deadliest tang poison, she said, was different and handed him a tiny seed. Soryang held it up. Puzzled, it looked like a dry bean. Hyun explained it was the castor seed, deadliest poison aside from the sect's 10 great venom beasts. Hearing castor, Soryang's eyes lit up like meeting a soulmate. He immediately linked it to ricin, the infamous protein toxin. Just 2 milligrams could kill an adult, 100,000 times stronger than cyanide. He whistled, classic tang poison, silent, scentless, traceless, hence the world called it the Golden Death. Hyun reminded him the scariest poisons aren't the painful ones, but the ones that kill quietly, without witness. She said the Tang sect's creed for generations was precision, neatness, and no trace left behind. Soryang thought, this is basically an assassin guild, not a martial sect. Musayang said, alright, show him the Venom Beast pens next. Musayang added, if you like, you can take charge of their care. The clan will cover everything. Soryang translated it mentally. I get to raise toxic pets legally. His eyes gleamed like floodlights. But just then, someone came sprinting up, shouting for the chief. It was Pai, panting like after a marathon. Everyone turned to him. Pai reported, clan leader, you're needed at the Xuan Pavilion immediately. Chielson asked, why? Pai hesitated, then mentioned a certain elder. Musayang slammed the table. Those Bransec geezers again. Soryang shivered, probably that incident Hyun once mentioned. Pai continued, 2 urgent matters. First, the medicine sent to the Sichuan city lord failed. His furious and wrote a complaint as long as the heavenly Tao scripture. Before Pai could finish, his eyes darted briefly toward Soryang, hinting at something. Soryang just sighed softly, wearing the face of an innocent man who knew better. Pai continued with the second issue. Tied to the 10,000 poison pavilion, Musayang instantly guessed, so the rumor's out. Huh, they left at once. Dragging Soryang along, Musayang insisted the son-in-law must witness it firsthand. Destination Xuangai Pavilion. There, the elders were already gathered, grumbling the moment the clan head arrived. They objected to marrying Hyun to an orphan of unclear background. At that, Chielson exploded in fury, toxic green aura flaring around him as he roared, did you just insult my son-in-law? The elders argued back, saying their concern was justified. Musayang cutting coldly, it's my decision. Any objections? They froze and turned to the Grand Elder for rescue. They pressed on, giving the poison pavilion to an untested outsider is madness. Musayang replied calmly, approved already. Case closed. As tension rose, Hyun bowed her head, apologizing to Soryang for dragging him into trouble. He thought, girl, you're the one who needs comforting, not me. Then suddenly, he spoke up, stunning everyone in the hall. Forgive me. May I say a word? He offered. If you doubt me, let me prove my ability before all elders. Silence blanketed the room. Soryang volunteered to fix the Sichuan city lord's failed medicine to prove his worth. Hyun tugged his sleeve, whispering, what on earth are you doing? He hated conflict, but anyone insulting his pets was asking for it. His words hit home. The elders were left speechless. A few regained their voices, shouting, you brat, who let you butt in while elders speak? They barked. You don't even know the complaint details and still argue. Rude. Then tattled to the clan head, your new son-in-law is out of control. Seizing the chance, they proposed marrying Hyun to some prestigious young heirs instead. Hyun's mother sat quietly, already imagining dosing them with dissolving mist poison. Meanwhile, Soryang thought, man, these geezers sound like YouTube commentators. He recalled his streamer days as Spicy Fabry, with 1 million subs and 3,000 viewers per live. He said aloud, seems you still don't see me as Tang Sec's son-in-law. Meaning to them, he was still an outsider, but with pro-Anafan handling skills. These guys were just background noise. He continued, I once saved Lady Hyun of Tang Sect from death itself. Not only that, I defeated the Blood and Rakshasa Takan Young and saved the clan head. So, is insulting a benefactor the new Tang tradition? He thought, these folks are less toxic than my old chat stream. He even found them oddly cute. The elders blushed, sheepishly admitting they'd gone too far. Soryang just sighed, feeling sorry for them, while the Grand Elder looked pleased with his composure. Another elder still muttered, liar, no one could beat Takan Young. Chielson stayed silent, sliding them a scroll stamped in crimson. The elder read it, jaw-dropping like a statue. It was the Bloodhand Poison Manual, written in fresh blood, the one and only proof of the blood sect. Chielson grinned proudly. Soryang, show them your blue-spotted centipedes. Let their eyes believe. Soryang puffed his chest, looking every bit the hero. He smiled, inviting them to watch the fun. 3 little blue-spotted centipedes crawled out, chirping, making the elder's skin crawl. The clan head bragged they were descendants of the legendary centipede line, the very ones who killed Takan Young, leaving everyone gaping in awe. Father and son gleefully teased while half-jokingly accepting the groom, leaving the elders red with embarrassment. The elders trembled as if seeing ghosts. They fumbled excuses about procedural formality to save face. The Grand Elder sighed, wanting to pause the whole holy Sonolo matter. He changed the topic, asking why the boy wasn't allowed into the poison vault. Answer: too young, not official family yet. The elder came up with a neat compromise. Then let him prove his skill right here. Soryong grinned, promising to do it Tangzek style. The elders turned pale, thinking it'd poison the whole city. They yelled to stop him, imagining a mass murder about to happen. Soryong blinked. Wait, isn't this a poison sect? I thought that's the point. The next day marked the start of formal training. The Grand Elder announced Soryong would study the 5 poison reversal art. Curious, Soryong asked if it involved body training. Yes, the more you train, the more your body adapts to poison. Mu Sayang added that the Tang sect prized real combat and laid out a mountain of weapons, from darts and daggers to flutes and all kinds of hidden tools. Training began with throwable gear, needles, coins, powders, and knives divided into 5 categories. The teacher asked which was easiest. Soryong picked knives. Got it right, then was asked which was hardest. He guessed powder because precision sprinkling isn't easy. The teacher laughed. Wrong, it's the humble needle. He explained the challenge was remembering every needle's landing spot. To demonstrate, he drew out what looked like an ordinary brush. He pulled the tip apart like prepping a magic trick. Suddenly, his hand flicked, the air flashed. Brush hairs scattered, swirling in midair. They transformed into a rain of needles like a mini thunderstorm. Soryong gaped at the surreal sight. Each strand became a steel dart, forming a dense metallic storm. The teacher said this was the Tang sect's supreme technique. Its name, Heaven-Shrouding Blossom Rain, a move that cast needles like falling petals. Soryong shivered. Fighting under needle rain sounded like suicide. He asked, if needles cover everything, how do you dodge? Making the teacher laugh. Exactly right. Sweating, he asked if they had to remember even the off-angle needles. The teacher nodded. You must memorize 100 base positions, leaving him deflated on the spot. Just then, Lady Hyun appeared in a beekeeper's suit, cheerfully asking if her wasp-catching outfit suited her. She worried it looked silly. Soryong reassured her she looked fine and catching wasp beats waiting around. Still doubtful about their Stako plan, she asked, and he just smiled mysteriously, asking for the hive's location. Hyun reported spotting one nearby. They could go right away. As he donned his own gear, she mentioned the letter to the Sichuan city lord. Soryong nodded. She fretted he hadn't read it properly, but he blushed, mumbling the words were all too serious. She blushed too, realizing he knew exactly what it said. No more explanation needed. The Sichuan lord, it turned out, suffered from a gambling physiology problem. His staff had gone on permanent strike, leaving him truly powerless. Hyun asked how Soryong knew such sensitive stuff. He stammered it came from living alone too long. Mortified, she hurried ahead to avoid eye contact. Hours later, they reached the dense forest. Soryong got distracted by exotic creatures until Hyun pulled him back to the mission. She led him to the exact target spot. Before them lay a small cave perfect for a wasp nest. She asked, if it's just a solitary wasp, is that still useful? Once he secured his helmet, Soryong revealed, today's goal isn't catching wasps. She gasped in surprise. He explained he needed a creature that lived parasitically in weak wasp nests. Hyun blinked. First time she'd heard of such a thing. Luckily, fortune smiled on them. A tiny insect crawled out, and Soryong swiftly caught it with chopsticks. Turns out the real target wasn't the wasp at all, but that tiny bug. That little one was the key to curing the city lord's unmentionable illness. Tilting her head, she guessed it was a ground beetle. He nodded. Spot on. Known in Zhongjuan as ground beetle. Later generations called it the blister beetle. She wondered why it lived with wasps. He said its life cycle was bizarre. The blister beetle laid eggs in the weirdest way imaginable. Instead of safe spots, it laid them anywhere, like it had better things to do. Lay first, think later. That was its philosophy. At best, they laid in social clusters for fun. When hatched, the larvae climbed to the nearest high point. Once on top, the weird show began. They huddled together, forming a fake flower eerily realistic. The wasp got fooled, thinking it found real nectar. As soon as the worker approached, the larva pounced. They latched onto the wasp like ninja hitting a target. The unlucky wasp became a free Uber ride. The hive was doomed, and that's where the beetles thrived best. Hyun pitied the poor wasps, but Soryong shrugged. Nothing to be done. She mentioned the beetle could blister skin on contact, and swallowing one meant early reunion with ancestors. He confirmed its toxin, cantharidin, burned skin like fire. She shyly asked if it truly revived a man's pillar of strength. Soryong confirmed. Making her blush and begged to end the lesson, she urged returning to the main hall. But he still wanted to catch a few more. At least it secured a rare blister beetle. Later, they returned to the hall to teach martial artists how to brew the medicine. Soryong carefully instructed them to dry and grind the beetle. Since even a speck was deadly, he warned that 3 grains were enough to send someone to the afterlife, so he ordered 1110 dilution, about 10 drops complete with math-like precision. He asked if everyone understood. While his own head spun from the calculations, a warrior removed his mask, praising Soryong's sharp mind and rare math sense. Soryong humbly replied, entrusting them with the task. As night fell, Mu Sayang chatted with Hyun. Still stunned the blister beetle had such power. He said it made him want to recheck the Tang sect's entire toxin archive. Hyun nodded, recounting how Soryong calculated doses like a math genius. Mu Sayang admitted that though he once thought he knew all poisons, Soryong had earned his respect. He compared the boy to an uncut jade gem, then teased Hyun about falling harder for him, making her blush like she'd been burned by venom. She confessed she'd been a bit rash before Mu Sayang just smiled, saying knowing to fix it is good, then asked about the drug testing plan. Hyun blushed even deeper, her cheeks red as ripe tomatoes. She said the elders called Soryong arrogant, but had joked he'd wake them up with his new potion. Mu Sayang froze, then burst out laughing nearly to tears. The next morning, the whole clan gathered in the grand hall. Skeptical of the so-called miracle medicine, a warrior handed Soryong a wooden box, saying they'd mixed in honey to make it easier to swallow. Soryong nodded, praising their impressive attention to detail. He asked if they'd followed his instructions exactly the warrior swore they had. Word for word, the elders wrinkled their noses, half doubting, half curious. The clan head raised his hand for silence, seriously asking Soryong how he planned to test the medicine. Soryong feigned surprise like had been asked a trick question. The council caroused that testing was obviously required. One elder shouted they couldn't send untested drugs, another warned of disastrous side effects. Soryong nodded solemnly, no backing out. Now the warrior got the test sample ready. The elders watched, stunned, thinking Soryong was about to use them as lab rats. One elder barked, "Do you even know what that is?" while another sneered that had overdosed on recklessness. Soryong only grinned slyly and called for his grandpa like preparing a finishing move. Mu Sayang asked what the boy wanted this time. Soryong quoted, "Anyone of the Tang sect knows no fear of poison." Mu Sayang immediately played along, nodding proudly. Giving Soryong ammo to taunt the hesitant elders, he fanned the flames, mocking the mighty masters for trembling before a bug-based pill. The elders fumed, until one snapped, broke a pill in half, swallowed it whole, and scolded Soryong for mocking the old. They warned if the drug failed, had faced clan punishment. Tang rules spared no one. Then they all chewed the pills like candy. A tense, awkward silence filled the hall. Then came a few smug chuckles. Everyone assumed the medicine was a dud. Seconds later, one elder suddenly felt his manly vigor roaring back to life. His legendary weapon awakened after years of slumber. Chaos erupted instantly. That day, the Tang clan revived both pride and spirit, and the medicine was shipped to the Sichuan lord with triumphant results. Afterward, the elders walked around the hall discreetly holding their pants. While the narrator nearly died laughing, Soryong told Mu Sayang, "Just like you said, poke their pride, and they walk right into the trap." Mu Sayang nodded, saying they did it from pride and loyalty, so no hard feelings. The two reconciled happily. Just then, Hyun appeared, moving slowly. She brought bad news. Everyone asked what happened. She said their children were acting strange. Soryong blushed. Confused, Mu Sayang instantly turned serious, grabbing his grandson by the collar. He roared, demanding where the children came from. How dare he have kids before marriage? Hyun hurriedly clarified she meant the centipedes, not human children. The air froze solid in an instant. Soryong went blank, face pale as chalk. He admitted he'd been busy training lately and had asked Hyun to watch the centipedes. Only now did he realize had neglected them, panic rising at the thought they might be hurt. He raised his hand to take them back, but Hyun shouted she never kept them. Mu Sayang turned to stone in the middle of the room. They found the 3 blue centipedes, now brown and weak as wilted leaves. Soryong's cheek bore a bright red slap mark from the baby misunderstanding. While Grandpa still suspected they'd fallen out of Hyun somehow, Hyun said they'd been lively earlier but looked pale now, their shells odd. She feared illness. Soryong reassured her it was fine, this was their molting time. Like all hard-shelled creatures, they had to shed to grow, this was normal. Mu Sayang asked, "Shed completely?" And Soryong replied, "Almost, sir." Instantly, one centipede twitched, then poked its head out from the old shell. Everyone's jaws dropped in awe. A scene both terrifying and beautiful unfolded before their eyes. The other 2 larvae also shed their skins, emerging shiny and new. Hyun cheered as all 3 doubled in size, looking stronger and glossier. She curiously asked if he'd named the centipedes yet. Soryong suddenly realized he hadn't. His tense thinking face made everyone want to laugh. He blurted out number 1, 2, and 3, making Hyun nearly fall off her chair from the blandness. She insisted Millennium Spot centipedes could turn into dragons, but he joked they'd only become Earth dragons after 10,000 years. Mu Sayang chimed in, saying 1,000-year centipedes truly become dragons. Soryong guessed her grandpa taught her that, so he adjusted his attitude and began thinking seriously. Finally, he chose Nova, Mira, and Grace, symbols of beginning, fragrance, and gentleness. Hyun beamed in approval, saying the naming right belonged to the father. Thus, the 3 spotted centipedes officially gained their identities and crawled back to cling lovingly to their master, though not fully recovered. Soryong sat up, smiling shyly at the heartwarming sight. The centipedes had now grown big and plump, from sausage size to as thick as an arm. Too big to hug, they wrapped around his arms and waist like living belts, while cuddling them like pets. He accidentally overheard voices outside. 2 men walked by with bags full of cash, saying the Tang family of Sichuan spent like crazy. They laughed loudly, heading to a brothel to relax. Bragging money came easily. Soryong's curiosity instantly flared up. Meanwhile, in the main hall, Cheolson brought exciting, shocking news. The medicine sent to the Lord of Sichuan worked beyond expectations. The Lord sent a thank you letter and extravagant reward, delighting Soryong and Hyun. Cheolson, thrilled and proud of his lucky son-in-law, while Soryang was just happy to help. Thus, Chielson decided to give him a medicinal pill, knowing the humble man would refuse anything called a reward. Soryang recalled his grandpa saying elixirs that boost inner power were priceless. Hyun quickly asked what kind it was, and Chielson sheepishly said it wasn't anything fancy, just honey from the golden-furred bee king. Soryang imagined an ordinary honey jar but accepted eagerly at the mention of inner power gain. He was about to thank him when Hyun jumped in and interrupted. She frowned, asking why such a great reward was merely common honey, making Chielson sweat bullets. She argued Soryang's merit deserved more. That honey was a low-grade elixir, and being stingy would be shameful. He just wanted to sink into the floor. She even scolded. It should boost inner power for a year, not just months, making Chielson's face stretch with pain. He tried to defend that the honey was expensive, but Hyun kept arguing, trapping him between two fires. Soryang cut in to ask what the golden-furred bee king was, and Chielson said it was a rare, mythical venomous species. It lived deep in the forest, as big as a small dog, incredibly rare. Its honey could enhance inner power equal to 2 months of meditation. Soryang was both amazed and amused, picturing a dog-sized bee growling mid-flight, but Hyun wasn't impressed. Still fighting fiercely for fairness on her husband's behalf, Chielson hurriedly explained he meant no disrespect, only wanted Soryang to see the bee king himself. That line made Soryang's eyes light up. He eagerly asked if he could really see it, and Chielson firmly nodded. Soryang immediately realized it meant have to fetch the honey himself, recalling his old YouTuber days of self-inflicted suffering. Fired up, the group set out. Soryang bragged he was a bee expert, while Chielson secretly chuckled, knowing his son-in-law would soon sweat buckets when asked what the bees looked like. He casually said, like bees. Hyun could only sigh helplessly at the two of them. Thus began the grand honey hunting expedition. Everyone trusted Chielson's exclusive intel, but reality had other plans. They arrived to find two factions arguing fiercely. Apparently both bought the same tip, and were debating whether the seller had messy hair or a big mole. Hearing that, Soryang realized they were the two guys had overheard earlier, so they traded info like street vendors. One man shouted angrily, declaring no one would insult the Tang clan of Sichuan on their own turf. His shout silenced the forest. Tension snapping tight, the honey hunt just turned into a wuxia movie. Before leaving, Chielson had told his son-in-law that a Tang must remember his status and uphold dignity. Soryang had solemnly nodded. Then Chielson pointed ahead, signaling him to look at the people waiting. You'll lead them, he said. Your first lesson in leadership. Soryang's face turned paper white. He thought Hyun should lead, but Chielson laughed, saying, Shiz your wife, you're the head. Hearing husband and wife, Soryang blushed while Hyun looked at him proudly. He tried to stay calm, promising to try, though inside he was panicking over how to handle this chaos. He turned to Wolfgang, leader of the Venom Blood Squad, for advice, wondering if he should share until Wolfgang frowned, voice hard as steel, demanding who dared sell Tang family secrets. Huey beside him also fumed, saying only someone insane would dare. She flared like living fire, her aura pushing everyone back 3 steps, then coldly demanded who sold Tang Sichuan until the martial crowd instantly recognized her as Poison Flower, one of the famed 3 blossoms. One man turned pale at the sight of the Tang hair herself. Under pressure, he quickly stepped forward, introducing himself as a Zongfeng sect representative and claiming no ill intent. After that, he withdrew. The Guyuan and Spiritbane Jade sects followed, swallowing pride as they left, some muttering vows to hunt the traitor. In moments, the clearing emptied. The Tang Sichuan authority left Soryang stunned. He turned to ask Wolfgang if things were settled, but got a heavy shake of the head. Wolfgang said rogue sects still lurked nearby and wouldn't back down easily. He advised setting camp, assigning night watches, and sending Goop to scout enemy positions. Soryang's face fell at the sight, but Huey gently reassured him everything would be fine. Truthfully, what occupied his mind wasn't the enemies but the precious buzzing bees afar. He hid behind a rock. Eyes gleaming with fascination, he admitted to himself they were surprisingly adorable. Their golden fur shimmered like fox coats as they slipped into tree hollows, both majestic and funny. Seeing the golden-furred bee kings in person, he was giddy like a kid meeting idols. Hyun was amazed too, first time seeing fist-sized bees, while Soryang gushed about how cute they were, making her smile dreamily as Wolfgang just chuckled quietly. Soryang noticed the hive was small, only a few hundred bees, but the massive size made sense. Hyun curiously asked about its structure. He clearly explained that a real beehive was a huge community, with 50,007,000 bees being considered small. Hyun gawked, asking how he knew without going in. He grinned, saying you could tell by counting bees flying in and out. Suddenly, a shadow appeared behind them. Was Pai, reporting that it found the cultist hideout. Wolfgang immediately asked for coordinates. Pai hesitated for a few seconds, then confirmed Wolfgang's guessed the enemy camp just across the way. Waiting to strike, Wolfgang decided to wait until night and use the Tang clan's traditional honey method, making Soryang instantly curious about the secret. Calmly, Wolfgang explained they burned mugwort leaves so the smoke soothed the bees. Soryang's eyes sparkled, calling it a genius move, but Pai frowned worriedly, noting the wind was blowing the wrong way and could ruin everything. Soryang switched to brain and mode, making Pai curious what trick had thought of. He casually replied, "Headwind's good, it keeps the bees from smelling us." Then he boldly decided to move closer to the hive. Hyun panicked, tugging his sleeve and warning that golden-furred bee kings were mid-year venomous creatures. But Soryang insisted he'd just take a peek and come back. turning into a couple's squabble. Suddenly, a pebble slipped underfoot, rolling straight toward the hive. Everyone instantly realized, oh no, they were doomed. A breath later, a golden winged storm of bees erupted from the hive. Hyun reacted lightning fast, grabbing Soryang and dashing off, then scolding him furiously for his recklessness. As dusk fell, Soryang sat brooding, plotting a new plan. He realized burning smoke against the wind was basically throwing himself between bees and enemies, a perfect suicide combo. Worse, this bee species could sense ground vibrations within 30 kilometers. Earth bees would call them master. Just then, Huey found him, saying the babies had eaten their fill and were now being mischievous, so she brought them along. Soryang smiled gently in thanks. He softly told the little ones not to play rough anymore, sounding like a doting dad. Huey sat down beside him gracefully, making Soryang blush like a ripe chili. She asked how things were going. He admitted he needed more observation. She smiled, apologized if she pressured him, and encouraged him to take his time. Her words doubled both his confidence and his stress. Suddenly, Huey spotted some monkeys behind a tree, one of them going berserk. Soryang called Hyun over, asking if she smelled something oddly sweet. She sniffed and noticed the strange scent too. Soryang instantly concluded, it's pheromones. He urgently warned her to retreat. The bees were about to go insane. Without hesitation, Huey grabbed his hand and sprinted away from the Sunto bee apocalypse. She flipped and dodged like a ninja, distancing them from the deadly hive. She scooped Soryang up like a cat. Both watching the chaos unfold, the bees swarmed out like a golden hurricane, shredding the unlucky monkeys into a horror feast. They sighed in relief, almost the stars of revenge of the bees. Hyun curiously asked how Soryang sensed the madness before hearing anything. He said he smelled it, making Hyun suddenly notice a faint magnolia scent in the air. Soryang marveled, praising her pheromone-sniffing dog nose. Then he asked if she could guess what the smell really was. She confidently replied it was just like fresh magnolia in bloom. Soryang grinned like he'd unlocked a brain buff, his smile lighting up the forest. Hyun blushed because his hand was still resting comfortably on her shoulder. He grinned slyly, boasting he'd just come up with a plan to use bees against the cultists. Meanwhile, other martial sects sat around a campfire, chilling like on a picnic. They munched roasted meat, gulped wine, and chatted about nonsense. Someone wondered why the Tang clan hadn't shown up yet. Another mumbled vaguely. They'd been sneaking around 3 days ago. Now silent, everyone sensed trouble brewing. One guy asked what was so special about that beehive anyway. Another nearly threw his meat, shouting that royal-grade bee wax was priceless, only fools would skip it. They began spinning wild conspiracy theories about the Tang clan. Someone mentioned Poison Flower, the female assassin of the Three Blossoms, and the group decided to keep her alive. The reason was simple: pretty girls were worth keeping. Their eyes gleamed like headlights. One even joked maybe he'd marry into the Tang family. Their laughter died when a strange scent drifted by. The soft aroma made one suspect it was Poison Flower's perfume. They thought it was her natural allure. Suddenly, a loud sound startled everyone. They looked up to see something dark swarming in the sky. When they realized it was a mass of golden bees, faces turned ghost white. No orders needed, they bolted in panic. The bees chased them, their screams forming a chorus of despair. On the ground, a sweet-smelling trail had been laid like bait. It formed a perfect path, luring the bees like walking a pack of dogs. From the bushes, Soryang, Hyun, and Wolfgang watched silently. The others looked baffled, amazed how well the trick worked. The swarm followed one clear direction, and Hyun gaped, demanding the secret. She thought it'd just crush flowers and fruit into scented juice. He laughed, revealing it was actually an attack signal. He explained pheromones were chemical messages for communication. What he used was izumi acetate, the bee army's war trumpet. Hyun was stunned that magnolia fragrance could trigger insect warfare. Soryang grew more intrigued by her sharp nose, while Hyun just smiled, saying toxin training made her sense like a predator. Once the bees cleared out, Soryang boldly declared it was time for some legal looting. The group crept in, him holding a homemade incense stick like an exorcist. Wolfgang warned of danger and volunteered as a human shield. Then everyone froze at the sight of the massive hive. It looked like a golden treasure hanging upside down from the heavens. The wax shimmered so beautifully they almost wanted to move in beneath it. Thankfully, with the bees on vacation, the group dared to step inside, but Soryang frowned, sensing something was wrong. The honey was gone. Wolfgang checked and confirmed his hunch was right. Empty as a broke student's wallet, definitely suspicious. Soryang also noticed not a single egg remained. Wolfgang suspected a link, and Soryang explained the bees were preparing to migrate, so they'd eaten all the honey to fuel their smooth retreat. Huey nodded, finding the theory logical. She added that before migration, bees stopped laying eggs to avoid family baggage. Suddenly, Soryang spotted something odd and grinned mischievously. From the hive, a small tail wiggled out. He asked Wolfgang about his lightstep stamina, then smirked, saying, "Got it, no need to explain." Right then, Pai burst in like a storm, shouting bad news: the bees were coming back. He urged Soryang to run before becoming bee breakfast. The whole team bolted. Wolfgang yelled to abandon everything, while Hyun grabbed Soryang's sleeve to drag him along. She shouted, "Hurry! The bees are almost here." Behind them, Pai screamed like a disaster cheerleader. At that moment, something suspiciously bulged inside Soryang's shirt. After a near-death sprint, they escaped by a hair's breadth. Hyun, panting, stared at his chest like it hid state secrets. He opened his shirt, revealing a tiny bee queen, the ruler of the golden swarm. Since there was no honey, he decided to adopt the factory. The group turned pale, sweating like they'd just had a free sauna session. The queen buzzed adorably, though the death risk was a solid 100. Soryang grinned wickedly, boasting about his plan to enrage the bees while petting the queen like a therapy animal. He shouted run, and the death marathon began, Wolfgang carrying Soryang as everyone sprinted for dear life. The queen squirmed, and Soryang sweet-talked, "Easy, baby, I'm taking you somewhere peaceful." Days later, the survival marathon still hadn't ended. They staggered like zombies on lightstep mode, wheezing like old tractors. Many fell behind, and Soryang swore to train his agility to a mortal level. One warrior collapsed like a chopped tree. Huang Durian lay stiff as a dried corpse. Radiating despair, Soryang's eyes were pandadark from exhaustion, praying the bees had finally quit chasing. Wolfgang groaned. Asking if they'd live, Soryang replied, 50-50. Depends on fate. After 3 days crawling, a fighter collapsed, apologizing for running out of official fuel. Soryang worried for Wolfgang. Seeing the old man moving like a dying battery, Huan suddenly volunteered to carry him. Soryang weakly protested, but Huan, both embarrassed and stubborn, refused to quit. She gritted her teeth and vowed, "I can carry you, no joke." Their family motto, Tang never quits, it's a crime to give up. At the Tang mansion gate, the guards yawned, bored on duty. Suddenly, they saw figures staggering closer. Looking closely, it was their young lady, looking like she had just walked back from hell. Huan and Soryang supported each other like a pair of zombie lovers, making the guards want to sprinkle holy salt. Chaos erupted, people running, shouting for healers. Mu Xiyang and Chi Olsen rushed out, nearly fainting at the sight of the wrecked duo. Huan looked crushed by the weight of the world, body and spirit both shredded. Qiaozhen helped her, channeled inner energy for healing, and scolded Soryang like a father. He calmly replied, "She's fine, just exhausted," then urged everyone to the training hall. Mu Xiyang stood frozen, completely lost, until Soryang pulled from his shirt the shining golden queen bee. Announcing the swarm was coming, they had to lure it to the ancient tree. Mu Xiyang just sighed him again while Qiaozhen nearly fainted from this Hama-delivered disaster. Mu Xiyang placed a firm hand on Soryang's shoulder, saying sternly, "Let's go," then hoisted him up and shot off like a rocket. Mu Xiyang moved so fast the wind howled like a rock concert. Soryang screamed, and the old man asked calmly, "What's with the yelling?" Soryang yelled back, "The bees are right behind us." Mu Xiyang saw the black cloud of bees approaching. "Cursed heavens, you brought the whole hive," and sped up to max. Soryang nearly fell from the terrifying speed. Luckily caught in time, they landed under the giant ancient tree. Soryang gasping for breath, he gently told the queen, "This is your new home," then released her, joking, "All good, your majesty." She buzzed back like a yes. The bee circled the tree as if inspecting her new real estate. She returned, buzzing the tone of approval. Soryang stood in awe. Mu Xiyang urged everyone to retreat fast. The swarm was arriving. They stepped back, watching the golden sky-thick cloud of bees descend. The queen sent out a signal, the hum echoing like a summoning hymn. The whole swarm rushed toward the tree, forming a divine, unbelievable sight. Mu Xiyang stood frozen, admitting he had never seen anything so magnificent in his life. Mission complete, they'd safely return the queen bee. Soon, the giant bees gathered, sipping sugar water like kids with candy. Watching the exhausted swarm slowly recover moved everyone deeply. Sharing food builds bonds. This feast truly united humans and bees. Thankfully, the world had sugar, saving the plan entirely. Soryang only hoped the bees saw him as a friend, not a thief, then suddenly yelled, "Wait, I forgot something," making Chielsen and Mu Xiyang exchange worried looks. What now? Soryang remembered Huan, asking frantically. Chielsen rolled his eyes. "Now you realize," he assured him. She had been sent to rest with her mother, then pressed if it was true they'd run home chased by bees. Soryang bowed and confessed. He said the team only slept 4 hours a day and spent the rest running marathon style for survival. Mu Xiyang suddenly asked, "Then where's the Venom Blood Squad?" Soryang, sweating, admitted, probably still lying along the road. He promised to go back and collect teammates, and in the end, everyone made it home safe. Huan woke in her room, looking better, while Soryang sat beside her like a loyal babysitter. She sighed that the golden bees recovered scarily fast. Soryang said that they were sipping nectar from Tang Mountain's toxic flowers like spade for bees. She giggled at the adorable thought when someone burst in shouting for Soryang. Was Pai, panting with urgent news. He said the bees were acting strange, as if searching for something lost. Soryang and Huan dashed outside to investigate. The bees flew wildly, then suddenly clustered as if they'd found a target. Spotting Soryang, the swarm swarmed him, tugging his clothes and hair like airport security doing a luggage check. Soryang panicked, clueless about this mass frisking. Then the bees lifted him up into the air. Huan gaped as Soryang dangled midair, limbs spread like a scarecrow. After a graceful loop, the bees gently set him down. Soryang, dazed, asked why they were so agitated. Sensing something was wrong, his gut told him this behavior hid a deeper issue. Some bees nudged him, seemingly signaling something. They wanted him to follow them into their new hive, where they were busily building and storing honey. Then the queen appeared, radiant with golden wings like a true empress. Soryang teased, "Want me to carry you?" but couldn't move. Bees wrapped him like a living blanket, He looked at the tiny monarch, struck by how regal yet adorable she was. The queen closed her eyes and slowly flew toward his lips. He panicked, about to shout, then smooched. The queen kissed him without warning. Something slid into his mouth, and by reflex, he swallowed it. Instantly, the swarm stopped clinging and flew around him in perfect order. The kiss ended, leaving the air thick with honey scent and shock. Soryang blushed toward, steaming like a kettle. He yelled, "That was my first kiss. What's your deal, you boy crazy bee?" Then a strange surge swept through his body, making him stagger. He collapsed, feeling like hundreds of stingers pierced him at once. In panic, he thought, "What the hell did she make me swallow?" The giant bees watched as fiery red energy flared from his body. Heat and itch merged, making him want to shed his skin yet find no relief. The burning was hellish, teeth grinding, sweat pouring, heartbeat pounding like a war drum. Nearly fainting, he still reached out weakly, whispering, "What did you feed me?" Before collapsing, through the haze, he heard Hyun's worried voice asking the elders what happened. Miu Siyang stroked his beard and calmly declared, "He just swallowed an ultra-grade spirit elixir." Soryang promptly fainted again as the old man began life-saving cultivation. Later, Hyun gently placed a warm towel on his forehead, tending to him like a pampered noble patient. He jolted up, hair like a bird's nest, confused where he was. She said he was in the Tang clan's infirmary. As she smoothed his hair, she recounted how he had been dragged like a sack by the bees until she and her grandfather saved him. She asked if he remembered anything. He only sighed darkly. Hand on his face, he recalled that fateful kiss, his cheeks turning crimson. Hyun, puzzled, asked if something hurt. She nearly called the elder, but he just stared at his hands, looking defeated. He muttered shortly, "No need." He explained the bee queen fed him her own royal substance, likely the cause of all this. Hyun curiously asked what it was. He said he didn't know the name yet, calling it royal bee essence, making her gape like she'd swallowed a fly. Smiling, he explained that worker bees live on honey and pollen, basically self-cooked meals. But the queen alone consumed royal bee essence, crafted over a lifetime, essentially topped your royal jelly. Hyun instantly realized it was the monarch's exclusive food for life. Yet Soryang added it had far stronger effects, leaving her stunned again. He said worker bees lived about a month and a half, while the queen, thanks to the essence, lived 60 times longer. Hyun nearly fainted at that level of age hacking. She sighed, telling him to calm down. The info load alone could fill a thesis. She reminded him his 5 venoms reversal art was still basic, unable to absorb the full energy yet. But since normal golden bee honey held 2 months worth of inner power, and had swallowed something 60 times stronger, it just gulped down 10 years of cultivation. She congratulated him, laughing that he'd just eaten a 10-year power-up meal. Soryang began feeling energy flow within, mumbling 10 years of inner force like hypnotized. Hyun blushed, twirling her hair, suggesting he check his reflection in the silver mirror. Avoiding eye contact, she whispered the queen's essence might have side effects. He raised a brow. What kind of side effects? Scratching his cheek, he asked, "What's so weird about the mirror anyway?" Looking in, he froze. His skin was so smooth it literally reflected light. He muttered, "So royal jelly is the real deal." Huh! Touching his cheek, he shuddered. The texture silky soft like a maiden's untouched skin. Panicking, he thought, "Wait, am I turning into a girl? Is this some gender reversal buff?" In a frenzy, he checked the scene for evidence, then looked down to confirm his personal identity. After a tense second, he sighed in relief. Tears of joy, national treasure still intact. Sprawled on the floor, he recalled Hyun's words: if her grandfather hadn't guided his energy, he'd be a roasted bee husk by now. He swore eternal gratitude to his future grandpa-in-law. Leaving the infirmary, freshly recovered, he wanted to stretch and circulate his QI. After a few steps, he noticed clan members staring like they'd seen a fairy. Whispering among themselves, he guessed it was the royal jelly glow-up. Feeling itchy under the stairs, he slipped away quickly. Still hearing giggles behind him, he headed toward the Tang family's dining hall, peeking through the door crack like an amateur spy. Inside sits the future in-laws, future wife, and the old man, happily dining. Future mother-in-law spots him instantly and beams, "Heavens, my son-in-law is handsome as sin." She greets him warmly. He bows politely, apologizing for the worry. She laughs it off as family luck, teasing her daughter, "Jealous of your husband's smooth skin yet?" Making the girl blush and invite him to eat. Soryang, blushing hard, nods and joins the post-resurrection feast. The meal feels like a rehearsal wedding banquet. Father-in-law asks if his fully recovered. Soryang nods and apologizes again for good measure. He thanks old Miu Shang for saving him. The elder just chuckles, congratulating his intestinal fortune. Seeing the curious faces, father-in-law suggests he tell the yellow bee incident. He says has heard of queen bee essence over drinks but never the full story. Soryang scratches his cheek awkwardly. He recounts how the queen bee adored her new hive, dragged him in, fed him royal bee essence, and blessed both his guts and fate. Mother-in-law marvels, "A meteor venom that repays kindness. Incredible." Miu Siyang brightens. "Can we get more?" Soryang jokes, "If we could, the Duong clan would rule the world." Kaelson adds, "Golden honey's a treasure. The essence is a divine elixir." Mother-in-law slams the table. "Son-in-law, fetch me some more." The table stares, stunned by her greed level. Hyun softly asks, "Could you maybe get a little more?" Soryang stays silent, calculating. He explains that normal bees can be farmed, but yellow bees are as smart as humans, they'd sting intruders into honey ghosts. Plus, what he consumed came straight from the queen's mouth, not regular larval milk. He pales, what the heck did I just eat? Then politely declines, I'm afraid I can't get more. Myeoksang and mother-in-law chorus, why not? He answers slowly, even if we could, no one would dare eat it. Kaelson asks, why? Bad taste, nasty smell. Soryang replies seriously, neither taste nor smell is the problem. Sweating, he confesses, the essence is mouth delivered. To collect it you have to make direct contact. He sighs, meaning a kiss. She passes it by tongue. The table freezes solid. Musayang screams, kiss a bee's mouth. Mother-in-law gapes like a wax statue. Kaelson trembles. So, only you can obtain that essence. He nods solemnly. Now Hyun fully grasps the infamous tale. Spoons clatter, she leaps up yelling, a kiss. Hyun's face darkens like a brewing storm, eyes blazing as she growls Soryang's name in a murder tone. Moonlight glitters over the river, a silent temple lurking in the distance. A scared man stands still, eyes sharp as blades. He is Ju Young-hak, leader of the Miram Alliance, known as the Fist Emperor. Lost in thought, is interrupted by a knock announcing the tea is ready. He orders them in. A beautiful maid enters, softly reporting that white dew tea from Zishan is served. Hearing the name, Young-hak looks intrigued. He sips the first cup, recognizing the taste of his homeland. The maid smiles, saying it's a famous specialty. He nods, grateful, and savors it more deeply. He holds the cup while she quietly studies his every move. Just as he's about to sip, a knock interrupts the tea. He frowns as strategist Trinhu arrives. The long-haired, handsome man bows politely, apologizing for the intrusion. He reports urgent news from the Doong clan of Sichuan to be presented to the emperor. Young-hak smiles calmly, saying it must be something major. Trinhu steps closer, places a red scroll on the table and announces that Rakshasa blood and Takyong has been slain. The Doong clan took his head and his secret martial art. At that, the Fist Emperor crushes his teacup in fury, shards flying. His face turns purple with rage as he demands how they got the manual. Junj calmly explains Takyong was wounded by the Venom Lord and hid in Hainan. Junj smiles mysteriously, saying there's something far more interesting. A young man and his venomous creatures finish Takyong off. Fist Emperor is stunned that anyone could command poisoned beasts. Junj says slowly this is surely the news he most wants to hear. But before he continues, the nearby maid suddenly releases a crushing aura that freezes the room. Meanwhile, in the Doong clan's Sichuan hall, an emergency meeting gathers Soryang, Hyun, her mother, and the clan chief. An elder demands, someone dared leak our secrets. Another slams the table in outrage. Soryang whispers. Surprised no one scolds his father-in-law. Hyun chuckles. That's normal. The clan chief knows the culprit but stays silent while the branch elders fume. He orders a full investigation and declares hell go to Yingchuan himself. An elder asks which poison hell used. The chief coldly replies, start with Solar Razor, then Blood Burner, and finish with Gut Melt. His eyes gleam wickedly when their blood ignites, organs liquefy, and souls scatter. Ilan with 7-step Soul Snatcher. Soryang reels what a death cocktail. The chief summons the poison extermination squad, who scatter like wind to prepare. The squad assembles before the ancestral hall, ready to act. Masked assassins receive orders. The chief tells his son-in-law, keep yourself safe. Soryang bows respectfully. The chief adds, worry more for our enemies. Kaelson leads the group to hunt down the clan traitors. Soryang curiously asks about the cloaked figures. Huayan confirms it's them. She laughs. Their job's killing, not gardening, leaving him speechless. A sudden cough startles them both. Doong elders appear, sternly inquiring about Soryang's newfound fortune. He nods, suspicious they're after his royal bee essence, but their purpose turns out completely different. Embarrassed, they ask him for a favor, sparking his curiosity. He guesses it's about the royal bees. They panic and deny it. His curiosity grows while the elders blush. One pulls him close to whisper a secret. He mentions a medicine from earth beetles that Soryang once concocted. Soryang smiles knowingly. He toys with the medicine, ready to help the elders rejoice. Promising support, Hyun just sighs. The clan chief walks in, surprised to see them laughing together. As Soryang is about to hand over the medicine, the chief asks what's happening. Startling everyone, they flail around, pretending to chat cheerfully, making the chief trust Soryang even more. Hyun fumes, unable to believe her father is that gullible. Someone bursts in with urgent news. Tension thickens the air. Pei reports that the Lord of Southern Chuan is on his death. Shocking everyone, he insists the man followed dosage instructions exactly, but the Lord doubled it out of excitement over a new concubine. Soryang breaks a sweat imagining disaster. The clan chief sighs in disappointment and decides to inspect personally. He assigns Soryang to guard and watch over the clan's women. Then he departs the hall. Soryang casually assumes nothing bad will happen. At night, they chat. Hyun asks about his cultivation. He says it's easier to grasp now. She compares his technique to a twin-cylinder engine and notes his likely poison immune. She adds he can now project inner energy outward, making Soryang's eyes light up. Excited, he wants to test the new move immediately. They set up a straw dummy. Soryong readies his knife. He closes his eyes, focusing all his spirit. A strong green aura flares around him. He channels energy left and right, the two flows spinning like gears, energy balanced. He opens his eyes and throws the knife. The blade flies faster than lightning, pierces the dummy clean through like paper. Soryong beams. Hyun praises him, while the glowing knife startles two masked watchers nearby. Realizing its coincidence, they sigh in relief. One holds a copy of the Bloodhand Venom manual, ready to escape after the mission. They sneer, mocking Dong guards as fools who think escaping is easy. Suddenly, a faint pink mist spreads through the air. The sweet yet dangerous scent puts them on alert. Overhead, the Bee Queen watches suspiciously, sensing something odd. Screams erupt through the rainy night like a live horror film. Soryong freezes. Hyun turns toward the noise. Sensing trouble coming, they spot three hidden ninjas. Bee Queen dives down to attack, shocking the intruders as the couple realizes it's an invasion. Hyun shouts for Soryong to shoot, then dashes off like lightning through the dust. The Bee Queen keeps biting an enemy's head, making him shriek. Another ninja panics and yells to retreat. The bee clings on the two survivors. Bolt as Hyun charges after them without hesitation. She draws her whip, eyes blazing with battle fire. A sharp crack sounds, but the ninjas dodge nimbly. She stares, muttering, "Wait, they actually dodged." The bee-bitten ninja snaps, sword drawn toward her, the bee still stuck to his head like festival decor. Soryong yells frantically to warn Hyun. The foe strikes hard, the bee still sucking his skull like a parasite. Hyun deftly blocks with her whip, eyes piercing straight into his heart. Before he can move, she counters. Her whip nearly touches his face. A soft blast echoes. Bee Queen flies off as Hyun spins gracefully behind her foe like a dancer. The enemy collapses unconscious. Soryong stares in shock while Hyun calmly says, "All good," but black vapor seeps from his body, making everyone shudder. The bee lands on Soryong's shoulder, his unsure whether to fear or pity it. Hyun studies closely, eyes gleaming with morbid curiosity. Seconds later, the man drops dead. She murmurs he poisoned himself to die with secrets intact. From afar, alarm shouts ring out as guards are summoned. Hyun spins, ordering pursuit. Soryong sweats at her commanding tone as has dragged along with the blood venom squad. Night deepens. Torchlight flickers across the forest. Soryong, Pai, and their squad dash through the woods. Pai burns with zeal, vowing to catch the intruders. Everyone's fine except Soryong, panting like a buffalo while trying to trigger his sacred twin-cylinder technique. He stumps hard, aiming for a burst of speed. The ground cracks open. He dives headfirst into a pit. Centipedes scatter as he mumbles, "Am okay." His fall leaves a crater. Teammates haul him out, and he thanks them like a man reborn. But when he looks down, he freezes. Beneath his feet lies a nest of glowing green snakes staring at him. He nearly faints. Pai calmly explains snakes gather near strong yinkai and tells him not to panic. Hearing that, Soryong sweats like taking a second bath. One snake opens its jaws to strike odd, since this species is usually gentle. Under gloomy skies, Soryong admits slowing the team and urges everyone to speed up before the rain. They all agree. They rush on, not losing the enemy's trail. Soon, a flash ahead. P shouts, "We're here." The masked foes curse, realizing they're cornered. With a cliff behind and thunder above, the Blood Venom squad closes in. Both sides take stance, enemies ready to die fighting. Soryong just holds his breath. The squad draws kunai while the foes brandish gleaming blades. The tension crackles. They advance, pressure thick enough to burst the air. One charges first, kunai flying, but the strike's deflected by a dagger. Battle erupts. Blades clash, sparks fly. The ninjas realize their foes are amateurs. A ninja counters with a lightning kick to the face, disarming his foe as teammates yell, "Move!" Chaos for the Blood Venom squad. Suddenly, a figure darts forward like a missile. It's Pai, but the ninja ducks just in time. Pai waits silently, then uses the triple phantom kill, launching Hunai in a deadly pattern. The weapon splits midair into three, flying from three directions like death's tridents. The ninja blocks two, drenched in sweat. The third buries into his shoulder. He screams in agony. Pai steps up, smirking, "Congrats, you hit the jackpot today." Two more enemies lie still. Only one staggers alive, rain washing off the poison. Pai glares at him, eyes burning with rage. Then eerie laughter echoes, freezing everyone in place. Pai snaps, demanding the hidden one reveal himself. From the cliff, a figure plunges down, landing so hard the earth cracks. It's an old man with silver beard and a horror movie grin, eyes radiating killing intent. Pai warns everyone to retreat. This one's a real master. The old man oozes black miasma. Strolling forward casually, laughing chillingly, he asks the ninja for the item. Trembling, the man hands over the copy of the Blood and Venom manual, insisting it's not the original. Hearing that, Soryong jolts, eyes wide as lanterns. He recalls the clan chief's warning about the evil book his grandfather once secretly writ it. A bound ninja lies nearby. Soryong whispers to Pai that it's a replica of the forbidden manual, making Pai nearly swallow his tongue. Rage flushes Pace, his teeth grind like stone. The ninja gives the book to the old man, who reads it with a serpent's smile. Pai wonders if he's even human. The old man flips pages like a comic, finding the copy incomplete but still dangerous enough to wreak havoc. Finishing, he shuts the book and declares it's time to return to the martial world, then orders Hyatt Vin to slaughter everyone. Hyatt Vin cracks his knuckles, eyes blazing red, ready to unleash rage like someone losing phone charge in a storm. Beside him lies a comrade's corpse. He raises his hand to gather energy. A crimson aura bursts forth as the corpse's blood flows backward into his arm like a living pump. His hair stands on end. Soryang clutches his head, screaming, "What the hell?" The ninja's eyes glow. He grins coldly, slurping corpse blood like a strawberry smoothie. The kunai drops from his shoulder with a clink. His wound seals smoothly as the old man behind him laughs like a deranged lottery winner. The old man conjures a black energy sphere, proudly introducing himself as elder of the blood sect Blood Eagle Claw, Lord Guchanak. Soryang grits his teeth, drawing his kunai to face him. Guchanak eyes him like a cat spotting fish, licking his lips, craving young blood. Rain pours. He hides the book and orders Hayat Vin to capture Soryang alive. Youth blood's a rare delicacy. Both charge like evil-powered rockets. Soryang shouts to activate the 5 Venom Destruction Formation, vowing not to let them pass. Guchanak leaps skyward, radiating thick black aura. Laughing as tension peaks, he unleashes a devastating strike, blasting the ground like a bomb storm. Pai yells a warning. Debris flies as Soryang shields his face. Suddenly, a ninja appears behind and locks his neck in an instant. The man squeezes, growling, "Easy now, your blood's for the Elder's feast." Soryang gasps, face purple like a drowned eggplant. Desperate, he screams, "Bite, my babies." Tiny centipedes crawl from his shirt, savaging the foe's neck and arms, forcing release. The little bugs are vicious enough to freeze him in horror. Was this a horror flick or a cartoon? Before he processes it, kunai pierces the ninja's head. Soryang stands frozen. The centipedes crawl back into his clothes. As the body bursts into flames, he covers his eyes. Terrified, a familiar voice calls. He turns, heart leaping. It's Hyun with Wolfgang. She's the one who threw the killing kunai. Hyun's tone is stern, Wolfgang's face grim. They both sense major trouble ahead. Meanwhile, his team battles Guchanak. One member is seized. Pai turns pale, shouting it's a real blood sect elder. Hyun hears, eyes wide. She can't believe her ears. She orders support for Pai. Wolfgang nods, commanding switch to the 9 Venom Destruction Formation, ready for the real nightmare. Guchanak tosses corpses aside like trash, but Piss Squad forms the 9 Venom array, surrounding him. The old man recognizes Soryang as the one who killed Taekeniwang, wielder the Bloodhand Venom Claw. He mocks Taekeniwang's ridiculous death. Wolfgang roars back that tonight has the one going under. Guchanak grins wide like he just hit the jackpot. He spreads dark miasma, shouting, "Come at me, you insects, if you dare." Rain pounds as the battlefield burns red under the cold night. One warrior falls wounded. Soryang bandages fast, soothing him while the man groans like a stabbed ox. Though he tries to help, his heart sinks. The battle tilts toward the enemy. Guchanak grabs someone and drinks blood like sugarcane juice, draining Piss Squad as his power refills like fast charging. He hurls Hoyan into a tree with a crash. Soryang's blood runs cold. Hyun rolls in pain. Moaning, Soryang rushes to her side. He holds her trembling body. She smiles faintly, blood spilling from her lips. She clasps his hand, eyes filled with unspoken meaning. With a weak voice, Hyun urges Soryang to call for reinforcements, admitting they can't beat Guchanak. He grits his teeth, bitterly agreeing. The monster drains more blood, forcing Pai to signal retreat. Soryang bites his lip, heart aching in helplessness. Wolfgang orders him to run back for help, promising to hold the enemy no matter the cost. Soryang stands frozen, staring at his comrades amid the storm. Then he nods, eyes wet, vowing to return even if he runs slower than a turtle. Before he can speak, Hyun suddenly hugs him in the cold rain, crying and smiling. She says she believes in him and promises to hunt Venom beasts together again once peace returns, leaving him stunned. She grips his shoulder, giving her final words, "Go save our clan." Then she spins and charges back into battle, leaving Soryang dazed in the rain. After a philosophical pause, he sighs and decides to run for aid. He sprints through the downpour like a contestant in the survival marathon. His heavy breaths drown out even the thunder. Each step feels weighted. Mud drags him down, heart pounding wildly. He trips, face planting into the soaked earth. Tiny centipedes crawl from his shirt, chanting in unison, "You got this, boss." Soryang smiles, gently stroking one like a proud parent, but he knows even with full-speed Kingong, it'll take half a day to reach help and most clan masters are gone. Rain pours harder, as if heaven itself mourns. Standing still in the forest, his gaze turns distant, spinning. He suddenly realizes they sent him not because he's strongest, but because they wanted him to live. Clenching his fists, he feels the sting of being saved for being weakest, a noble yet painful mercy. The clan chief's words echo now. "You are family." He recalls how he always stood at the edge of that big family. Memories flood back like a slow-motion reel. The smiles, helping hands, and kind eyes once turned toward him, all return vividly, setting his heart ablaze. Though he once hesitated to belong, he now knows this is home. A faint smile crosses his lips in the cold rain. He strokes a centipede, realizing they're gentle, not killers. Slowly, he rises. Determination sparks in his eyes. Time to save them. The centipedes chirp like a tiny cheer squad. Soryang starts running. His heart holds one goal: save everyone. No matter what, he must find a way to stop the bloodsuckers from regenerating. The forest teems with venomous life snakes, plants, each with unique powers. As he runs, ideas form rapidly in his head. He halts. Something interesting catches his eye. Before him coils a massive snake nest, writhing like a living hot pot. He observes carefully, plotting, while the snakes stare back as if saying, "You dare." Centipede senses the killing intent, wriggling like it wants to fight. Soryong chuckles, soothing it softly. "Easy now, buddy." He sets his little centipedes down some nap. Others sniffle like abandoned kids. Without hesitation, he leaves them behind and charges straight at the snake nest. The snakes lift their heads as if asking, "Bro, you serious?" He grins confidently. "I'm Soryong, not your average human, let's dance." The colorful serpents look cute, but are among the deadliest in the land. Within seconds, they coil around him, biting from every angle like a live buffet. Their venom is brutal, yet Soryong laughs. "Bite harder, babies." One sinks deep into his arm. He trembles, but circulates inner energy to endure for now. The centipedes peek out. Yelling in panic, he reassures, "Dad's fine. Not joining the ancestors yet." Suddenly his eyes widen, something clicks in his mind. Staring at the bite-covered arm, he nods. "Yeah, that's enough dosage." He turns to retreat, strangely calm. But then his body stiffens, he can't move. Looking down, he sees snakes coiled tight around his legs. Thinking, who wrote this disaster script? He grits his teeth. This chaos wasn't in the plan. Unexpectedly, his tiny centipedes crawl up, perching on him like colorful butterflies. One squeaks loudly, making Soryong gaze at it like he's lost in clouds. A snake hisses at the centipede like a fire alarm. Sparking insect rage, the centipede snaps, leaps off Soryong, bites the snake, and slams it down. He gapes in awe. It chomps another and dives into combat while Soryong stands frozen like a statue. In seconds, it wipes out the foes. Grinning proudly as Soryong exhales in relief, he plops down, realizing they only wanted to protect him, and strokes its head fondly. The centipede crawls onto his head, snoozing as he whispers, "All right then, let's go save Mom." On the battlefield, Hyun's exhausted but her eyes still blaze. Many warriors have fallen. Gachanak drains life from others, and Tien fears annihilation. Victims convulse as Gachanak gulps blood like fresh juice. He laughs, snarling, "Piece of cake." Though drained, he mocks them, while Hoyen grips her whip. Fighting on trusting Soryong's safety, she orders distance and signals for backup. Rain is easing. Gachanak just smirks evilly. An elder steps up, urging Hyun to retreat. She stunned but firmly refuses. Clan members argue no hair of Dong sect will abandon comrades. Gachanak merely folds his arms. They plit again, but Hyun's resolve angers Gachanak. He interrupts, sneering that if these dolls escaped, he'd be disappointed. A wicked grin spreads across his lips. He tilts his chin, declaring that if Hyun flees, he'll burn the Duong sect to mark the blood sect's rebirth. The elder grinds his teeth, knowing mercy isn't in the plan. Hyun raises her whip, eyes blazing, vowing to take at least one piece of him. Even in death, her comrades roar in unity. She glares. He returns a smug smile. Suddenly, a voice from behind shouts, "Exactly. Clan members never abandon each other." Everyone spins. Hyun freezes, eyes wide as saucers. Soryong strides in, beaming with confident pride. The elder is stunned silent, and Hyun's heart pounds. What madness made him come back? He removes his centipedes, telling them to behave, then boldly declares, "Dongsek's spirit live or die together." Calmly, he takes off his shirt, entering full immortal hero mode. His eyes blaze with true Dong clan spirit. He draws the venom whip. Its gleam flashes like lightning. Without hesitation, he charges straight at Gachanak, who grins, delighted to meet a fun opponent. Hyun screams, "Don't be reckless." Gachanak coldly readies to counter, thinking, "Perfect, this fool's suicidal." Soryong accelerates, flying like a cannonball. Hyun goes pale as is grabbed by the neck, caught like a baby chick. Gachanak grins wide, thinking he's about to enjoy a free blood buffet. He places a hand on Soryong's stomach and starts sampling the main course while Soryong grits his teeth. Soryong fights back, but his blood is mercilessly drained. Gachanak sneers, mocking, "Idiot, blood tastes good no matter where it's from." And so, he keeps drinking like a malnourished vampire. The pain makes Soryong want to scream his lungs out. Seeing that, Hyun and P panic and order a rescue charge. Pai and Hyun rush him while Gachanak sips leisurely like he's having tea, as intoxicated by the taste of fresh blood after years of craving. Suddenly, he stumps the ground, dirt flying everywhere, hurls Soryong aside, and unleashes blood-tide explosion. Blowing up the area, everyone's thrown back, but Hyun manages to grab Soryong midair. Gachanak, now stronger, laughs proudly like he's just hit champion rank. He mocks that thanks to the boy, cleanup's easier. Meanwhile, Soryong faints, making Hyun burst into tears. He plans to give Soryong a gentle death, but Hyun hugs tight, yelling, "Over my dead body." Suddenly, Soryong coughs awake, making Hyun's eyes light up. Gachanak shrieks, "What the hell did you just do?" His hair falls like autumn leaves, skin wrinkling as he realizes he's poisoned. He trembles, stunned that the toxin pierced the blood sect's inner defense. Screaming, he demands to know what kind of creature Soryong is. Soryong smiles faintly, slowly sitting up, points and says, "I'm your nemesis." Hawaiian exhales in relief. The poison spreads fast. Gachanak shivers, refusing to believe he's losing to a kid. Weakening, Soryong turns to Hyun and reveals something that shocks her to the core. Gachanak stares, eyes blooded, sweating as he fails to grasp what's happening inside him. He realizes his own blood has rebelled ever since he drank Soryong's. He roars in despair, crying that the blood sect throne was within reach but now gone. He goes berserk, running and screaming he won't die like a loser, losing control. He charges at Soryong, making Hyun tense up with dread. Before he reaches them, she lashes her whip lightning fast. The whip wraps around his neck, making him howl like a slaughtered ox. She's stunned it actually hit deadened like divine aim. Gachenak panics, tugging the whip desperately, refusing to believe he got caught so easily. His eyes blaze like a madman's, foaming at the mouth. He growls in rage, unable to restore his blood power. Even devouring Soryang wouldn't help. He bellows, charging like a blood-drunk bull, screaming, "It'll kill you all. Bloodsec forever." Tian coldly snaps, "Shut up and die already." Then she swings the whip like thunder, slicing his head clean off. The head does a stylish spin and lands with a thud before Pai, freezing him in shock. Seconds later, Pai bursts out laughing, shouting victory. With the blood-sect elder dead, others rush to aid Hyun and Soryang while the clan celebrates wildly. Hyun eyes Soryang curiously, asking how he made Gachenak go limp like noodles. Soryang grins and calls her Big Sis, making her blush like a ripe tomato. He laughs weakly, drenched in sweat, joking that the cure needs another snake bite, sending her into panic. Seeing him pale as paper, Hyun remembers striped snakes aren't venomous and yells for the antidote. Hours later, Soryang wakes up drooling, bewildered about where he is. The chieftain sternly warns him not to move. While Hyun exhales in relief seeing his alive, Soryang lies stiff as a board, eyes darting like a trapped fish, confused until the chieftain transfers energy to restore his strength. "You've been out for 10 days, says the chieftain, making Soryang turn pale. Hyun smiles gently, thanking him. Without him, she couldn't have decapitated that old demon if Grandpa hadn't arrived. Both would be goners. Soryang gulps, recalling how he nearly died twice from snake bites in his past life. Fate clearly loves irony. After treatment, he sits up with Hyun's help, teary-eyed, silently thanking Grandpa for saving his life. The Grand Elder looks stern, like he's about to start a national conference, placing a hand on Soryang's shoulder. He excitedly questions him about the striped viper and how he beat the blood fiend. Hyun tries to stop him while Soryang struggles to stay conscious. He props his forehead, raises 2 fingers like a teacher, declaring, "The striped viper is indeed venomous. This snake's got a double-layer toxin, spits first, detonates later." Hyun and Grandpa gape while Soryang calmly lectures like a professor, explaining that this timid, small-fanged species was dismissed until the 1980s when it was exposed as venomous. Grandpa muses, then exclaims, "So that venom wrecked the blood fiend's inner force," but stops, remembering their sect resists poison. Soryang shrugs, "Theory's fine, but I trust snake venom did the job." He seriously explains the toxin is a hematoxin, makes blood go absolutely haywire. It destroys the body inside out, cells melting like candy in boiling water. Think about it, bloodsuckers swallowing blood-breaking poison. That's suicide. Soryang's scheme was pure genius. He philosophizes, their power depends on blood ruin the blood, and they self-destruct. The water-striped viper may be small but 5 times deadlier than a pit viper add yin energy. And it's a death combo. Grandpa starts sweating buckets. He stares in disbelief such a lethal creature lives near Situ. Hyun's eyes sparkle with pride, praising, "My husband's amazing." Grandpa coughs lightly, pulling the lovebirds back to reality. He chuckles, "The blood fiend once called you a heaven-defying brat." Soryang blushes, mumbling, "Sounds like a cheesy school drama." He hides under his blanket, cheeks red as apples, while Hyun and Grandpa pat his shoulders, praising, "Perfect title, heaven's nemesis." Grandpa gratefully thanks Soryang for saving the whole clan. Then he clenches his fist in fury. "They dared touch our house while I was gone? This time, we'll wipe them out completely." Soryang and Hyun nod firmly, vowing to annihilate the blood fiends using tons of striped viper venom. Mentioning Gachenek, Soryang's eyes blaze, seeing them as venomous mosquitoes to be erased from existence. From that day, the Tang clan entered full red alert like a traffic jam of warning lights. Many warriors were gravely injured or killed. Distress messages tied to pigeons were sent to righteous sects. The Grand Elder himself released the bird, speaking solemnly, reduced casualties even against masters, but his heart sank at the blood yet to spill. That sect didn't just drink blood 30 years ago, they committed mass slaughter. Earning a lifelong grudge from Miram, this mess was worse than burnt rice. While Soryang still dazed, Grandpa rested a hand on his shoulder, saying, "This time's different," snapping him awake. Eyes bright, Grandpa grinned confidently, because this time, the Sichuan Tang clan is the blood fiend sect's nemesis. Soryang blushed, unsure if proud or embarrassed. Grandpa smirked. "If, just saying that to cheer you up." Then he turned serious, asking if Soryang dared take the duty. Soryang answered, "Clearly it's the clan's fight," and had see it through. Grandpa's face darkened. The Miram alliance is on its way, along with allied forces. He plans to reveal the toxin. Soryang discovered it's the blood fiend's fatal weakness, leaving Soryang wide-eyed in shock. Soryang bows with a smile, saying he'll give his all for justice. Grandpa grins. Just as he expected, before Soryang leaves, Grandpa calls out, "Wait, got news that'll make you thrilled." Soryang turns back, eyes sparkling. Grandpa cheerfully announces, "The 10,000 toxins haul is complete, you're in charge." Soryang clenches his fists, gleaming like he hit the jackpot. In his mind, he's already lounging among venomous beasts, grinning like it's bonus payday. Grandpa adds, "Yo, we even built a sunny porch for your striped vipers." Soryang clasps his hands, brimming with ambition for Miram's glorious future. A messenger pigeon flaps away into the horizon. Hours later, Soryang arrives at the 10,000 toxins hall. Jaw-dropping, amazing like a palace. Two guards stand firm at the gate as Soryang and Hyun step inside. The area even has a venomous creature guard, and the name alone sends chills. Hyun clutches her chest in awe while Soryang crosses his arms, smugly explaining it's the playground of the deadliest creatures on Earth. Hyun timidly asks, "You really plan to gather all of them?" Soryang replies confidently like a scholar defending his thesis. "Of course. I vowed to collect all 10 great venoms of Zongyuan." Hearing that, Hyun blushes hard, heart pounding, covering her mouth in shy panic. She quickly finds an excuse to leave, dashing off and leaving Soryang standing dumbfounded like a rooster without a coop. Just then, cheerful clansman approaches, smiling like spring flowers, its goopy hands on hips. He proudly declares, "I'm now commander of the Poison Squad." Soryang freezes, and Hyun's jaw drops as Goopy explains it's a new unit founded by Grandpa's order. Behind him stands a mighty team. Goopy announces loudly they're Soryang's aides now, ready to serve his every whim. The sight makes Soryang drool, while Hoyen shoots him a jealous glare. Soryang grins from ear to ear, thinking, "I got my own exotic pet squad now. Venom Kingdom. Here I come." The last messenger pigeon finally reaches its destination. A black-haired woman receives the letter, her eyes sharp as blades. Reading it, she realizes the Blood Fiend sect has crawled back from hell. She looks up at the sky, sighing, so much for peace. Zongyuan's turning into a blood-soaked battlefield again. At dawn, Juju and her retinue set off straight for the Tang clan. An elder laughs, "Almost there. Tonight we'll sleep in a mansion." Yuju beams, dreaming of a warm bed instead of straw. In his mind, Emperor Quanzhou Young rages with clenched fists, while Chu Jiayu sweats, thinking he'd better bring back good news or die trying. Minutes later, the group stands before Tang Clan's gate, guarded by 2 armored sentries. The elder grins like it's New Year's homecoming. One guard studies them closely, instantly recognizing the famed Miram delegation. Fuge steps forward, folding his fan with grace. Smiling, "Miram strategist at your service." One guard opens the gate while the other bows, politely asking them to wait a moment. Then the guard's face tenses as he leans in to whisper that there's a very important rule to remember before entering. Chu Jiayu frowns curiously, while the elder asks, "We gotta hand over weapons." The guard scratches his chin awkwardly. Not exactly just no killing, no matter how small the creature. Inside Tang grounds, Syuko imagines the whole estate turned into a temple and nearly chants a metabo on the spot. The guard hastily clarifies, "You'll understand once inside, just remember that rule." Juju and the elder straighten up, laughter gone. Right then, a cheerful voice rings out, welcoming the honored guests. They turn to see Hyun and Soryang arriving, both bowing politely. Chu Jiayu smiles back, recalling their previous meeting. Hyun gently rests a hand on her belly, softly replying, "Yes, it's been a full year." Chu Jiayu grins and asks about the Venom Lord. Calmly, Hyun says her grandfather left to hunt the blood fiends and asks forgiveness. Chu Jiayu waves it off, being greeted by one of the 3 blossoms, hardly trouble. Then his gaze shifts to Soryang, curiously asking about the young man beside her. Soryang bows respectfully, introducing himself as Waiseryong, leaving the group baffled. Never heard that name in Tang family records. Hoyen blushes, averts her eyes, and murmurs, "Soryang is my fifya." The words explode like fireworks. The elders nearly faint, and young men groan at losing their goddess. They clench their fists, eyes watery with envy, while Chu Jiayu hides behind his fan, awkwardly smiling. "Please, come inside," knowing any delay might spark duels for the Blossom's heart. A strange hum echoes, freezing Chu Jiayu and the elder like they've been hypnotized. Everyone looks up, mouths agape, shouting, "Up there, what's that shining thing flying?" Turns out it's a swarm of massive golden bees. Glittering midair, Tang Clan apparently breeds airborne assassins too. The warriors immediately form ranks before Hyun, drawing swords and shouting, "Protect the Blossom," while Soryang turns pale, yelling, "Put those swords away now." He tries to explain the Mainer's rules, but one man snaps, "Move, a queen bee sting and you're done for." The crowd presses closer, nearly knocking Soryang over. He shouts, "They're my bees, calm down," making everyone freeze in utter shock. A queen bee lands on Soryang's head like greeting its master, and the Miram delegation stumbles back 3 steps, faces white as ghosts. Soryang smiles kindly, gently stroking the bee's wing like greeting an old friend. Hoyen watches, eyes sparkling like shiz in an insect romance drama. The swarm turns toward the guests, and Soryang pats softly, "No stinging the visitors." "Okay." A nearby swordsman trembles, sweating bullets. Thankfully, no one moves after that near honey bath, and Chu Jiayu's group follows Soryang and Hoyen inside under a fragile truce. Chu Jiayu secretly watches, thinking, "Good heavens, this youth's young, engaged to Tang's heiress, and tames queen bees." Both impressed and bewildered. As they pass the courtyard, his eyes lock onto a bizarre scene ahead. 2 young men are bickering. One waves a scorpion jar shouting, "This is true Tang spirit." The other hugs a tiny chameleon and snaps, "Its crest's prettier than your face." Chu Jiayu gapes, turning to Soryang, trembling, "Why is everyone here raising bugs?" Soryang chuckles awkwardly, explaining, "They're being punished with a lesson called making friends with venomous creatures." The elder sweats. "What kind of weird punishment is that?" Soryang rubs his chin, recalling, "It started a few nights ago." That night, he and Hoyen were in the training chamber. Hoyen sternly told him to focus his energy flow, but from afar, It looked like cheerleading practice. Suddenly, footsteps approached, and both turned instantly. Captain Guppy appeared with his crew. Faces drooping like expelled students, he bowed gloomily. Over half the feeder mice for the Vipers are dead. Soryong's eyes darkened, while Hoyen stood stunned like she had wandered into a tragedy film. He sighed, realizing silence was golden because in this mess, even a mother mouse might turn cannibal. Guppy accidentally blurts the shocking truth: the warriors drank their baby mice snacks, leaving Soryong frozen stiff. He stands there numb, realizing they treated the feeder mice as fine liquor appetizers. Huan calmly explains that the three squeaks dish means love baby mice dipped in sauce, making Guppy wish he could vanish. Soryong turns to stone while Toyn erupts in fury, and Guppy mumbles an awkward origin story about this traditional delicacy. Soryong glares in disgust, knowing those tiny creatures were meant to feed vipers, not fillbillies. He vows to teach them a lesson. Thus, the punishment befriending venomous creatures was born, forcing warriors to raise monsters themselves. Jug now gets why everyone has freaky pets. Jug stares wide-eyed at Soryong, filled with both curiosity and admiration. Soryong sighs warily, only making Jug more certain this man is no ordinary soul. That evening, the Grand Elder appears, sternly recounting everything at the council table. Shug realizes Soryong is the same mysterious young fighter he met on Hanan Island, then asks curiously about the Tang clan's treasure. Jug praises Soryong's brilliance, mentioning his dazzling golden bees, making the young man blush and worry. Jug's face darkens, troubled by the blood sect's ongoing disappearance. The Grand Elder smiles firmly, declaring they won't let the blood sect rise again. Soryong's curiosity burns brighter. He calls for something special to be brought in, leaving Jug puzzled. The Elder raises his hand in a subtle signal. A barrier envelopes the three. Muting sound outside, Garboy readies himself while Jug stares at the shimmering aura in awe. Soryong calmly places a mysterious jar on the table. Shug picks it up, eyes gleaming, mind spinning with theories. He asks what's inside. The Elder replies it's a toxin that destroys inner force, while Jug scoffs it's a common poison. Nothing fancy. The two elders exchange knowing looks, smiles hinting that something big is coming. They reveal the shocking secret: the toxin only targets blood sect members, making Jug jolt upright. He slams the table, demanding answers. The Elder calmly confirms the unbelievable truth. Jug's rage flares as he recalls the bloody war 30 years ago, when similar poison nearly destroyed them. The Grand Elder recounts that battle, where warriors lost their power and fell while enemies sneered. Jug gravely asks about the new version's potency. The Elder's seasoned eyes gleam with confidence. It can downgrade any blood sect master to a mere mortal. He adds that Huan once felled a blood sect elder in a blink, making Jug light up with excitement. Jug bows gratefully, praising Soryong as the hero who uncovered a world-saving secret. The Elder tells of Soryong's insane act, using himself as bait for testing, leaving Jug awestruck. Jug pats Soryong's shoulder, while he just laughs awkwardly, dying of embarrassment inside. Jug solemnly vows to personally grant any wish Soryong desires. He chuckles softly, curious what wild request might come next. Soryong scratches his chin, shyly asking for research data on venomous creatures. Jug stares, baffled why the man prefers studying snakes over martial treasures. Seeing Jug's confusion, the Elder bursts into laughter as if watching a comedy mid-meeting. Jug closes his eyes, realizing he's facing a true eccentric Onyafakin in the martial world. Jug half jokes, half serious, asking if Soryong wants to raise a rare spirit stone gecko. Peaceful sounds of a waterfall echo through the lonely mountain forest. A group approaches. A long-haired youth turns to tell his uncle they've reached the meeting point. The uncle is Jughu, standing proudly amid Mount Ganga, smiling as the scenery matches ancestral legend. Jug bends down to touch the icy stream, marveling that it feels like the breath of 1,000-year snow. He beams, orders his men to stay put, and calls Kun to follow, sending the boy into joyful excitement. Shackle leaps up gracefully like a mountain lark. He glides over the water, while Chen dashes after him like Hez, afraid to be left behind. Soon, both stand beneath the majestic waterfall. Jug lays a hand on the rock wall, eyes gleaming as he recalls the hidden path behind the turtle-shaped cliff, making Kun squeal like meeting a living myth. They exchange eager, knowing smiles. Zughu leads in the cave, Kun following, thrilled like opening a millennium-old treasure vault. Inside, the walls are lined with rare herbs radiating a strange fragrance. Jug moves cautiously, step by step, while Kin gawks as if wandering a dream realm. He parts the vines and freezes at the sight before him. In the cave's center, sunlight streams through a circular hole, reflecting off glittering gems. Chen feels like Hez in heaven. They realize it's a natural spiritual herb garden, leaving Jin frozen with delight. Jug suddenly spots a strange plant resembling an icy blossom. It's the 100-year snow ginseng, treasure absorbing frost essence for centuries. Jin suggests trading it for Nangan clan's black silk flower, but Jug insists this elixir can save the Namgang Harris. He closes his eyes, calmly preparing to harvest the treasure. His hand moves slowly as the air around the ginseng trembles with spiritual energy. Suddenly, a sharp whistle pierces the cave, making Jug's face drain of color. A dark blur streaks in like lightning, leaving him just enough time to grit his teeth before danger strikes. In that life-or-death instant, Jug's fan snaps, blocking the blow. The creature ricochets around the cave as Kun yells in panic, asking if his uncle's still alive. It moves too fast to track, forcing Jug to shout for his nephew to stay back. The monster darts behind, aiming to ambush, but Jug spins and counters just in time, the strike missing by a hair. The fan's edge freezes solid, and Jug realizes his own energy has been sealed. Kun rushes up, trembling, asking what kind of nightmare creature that is. Jug calmly answers, a lizard, nearly making Kun's jaw hit the floor. A blue-scaled lizard peeks from the shadows, gleaming like a living gem ready to swallow men whole. Later, Jug recounts the tale to Soryang, who gapes in awe at the near-extinct species, while the Grand Elder can only sigh at the boy's obsession with poisonous fauna. With a serious tone, the Elder notes lizards are harmless just to be sure, while Soryang excitedly insists their eyes carry Kaitoxin. The Elder nods. Aha! Impressive, utterly lost. Jug smirks wryly, thinking this guy truly is nature's rarest oddball. Beneath the starlit sky, Jug promises to report any new venomous finds, making Soryang's eyes beam like headlights as he gushes endless thanks. The next morning, the clan chief bursts back home, rushing into the manor like a storm to check on Soryang's condition. Inside, Hing, Zugu, and the Grand Elder sip tea leisurely. They all look up as the clan chief bursts in, and Soryang curiously asks what's going on. Taizan immediately grabs Soryang's head like a mechanic inspecting a machine, making Hyun dizzy while Soryang frantically insists he's perfectly fine. He proudly shows off his scars like medals of honor, making the chief blush with anger, boiling at the blood sect's cruelty. Suddenly, the chief freezes, eyes narrowing in suspicion. He turns to Hyun, anxiously asking if she's hurt, prompting her to reassure him. Hyun smiles confidently, saying she's fine and that Soryang saved her. The Grand Elder coughs for attention and praises Soryang to the heavens. He recounts how Soryang not only defeated a blood sect elder, but declared himself his nemesis, making Soryang blush while the chief beams with pride. Soryang scratches his head awkwardly, saying it all worked thanks to careful planning, while the Grand Elder adds that's how they found the blood sect's fatal weakness. Juggle raises a hand politely, greeting them with a charming smile. Catching the chief's attention, the two shake hands warmly, laughing over their long overdue reunion. Jogu jokes about being too busy, making Soryang and Han chuckle quietly. Hyun smooths her hair and mentions the two were childhood friends, leaving Soryang wishing for a hole to crawl into. Jug invites the chief to sit and discuss serious matters about the blood sect. The chief nods gravely. He calls Soryang and Hyeon to join, saying it's crucial business. Soryang trembles slightly while Hyeon smiles calmly as if prepared. The group gathers around the table, the chief asking solemnly about the traitor investigation. Soryang blurts out, confused, "Wait, by traitor, do you mean a spy or like a special kind of cockroach?" The chief props his chin on his hand, eyes gleaming as if about to reveal an ancient secret. He closes his eyes, sternly recalling how the blood sect once broke in to steal the Crimson Hand Venom Claw manual, making Soryang nod furiously, comparing it to their family's holy vault. The chief opens his eyes and asks how the blood sect knew the manual was in Tang hands. Soryang sweats bullets, red alert sirens ringing in his mind. He slams the table and leaps up, shouting there must be a spy in the clan, leaving Hoyen and the chief blinking in confusion. The chief and Juggo's eyes glaze over like a fog just rolled into the meeting room. Jug chuckles, resting a hand on the chief's shoulder, teasing that the future son-in-law is quite the amateur detective, but admits his theory's amusing. The chief just sighs while Soryang drowns in nervous sweat. Hyun smiles gently, explaining there are no traitors in Tang clan. Soryang widens his eyes like hearing a fairy tale. The chief calmly says even servants have their family lines checked 8 generations back. No one slips through. He confidently adds that since everyone lives within the clan, no one dares betray it, leaving Soryang frozen like struck by lightning. Still curious, he asks, then who's the spy? Making the whole table exchange awkward looks. Cut to another scene. The sharp sound of a teacup shattering echoes. A burly man strangles a woman, squeezing until she can barely breathe. It's Chu Yong, eyes blazing, grip merciless. The victim is a servant from the Mirren Alliance. Jug raises a finger, smiling confidently, saying only 3 people in the Alliance knew and now their leader must have caught the traitor. The sun rose, and calm slowly returned to the Tang household after the storm. Suddenly, a stranger appeared at the clan gate, boasting he'd run from Hebei to Chengdu without using light step, scaring the guards half to death. He thumped his chest proudly, aura blazing. Then he laughed, demanding they inform the clan leader that Peng Muon, head of the Peng family, had arrived to pay respects. A warning arrow immediately shot into the sky. Seeing the signal, Soryang and Hyun dashed to the gate, followed by a crowd of curious clansmen. Soryang whispered to Hyun if they should greet the guest, but she smiled softly, saying their elders were still in a serious meeting, so stay calm. Hyun encouraged him with a confident smile, saying as the future son-in-law he should hold his head high. He froze. Tangled in panic, he casually opened the main gate, thinking it was just a guest, while the guards on the other side trembled like facing a demon. As soon as it opened, Soryang came face to face with Peng Muon and his stern entourage. Peng Muon's eyes widened in surprise and confusion, but seeing Hyun, he burst into laughter as she bowed politely in greeting. Cheerfully, Peng Muon said it'd been so long he almost didn't recognize her. She shyly replied it'd been 5 years. His smile vanished as his sharp gaze fell on Soryang, making the poor guy sweat bullets. Trying to stay calm, Soryang introduced himself as Wei Zuryang, the Tang family's future son-in-law. Peng Muon squinted, stroking his chin as if inspecting a rare item. Suddenly, he grabbed Soryang's face, demanding to know if he was Hyen's fiant. The boy panicked while she laughed behind her hand and nodded. Peng Muen's face grew serious, studying Soryang's every breath. Soryang got so nervous he looked away, heart pounding. The elder kept staring, tapping his chin like making grand calculations. Without warning, he bent down to inspect the goods, turning Soryang red as a tomato while Hyen gawked like in a horror movie. Peng Muen laughed, saying he was just checking if the groomtobe was manly enough, and declared him perfectly fine, leaving Soryang speechless. The boy looked to Hyen for rescue, but Peng Muen patted his head and praised to be top quality. In a few years, Hyen blushed, recalling Peng family's odd traditions. Peng Muen threw an arm over Soryang's shoulder, laughing loudly while his men examined him like treasure. Soryang just prayed it was local custom. He bowed in thanks, eyes shining at the praise, while Peng Muen laughed heartily, calling him gutsy and unlike the usual pampered lads. The elder slapped his back like a hammer and introduced himself as the Peng clan chief. Welcoming him to Tang Manor, Hyen sweated buckets beside them. Hyen suddenly cut in, saying she had a question. Catching Peng Muen's curiosity, wide-eyed, she asked how the Peng group managed to run from Hebai so fast. Peng Muen's face turned wary as he asked if the Tang family was in trouble. Since he hadn't planned to come help, he narrowed his eyes, inspecting Soryang's hair for clues, leaving Hyen sweating and confused while Soryang's brain short-circuited. Upon reaching the mansion, Peng Muen froze at the blood sect traces still lingering, thickening the air with tension. While everyone drank tea, Hyen reported the remnants had been wiped out. Peng Muen sighed at his late arrival, and Jug sat motionless like a statue. The clan chief kindly asked the reason for his visit, startling Peng Muen into admitting he came to seek aid. Though the blood sect had distracted him, his words made Hyen and Soryang gape, while the chief tilted his head. Curious for details, Peng Muen grimaced and sighed again, looking ready to tell a tragic family tale. He signaled his men to bring in a girl to greet the elders, catching Jug's attention instantly. The grand hall doors creaked open. A sharp-eyed man entered, his gaze cutting like blades, making everyone shiver slightly. Hyen gasped to see he was quite young, while Soryang froze on the spot. The man ordered coldly for the girl to greet the Tang elders. A lazy child's voice came from behind him, but him still sleeping. Soryang jolted, eyes about to pop out. From his back, a white-clad figure floated down like a feather, stunning Hyang. A tiny, adorable girl appeared, holding a glowing lollipop under the lights. The room fell silent, all eyes glued to the little fluff ball. In a clear, sweet voice, she bowed politely in Peng Yinjing. Peng Muen beamed, lifting his daughter proudly, declaring her his little princess, leaving Hyen and Soryang gaping. Hyen mentally screamed how the genes worked so well, while Soryang stared blankly. Peng Muen laughed that both father and daughter shared the same dazed charm. Stroking her hair, he explained she was the reason he came to the Tang family for help. His face darkened as he said she had been strangely weak lately and sought the chief's aid. The clan chief asked if she was ill, while Soryang worriedly eyed the radiant child, doubting that smile hid sickness. On closer look, the chief sensed an odd aura like venomous wind mixed with chilling ki. That night, Soryang lay in bed among his crawling centipedes, pondering Peng Yinjing's symptoms with no clue in sight. He gently stroked one centipede, as if comforting a comrade. Hours earlier, while the girl sat in the hall, Peng Muen gravely described her attack's shortness of breath, red rashes, fainting, prompting the chief to check her meridians carefully. Peng Muen's eyes burned with rage as he recounted begging healers for help. One odd remark nearly made him punch someone. The chief asked what that remark was. Peng Muen said someone suspected poisoning, but he swore no one in his clan would do such a thing. Soryang froze. Hyen turned serious. The chief confirmed poison signs, likely internal sabotage. Peng Muen blanched. Panicking, holding his head, he fell silent, unwilling to suspect his own. Jug agreed, urging patience as there might be another cause. Watching the girl nibble cookies, the chief decided to keep her in the guest quarters for observation. Peng Muen thanked Tang's chief and entrusted his daughter to their care. Soryang daydreamed of the girl happily eating sweets, half convinced she might just have an extreme sugar overdose. He wonders if diabetes causes rashes. If it did, they'd have caught it early. A knock interrupts his deep thoughts. Someone bursts in with shocking news. Soryang opens the door. The maid trembles, saying Miss Peng Yinjing has fainted. The news hits him like lightning. The moon glows bright. A tragic night indeed. Soryang rushes to find Hyen and Muen's people in panic, demanding answers. The child lies unconscious, flushed and gasping. Muen trembles holding her. Hyen says she just caught and collapsed. The clan chief declares this proves there's no spy within the Peng clan. Peng Muen clenches his fist, confused, while the chief stares at him meaningfully. Suddenly, Muen punches himself, stunning everyone. The blow so hard he loses a tooth. With blood dripping, he smiles, apologizing for wrongly suspecting family, realizing the cause isn't betrayal. His subordinates tear up. Soryang just stares at the missing tooth. Everyone starts slapping themselves in guilt. The chief yells for calm while Muen grins like has found enlightenment. Peng Muen's teeth scatter like fireworks. Hyen nervously asks Soryang what to do, and he says he's got an idea. Soryang clasps his hands and shouts for everyone to stop. They freeze mid-bow. Face is purple. He grins and claims he can find the cause and clear them all. Capturing every gaze, sitting down observe closely, he shocks Peng Muon completely. With chilling calm, Sorong says they must remove Yinjing's clothes. The chief and Hyun instantly turn to stone. Muon erupts, eyes blazing. The chief reels while Muon shouts, "What did you just say?" Soryong blinks, clueless about their outrage. As he tries to repeat, Muon grabs his collar, freezing him stiff, redayed with fury. Muon glares. Soryong stammers, begging to explain. A small centipede crawls from Soryong's shirt. He orders it back. Terrified, Muon fumes, but the chief urges calm, saying Soryong must have a reason. Hyun pleads to. Muon still grips his collar. Soryong forces a crooked smile while Hyun insists he's trustworthy. Muon finally lets go. Still seething but grudgingly allows an explanation. Soryong exhales like he escaped death. He kneels, begging to speak fully. Muon folds his arms, eyes closed, agreeing to listen. Soryong solemnly explains he only wants to change Yinjing's clothes to check for toxins. Muon's jaw drops. Huge misunderstanding realized, is about to slap himself again. But Soryong stops him, saying anyone could misread that when a daughter faints. Clan Chief Tang smiles kindly, thanking Soryong for his patience. Soryong announces that Yinjing will stay with the Tang clan and cut contact with the Pengs. Muon gapes. "Wait, me too." Smiling, Soryong says if she falls ill again under Tang care, it proves the Pengs aren't to blame. A controlled environment reset. As Toxin Tamers say, he recalls a past life when his pet gecko looked at him begging for vitamin D. If only creatures could talk. That's why one must tweak every life factor: food, shelter, to find the true culprit. Now Yinjing's flushed and gasping. Soryong plans to reset her entire environment, reintroducing each element to trace the cause. The clan chief strokes his beard, praising Soryong's sound and promising logic. He calls his son-in-law brilliant. Soryong sweats under the flattery. Hyun sighs in relief, and Muon trembles with emotion. Muon hugs his daughter, teary-eyed, asking Soryong to take good care of her. Hand on chest, Soryong beams, saying his raised snakes and bugs before babysitting's easy. Next morning, Yinjing wakes. Teriad troubles brewing. She suddenly bursts into tears, throwing Soryong into chaos. Her crying grows louder as Hyun and her mother prep things, leaving him solo in a baby storm. He awkwardly asks if she's hungry or sleepy, but tears keep flowing. Desperate, Soryong guesses she misses her dad. Peng Muon, he points outside, saying Dad's fetching medicine and will be back soon. She pouts and sobs, "I want candy." He sweats, realizing she's crying for sweets. Yinjing wails louder since candy's gone. Soryong recalls Hyun found her secret stash while changing clothes. He gently soothes her, saying she shouldn't eat sweets right after fainting. Porridge first, then he'll make candy himself. She stops crying, eyes sparkling. "Really?" Soryong solemnly raises a finger, promising a special sugar-glazed fruit skewer just for her if she eats well, making her glow like a star. She smiles and seals the deal happily. She raises a fist, grinning. The Pengs keep promises, break it and get punched. Soryong sighs, baffled by this parenting style. Clear skies and sunshine peaceful, but storm incoming. In a corner of the Tang estate, Peng Muon hides in bushes, heavy-hearted over his daughter. He watches Yinjing play with bees and Hyun, teary since is banned from nearing her. Soryong spots him, gasps, and asks what he's doing here. Moon jumps in fright. He instantly drags Soryong into the bushes like it's a top-secret mission. Panicked, he urgently asks about his daughter. Soryong tumbles over, dazed. Sitting up, Soryong replies she's eating great, even cleared a plate of fried meat. Moon freezes, thinking he misheard. His eyes bulge like a stranded fish, utterly stunned. Suddenly, a woman in a red dress appears, making both men whip around. It's Hyun. She bows politely, and Moon thanks her for caring for his daughter. She smiles, saying the girl just asked, "Where's brother Soryong?" Moon blushes while Soryong wishes the earth would swallow him. Moon glares, furious that even her father isn't called so sweetly. How did that brat that get promoted to brother? Soryong shakes like a leaf. Moon roars, asking since when she calls him that. Soryong stays mute, then bolts without looking back. Moon rips his hair out in rage while Hyun laughs, teasing if hell stormed the training yard again. Soryong pants, explaining the bees made her behave. He rushes to the courtyard, finding the bees seem quite fond of Yinjing too. There she is, happily playing with a chubby bee. She hugs the bee, cheerfully greeting him. Soon more bees gather around her like her besties. Some land on her head, others lick her cheeks, making her giggle. Soryong smiles warmly, glad the bees helped them bond. A bee lands on his head, and he suddenly realizes the bees adore her not from affection, but because she's drenched in syrup like a walking dessert. Knowing the bees love her, she begs to play daily. Just then, the bee queen appears, and she shouts, "Brother, look, the queen bee." He crutches and softly warns the girl not to call the queen bees busy. She nods obediently. His heart warms. Turns out babysitting's kind of fun, like having a little sister. She pipes up again, "Brother." Another bee, making Soryong flinch and look up. He covers his mouth, warning Yinjing to stay away. Some bees actually have real stingers. Moments later, she screams she's been stung, and he panics, rushing to her. Seeing the tiny sting, he freaks out, ready to take her to the infirmary while she curiously inspects her hand. Holding her hand, he prepares to apply medicine. Knowing bee venom can be deadly, she nods meekly. Suddenly, Soryong freezes in shock. The girl starts gasping, face flushing bright red. Her whole body trembles, then collapses. Icy cold, he dives forward just in time to keep her head from hitting the ground. Muin's words echo. She often struggled to breathe, broke out in rashes, sometimes fainted, and it all clicks. Gritting his teeth, Sorong realizes it's full-blown anaphylaxis. Anaphylaxis when the body overacts to something harmless. The immune system goes haywire, like a house alarmed by a false thief. That chaos is called inflammation. The body releases histamine, widening vessels to flood antibodies in, but if it goes too far, blood vessels overexpand and circulation crashes. Histamine floods like a waterfall, vessels dilate, pressure drops, oxygen plummets, organs revolt. Severe anaphylaxis can kill in seconds. Soryang lifts Yinjing and sprints like the wind. He prays aloud for her to hold on. In a blink, he reaches the clan chief's gate. He shouts. Yinjing's collapsed. The chief rushes out, face tense. The girl's red as a tomato. Wheezing, the chief and Muin dash over. Panic-stricken, Soryang explains her breathing's failing. Muin, terrified, channels his inner energy while the chief observes silently. Gradually her breathing steadies, rashes fading. Seconds later her skin returns normal. Soryang slumps, relieved, admiring how inner forces basically cheat mode. In modern times you'd need a shot here. One chi burst fixes all. Soryang half believes it. The chief frowns, realizing the symptoms match past incidents. This isn't over. He asks if Soryang saw the cause. Muin leans forward. Soryang nods firmly, his sure. Raising a finger, he declares, "Bee sting." Both men nearly drop their jaws, taken down by a bee. Impossible. Stroking his beard, the chief admits bee stings can cause fainting, but not every time. Muin agrees they still lack the true answer. As tension builds, Soryang smiles calmly, claiming he's solved it. The chief gapes. "You're not joking, right?" Soryang coolly replies, "The sting itself revealed the truth." Muin shouts for him to spit it out. He begins explaining in detail, making Muin sweat while the chief eyes him skeptically. Then he looks at Yinjing and again declares, "First, we need to remove her clothes." As dusk falls, someone seals the isolation room. Hyun enters, confirming Soryang's right. Beneath old rashes are new fresh marks. Behind her stands Soryang with a swollen lump on his head, the chief arms crossed. Muin grinning. Finally, the clue fits. When Madam enters, she sternly orders silence. Yinjing still unconscious and everyone nods frantically. Mon coughs lightly, admitting Soryang was right. Besides rashes, there's something strange. Soryang just rubs his bump, half suffering, half smug. Mon anxiously asks, "Then why does she keep fainting?" Soryang answers firmly, "Bee venom." Mon stammers, protesting since the chief said otherwise. He argues the house is stone, no flowers, no bees makes no sense. Soryang scratches his chin, agreeing there are no bees, but symptoms match bee poisoning perfectly, meaning something similar is involved. His eyes flash open with sudden realization. His mind feels like a living library of venomous creatures. He reasons they must find something with toxins like bees' melatonin or peptides that cause swelling and breath loss. In his imagination, the cool forest of Hebei teem with suspicious life. Names race through his head: bai butterflies, Chinese cobras, scorpions, red ants, and crimson ants, all venom masters. Scratching his chin, he rules out snakes and scorpions, leaving the two elders staring, baffled by his detective logic. Then he pictures Yinjing devouring candy and realizes the culprit must be something she touches often. Lightbulb moment: she's addicted to sweets like a cat to dried fish. Remembering her secret candy stash, his eyes gleam as if unlocking treasure. Grinning wide, he declares the cause is bee venom and begs everyone to trust him once more. Hyun blinks in confusion while Mon veins pop, shouting, "There are no bees here." Soryang stays calm, saying toxins affect everyone differently. His Tang clan's experts in that field. Mon sweats, not getting a word. The chief pats his shoulder, agreeing that the same toxin hits each person differently. Soryang spreads his arms, explaining Yingying's hypersensitive to bee venom. Both men nod eagerly while Hyun watches quietly. He frowns, concluding she's allergic to bee venom, but if no bees exist, there's only one answer left. Mon stares like watching a magic trick, sweat dripping. In the yard, near two bees, the queen and another, Soryang announces, the culprit is a bee, but a special kind. Night falls. Soryang crouches by some rocks, Hyun holding a lantern, the two elders behind. The chief doubts him. Mon asks if he's sure. Soryang beams, "Absolutely." He tells Hyun to shine brighter. She nods, eyes sparkling with curiosity. He sets down a candy. Soon tiny ants swarm in for a sugar feast. One suddenly kills another, making everyone flinch. Soryang grabs his chopsticks, lifts the murderous ant and declares, "Here's the culprit." The elders freeze. It's clearly an ant, not a bee. He urges them to look closer. It's a distant cousin of bees. Mon grimaces, mentally choking on the bee. In theory, the chief suddenly pales, frozen stiff. The furious ant raises its tail, revealing a massive stinger. Both men gape. Ants have built-in weapons. The chief finally gets the bee relative idea. Mon just gawks, stunned by the biological overkill. Soryang explains this creature's a distant bee. Can the true cause of Yingying's collapse is a genuine stinging ant. Mon stares, sweating. The chief still trembling as Soryang announces the real culprit, the Asian golden ant, a hymenopteran menace behind every one of Yinting's fainting fits. The golden sting ant, bee's distant cousin from the hymenoptera family, has a temper hotter than frying oil. Someone gasps, "Wait, ants are related to bees?" "Easy," Soryang says. "Same ancestor, same looks, same nightmare. Science proves those allergic to ant venom can drop just as fast from bee stings. Soryang lifts the furious ant with chopsticks it thrashes like suing the universe. Pointing at it, he calmly explains it didn't target injuring, it was just freelancing as a monster hunter. Victims think it's a mosquito bite till they wake up clueless about their bad luck. Peng Muon gapes like a steamed fish. Stunned, his daughter was felled by a bug the size of a rice grain. He nervously asks the clan chief if there's an antidote, while the chief goes full philosopher mode. Open his eyes. The chief solemnly says yes, but for someone hypersensitive like Yinjing it's useless, at least now they know the danger. Muon grinds his teeth, boiling like hot pot, then exhales like a deflating balloon, staring helplessly at the sky. He turns, smiling his thanks to Soryang. The boy beams, nodding, no big deal. Confidently, Soryang declares he has a cure though slow both elders jolt, and Muon urges him to spill it. Soryang scratches his cheek, calmly naming it desensitization, making Hyun tense like a cat near a cucumber. Muon misreads it, you mean undress her again? Soryang nearly faints, flustered. He explains it means inject in tiny doses of venom till the body adjusts, long process but effective. Hyun blushes yet secretly admires him. The chief nods, impressed it matches the Tang clan's poison tempering arts. Muon confirms. So after this, my daughter stops fainting. The chief smiles, exactly but patience needed. Hearing that, Muon exhales in relief, smiling as the weight lifts. He pats Soryang's shoulder with a loud thump. The boy blushes while the chief and Hyun chuckle, like watching a play. Muon's eyes shine like headlights. Bursting with joy, he grabs Soryang's shoulders, shouting grandly, ask anything you get it all, making the boy sweat buckets. Soryang sighs inwardly, why does everyone here hand out infinite wish coupons so easily? Bowing, he says Yinjing's like his little sister, he can't ask for anything more. Muon laughs loud, slapping his back hard enough to crack ribs. Soryang yelps in pain. Suddenly his eyes sparkle like spotting free food. Grinning, he asks if he can join Muon on a mountain trip. The man blinks, confused about the surprise tour request. Next day, the four set out for Mount Ganga in Sichuan, where waterfalls look painted by gods. Muon marvels at the majestic view while Soryang eagerly describes nearby cliffs of wonder. Hyun confirms it's the very spot the general once mentioned. Soryang nods proudly like a top student. He soon frets, unsure how to reach the cave behind the falls, when Muon's eyes gleam with a bold idea. Remembering Soryang hasn't learned swallow wave glide, he hints mysteriously. Soryang bites. What's that move? Muon grins like about to unveil a secret martial art, but the grin dies instantly, replaced by Mathface calculating his student's odds of survival. He grabs Soryang by the collar, growling, Hansen training's faster. The boy turns pale as Hyun nearly screams as insane, and so the heroic Pang Moon yeets Soryang into the waterfall like a dart, making Hyun nearly faint. He lands miserably, gasping, while Moon lands before him, striking a smug master pose. Hands on hips, Moen laughs. Flexible body. Good. Soryang just wants to dig a hole. As Hyun rushes over like a nurse on shift, she helps him up. Right before them is the hidden cave behind the falls. Straight out of an adventure flick, Moen's eyes blaze as he declares they'll explore the cave's secrets. The waterfall roars like battle drums, while the group ventures deeper into the mountain's shadow. Soryang and Hyun gape wide-eyed, like stumbling upon treasure. Soryang stammers it feels strange here. Hyun silently nods in agreement. Before them shimmer crystal-covered rocks and withered grass, proof the general's tale was true. Though far from what they imagined, Soryang crouches by the crystals, studying like an archaeologist just as General Yaegel described, light piercing the cave's heart. On the ground, strange flowers bloom in ghostly light, a paradise beta version. While others marvel, Soryang just sees dead weeds, muttering it's more hell resort than heaven. Hyun confirms there's light. Yes, but no blooming flowers, everything's dried and cursed. Moen's voice turns grim, a sacred beast must have wrecked the ecosystem here. He focuses, spotting a central stone exuding cold so sharp it prickles the skin. Soryang nods seriously, the general was spot on. Moen instantly draws his sword, warning them to stay put. He steps forward slowly, like a martial arts sage entering legend. His eyes narrow, this chill isn't normal at all. Suddenly, a thunderous roar shakes the cave, everyone jumps. Soryang and Hyun wide-eyed like seeing a real mythical beast. Moen draws his blade, warning of danger ahead, while Soryang vibrates in excitement like a fangirl at a concert. A glowing shape crawls out from the rock, both bizarre and terrifying. It stares right at Soryang and roars again, leaving him speechless. It's a plump-tailed gecko. Frosty air radiates from its body, making everyone's skin crawl. The creature's palm-sized, golden-kneed, with a chubby tail like a walking sushi roll. Soryang clasps his cheeks, dazzled by its deadly cuteness. Hyun giggles, admitting it's beautiful. Soryang beams proudly, while Moen sweats buckets, but then he grits his teeth, something feels off. The gecko roars again. Moen tightens his grip, signaling there's another deeper inside. Soryang immediately imagines a lizard love story. He nearly snorts smoke, picturing a nest of baby geckos, then yells they must save both parents at all costs. The gecko glares as if saying, I'm not joking, it's chill thickening. Indeed, another lies in the crevice, weak and badly wounded. Hyun anxiously asks what happened, while Soryang peers closer, spotting a faint glow within the crack. His eyes darken with worry as he stares at the dying gecko. He whispers, it might not be breathing, and instantly the surviving one roars in fury. Calmly, Soryang assigns guard duty to Gupai, telling him to alert them if anything happens. The gecko stands guard at the cave mouth, eyes blazing, while Gupai hides behind a rock with a crooked smile, swearing to report immediately if still alive to do so. Soryang retreats from the cave. Time to run first. Think later. That night by the falls, they sit by the fire. Hyun and Moon watch Soryang meditate like a monk. Everyone knows. Touch the wrong beast and it's game over for both. Tiny centipedes crawl around Hyun like pets as she calls Soryang to dinner. Voice sweet as honey. He closes his eyes, imagining Hwaein inviting him instead. Blushing to Midord, his heart about to explode. The group starts cooking, aroma wafting through camp. Moon sits on a log, asking curiously for updates. Soryang, beside Hyun, murmurs, still motionless. Like a statue, Moon frowns, has seen it too, unmoving, not eating or drinking. How's that living? Soryang watches the flames, explaining calmly that reptiles under stress often fast, especially the fat-tailed kind. They store food in their tails like biological power banks. Decision time. Soryang proposes checking on the motionless gecko. Moon grins, thinking hunt, but Soryang quickly corrects. Check, not catch. He asks Moon to lure the guarding gecko outside. Earning a wide-eyed stare, Moon flexes and laughs. One punch. Done. Soryang pales. Picturing gecko pancakes, he hurriedly explains that Punch once launched a Jill squad skyward. This gecko would be a souvenir. Moon bursts out laughing. It's true. Then slaps Soryang's back proudly, joking it's tragic when scholars get bullied by pebbles. One punch, and that lizard meets its ancestors. Moon then asks seriously, so gentle Punch? Raising a finger, Soryang nods frantically. Exactly. With a stick, he draws a tactical map. Moon lures the healthy one, while he and Hyun inspect the injured one. Hyun tosses a few pebbles, declaring Team Anatoxin will cover them if the beast attacks. True strategist vibes. Moon asks for final notes. Soryang warns, don't let it climb walls or it'll crawl right to me. Moon thumps his chest loudly in assurance. His eyes gleam, muscles twitching. Battle ready. He charges into the cave like a fired arrow. Soryang screams desperately. Wait, not that step yet. Hyun and Soryang exchange resigned smiles. If the gecko's truly sick, it may not last much longer anyway. Moon strides in, sword raised like a Shounen hero. The gecko's eyes flare in fury. Soryang signals go, and Moon grins, thrilled for an epic showdown. He unsheathes his sword, steel flashing, inner energy roaring like a Wuxia storm. The team draws weapons, closing in on the rocks. The gecko instantly flips into deathmatch mode. Its eyes blaze crimson as its roar shakes the cavern. It leaps violently, shooting forward like an icy bullet. Luckily, Moon blocks in time. Sparks burst bright. The gecko's tail strikes so hard Moon laughs in disbelief. Tiny thing hits like a martial arts master. It retreats a few steps, gathering force for the next blow. Moon grins ear to ear, like a kid with a brand new toy. He shifts his sword gracefully, redirecting the creature's attack with finesse. The gecko froze, totally baffled about how it just got outmaneuvered. Peng Muon barked, now's our chance. Instantly, the squad surrounded the tiny creature like casting a fishing net. The gecko roared madly. Soryang trembled, but Hyun pressed his shoulder, whispering, now, go! They slipped away from the battle toward the rock. Soryang's eyes widened at the scene before him. Hyun asked anxiously, is it really hurt? He nodded. Seems so. He found its tail necrotic from an incomplete molt, and its eyes infected badly. Hyun asked what to do. Soryang touched the rock calmly. We must treat it, but we've got no meds. He grinned firmly. Then we'll just peel off the bad skin. Hyun froze, unsure if he was serious or joking. She sneered, you into peeling things lately. Soryang blushed but stayed firm. As he stepped closer, the gecko suddenly opened its eyes. He soothed, easy now. I'm here to help. The creature closed its eyes, letting Soryang lift it astonishingly. It seemed to understand him. He explained, this species sheds like snakes, then added, they usually eat the old skin, so leftovers are rare. Leaving Hyun gaping, he laid the creature on the rock. Drew his kunai. Bare hands couldn't cut the thick layer. In firelight, he delicately peeled the skin like a restorer handling relics. Hyun gasped as the skin shimmered like crystal, glowing with rainbow hues. Soryang deftly continued, stripping the skin from its legs too. Hyun pointed excitedly, looks like mini gloves. He laughed, recalling his YouTuber days when such clips went viral. Only the head and tail remained the grand finale of this lizard spat. Soryang focused hard, hands trembling near its fragile eyes. The gecko's eyes were swollen and crusted with pus, heartbreakingly bad. He worked slowly, each move as gentle as brushing butterfly wings. At last, the head skin came off neatly, no scratches. He smiled softly. Better now. The creature shivered, its eyes regaining light. Hyun stood beside him, moved as if witnessing a tiny miracle. Soryang leaned closer. Hyun whispered, something wrong. He murmured, yeah. He pointed at the tail, frowning. This was the toughest part. Sweat dripped if uncut. The rot spreads if cut. It's fatal. Just then, Peng Muon yelled, watch out, startling them both. He reported losing the other gecko's trail. Then it appeared right behind. a perfect jump scare. The creature's eyes blazed with hatred, so Ryong pleaded for calm. Cradling the wounded one, he raised his kunai, explaining he meant no harm, but the steel glint made the gecko misunderstand it. Roared thunderously. Icy energy burst forth, blasting Soryang backward. Dazed, he realized the beast had gone berserk. As it lunged, Hyun stepped before him, eyes fierce. Careful. Without hesitation, she shoved Soryang aside. The gecko slammed into the ground. The impact thundered, but they survived. Soryang fell holding the wounded gecko, while the other roared, guarding its mate like a beast possessed. Its eyes blazed. Soryang trembled, raising his hands. Wait, hear me out. He earnestly admitted there was a misunderstanding, begging it to calm down. Suddenly, Soryang's eyes widened in shock. The female gecko in his arms made a faint sound as if replying. The male froze mid-attack, looking oddly confused. It stopped completely, tilting its head like listening. Then the two geckos exchanged strange chatty sounds and chuckled, leaving Soryang jaw-dropped. Just then, Peng Muen's team rushed back, asking if Soryang was hurt. He gritted his teeth, admitting the gecko was fast and fierce. It even slipped between his legs. Seeing Peng Muen's sword, the beast snarled again, teeth grinding. Before it got worse, Soryang stepped between them, hand raised. Hold it, smiling calmly. He said he was fine and asked Peng Muen to back off. He wanted to talk to it. Peng Muen blinked. Skeptical. You're seriously gonna chat with it? Soryang stared the creature down. It understands us and it won't attack now. He asked Hoyan to fetch dry grass. She nodded, still clueless about his plan. Grinning, she signaled her centipede to help gather grass, like making a pet nest. Soon, a soft little bed was ready for the female gecko to rest, sitting beside. Soryang gently told the male had cleaned her eyes and asked it to lick them for healing. The male approached, licking her eyes with doctor-level focus, arms crossed. Soryang said seriously, one more problem, making both Hyun and the gecko turn. Scratching his head, he pointed, eyes are fine, but that tail's half-rotten. Licking won't help. The gecko followed his gaze, then nodded like, fair point. Soryang made a scissor gesture like a film director shouting, cut. The gecko sweated bullets, face pale about to witness tail surgery on its lover. It roared furiously, stunning Soryang. In a flash, it lunged, eyes blazing. Soryang screamed, crossing his arms like accepting doom. Hours later, Peng Muen's group sat by a campfire while Soryang and Hyun rested, looking wrecked. Hyun gently dabbed ointment on Soryang's cheek. He sighed heavily, just trying to help, yet got bitten while she warned, stay still, or you'll scar ugly. Peng Muen chuckled, now you look manly, battle scar and all. Hyun's glare shut him up instantly. Soryang touched his wound, smiling faintly. At least the misunderstanding was cleared. Baby centipedes climbed on Hyun's arm, playing like kids. Watching them, Soryang realized the gecko never meant harm, just love and protection. As they relaxed, Gupai suddenly appeared, calling the group. Soryang and Hyun turned at once. He arrived with the gecko, saying it had something to communicate. Soryang rubbed his sore cheek, smirking, so now it's interview time. The gecko nodded seriously. Soryang stood, promising to listen, but first, he had one question. Making it tilt its head curiously, he pointed a finger. What do you eat? Gotta feed your girl before any tail surgery? The gecko bounced twice, then turned, signaling, follow me. Soryang hurried after it as it led him to a small tree by the cliff wall. His eyes gleamed curiously, staring at the tree like striking gold. The gecko bit it off and proudly presented it like a trophy. He took it. Peng Muen and Hyun crowded in. Hyun asked to examine it, and Soryang handed over. She inspected carefully, her fingers brushing the stem. Hyun showed him the faint energy flow, declaring it a seed of spirit herb once growing in the cave. Soryang gaped like he might swallow it whole in shock. Peng Muen gravely said, spirit herbs sprout only where spirit beasts dwell. Huvin glanced at the baby centipedes napping, guessing they lived off the herb's aura. Soryang paled, realizing they just wrecked the baby's life source. He frantically tried to replant it, but Peng Muen softly said it was useless. Peng Muen laid a hand on his shoulder, saying once touched by humans, spirit herbs can't revive, and the gecko knows that. The dead plant left Soryang frozen like a statue. He pictured Jug uprooting herbs as baby geckos wept, choked up. Soryang felt mankind truly cruel. Peng Muen asked Gupai the herb's name, but he stayed silent. Finally, Gupai said it was frost ginseng, making Peng Muen ponder deeply. He grinned, saying they just needed something radiating the same chill. Soryang lit up instantly. Peng Muen nodded, smiling in agreement. He said ice jade carried the same cold essence as frost ginseng. Stroking his chin, he mused on how to find it since ice jade's prissier than gold. Hyun stepped forward, drawing all eyes. She declared solemnly that she knew who had ice jade. The group cheered like lottery winners. Soryang blurted curiously. She flinched, telling him to calm down. She broke into sweat while the two men looked lost. Hyun swallowed hard, face stiff as stone. She scratched her chin, admitting that someone was actually a kind of wild grass. Soryang froze. Peng Muen looked even more dumbfounded. She sighed, eyes turning serious. Soryang blinked, Totally confused, both men stared at her like watching a magic trick. Hyun smiled confidently, making So Ryong sweat bullets. He face-palmed, remembering wild grass was slang for a hot girl here. Peng Myun folded his arms, bluntly asking which girl had the ice jade. So Ryong nearly fainted. Hyun's eyes sparkled like she was about to spill juicy gossip. She revealed it was Nangang Seil, the flame peony queen of the Three Blossoms Miram. Xia held the ice jade unused, making Peng Myun beam while So Ryong's jaw dropped again. As they chatted, a baby gecko chirped, drawing So Ryong's attention. Its eyes welled up when Hyun asked. So Ryong said it was begging to save its mate. He decided to pause plans and treat it highway and nodded in agreement. He looked down among the rocks, spotting the wounded gecko asleep. He gently lifted it to examine while the other watched nervously. Hyun asked why it didn't cut its own tail. So Ryong sighed. Not every species can. That answer made Hyun stare like discovering a new subject. He explained autotomy, different geckos have different tail shedding abilities. So Ryong inspected closely, since some regrow tails and others don't, so he had to be sure. He touched the tail, searching for the split point, while Thean blinked cluelessly at the concept. So Ryong smiled gently, explaining the tail only detaches at a special separation point. High-on-gape geckos had ninja-level survival tricks, and so Ryong spoke like a reptile doctor. He reassured everyone, though his heart worried the rot was severe. His eyes burned with resolve. Head try anyway, retreat wasn't his style. The surgery began. Peng Myun watched tensely as time dragged on. He stared hard while the little gecko outside chirped nonstop like cheering. After a while, So Ryong appeared smiling, announcing success. Everyone exhaled relief. The tiny gecko teared up, eyes glistening like dew. So Ryong sat nearby, heart eased seeing the fragile life safe. Peng Myun gazed at him in awe. This guy was a living legend. The two geckos were placed back in their nest. The group stayed to monitor for days. Days later, So Ryong and Hyun returned to the cave, spirits high. Seeing the geckos playfully healthy, he smiled with pure joy, watching them bond. So Ryong chuckled, guessed their pet idols now. He saw the injured one fully healed, eyes glowing with happiness. Seeing them well, So Ryong bid farewell. The gecko looked sad. He smiled kindly, saying he'd just hunt food and asked it to guard the seed containing Kai. Both geckos nodded rapidly like saluting soldiers. So Ryong turned to Hyun, saying it was time to return to the Duong clan. His eyes gleamed. Time to hunt ice jade. Hours later, they sat opposite the clan chief at the Dong estate. They returned to news of the blood sect stirring chaos, tension thick in the air. A spy within the Miram alliance had been exposed. Warriors traced him through his pet owl. A mustached man hid behind a tree, peeking out like about to faint, his face drained of blood, eyes bulging in terror. The owl flew straight to the blood sect's AQ. Ninja shadows everywhere. A team from Miram arrived, carrying tiger-striped viper venom, the fearsome weapon from the last assault. The clan chief raised a thank you letter from the alliance leader, praising So Ryong, who just scratched his head awkwardly. The chief asked if they'd captured the mysterious gecko and said it'd check himself. So Ryong sweated, mumbling they caught half of it. The chief frowned. Hyun quickly told the whole truth. He set his teacup down, eyes deep in thought, stroking his beard. He pondered the matter of ice jade. Hyun stood, explaining they planned to visit Anhui province to the Namgang family. After some thought, he agreed and assigned them extra cargo duty. So Ryong sighed, unsure if this was a trip or disguised work. Before they left, the chief sternly called them back. He warned of dangerous rumors surrounding the Nangang family. So Ryong and Hyun exchanged uneasy looks. Bad omen incoming. Night fell on Huangshan. Two men crept along the quiet slope. The bald one trembled, asking if his friend was joking. The other swore the Namgang lady's odd behavior was real, making the bald guy snap, thinking it a prank. But his friend's gaze froze. Had seen something horrifying. They spotted a man lying motionless, pale as death. Panicking, they rushed to check. One lifted his head, unsure if he was alive. Suddenly, the man burst out laughing, a sound so eerie it made both men's hair stand on end. Turns out he wasn't fainted, just blushing, nose bleeding, panting like after a clumsy first crush. The other two stared at each other, utterly lost about how this world even worked. They decided to carry him home, thinking he was drunk. Unaware, a woman was watching from behind a tree. Strange, chilling aura seeped from her body. Her shadow stretched and grew, alive with eerie intent. She looked like a giant spider spreading over the web of night. Beneath the silver moon, another woman danced with her sword. Her eyes burned with unshakable resolve. Each blade stroke was light yet precise, sharp enough to slice tiny leaves midair. But soon her body trembled, breath ragged. She scowled in frustration, unable to control her own body. Feeling weak, she vowed silently to train harder. A braided girl appeared with a lantern, calling her Kong Jian. It was Nam Gunyun, sternly warning her to go home before her father caught her and scolded her senseless. She said Anae's sword art was superb, but as the eldest daughter, she must take care of herself. Anae just stayed silent. Then she removed her mask and hat. Eyes sincere as she admitted Yun was right. She was Mu Dan Hua Wang, the flame peony queen, eldest daughter Nam Gun Sul. Suddenly she coughed violently, startling Yun. Sul turned pale, hands shaking from the illness. Rampant Kai divergence. At first everyone thought it was heaven's gift. Her meridians were clear, her cultivation swift, her energy never clogged, but doctors said her channels were too open. Kai drained uncontrollably. Her father worriedly asked for a cure while the elder stroked his beard in thought. Sweating, he warned she must absorb Purian energy before her life force ran dry or shed die young. Back to the present, Sul panted wearily. Yun fretted, but but she smiled faintly, saying not to worry. Her gaze lingered on the dim lantern flame. She felt like that dying spark herself. In silence, she knew her life would fade once her inner oil was spent. She looked up, vowing to master the Emperor's sword art before time ran out. Beneath the moon, her eyes turned distant, resolved to train until her body turned to ash if needed. Next morning, a boat drifted lazily on the Yangtze River. Aboard were Soryang, Hyun, and Gupai. Gupai pointed excitedly at the water. A Beiji dolphin, thought extinct, making Soryang gape. The dolphin frolicked joyfully among the waves. Soryang was speechless, moved to see such a rare creature despite being more into bugs and reptiles. Hyun beamed, saying if they followed the river, they'd reach Wuhan, home of the Miram Alliance. Soryang nodded. Eyes alight, he explained that per his future father-in-law's orders, they had to stop in Wuhan to deliver red cobra venom, then sail to safe zone in Dong. Hyun cheered, saying at this pace they'd arrive twice as fast. Sitting beside her, Soryang looked pensive. She asked what troubled him. He said if ice jade was that precious, the Namgun clan would guard it tighter than gold. Getting it would be tough. He sighed that the thought kept haunting him. She scoffed, telling him to trust her. She made up a rule of 9 theory claiming ice jade was meant for Nangung Sil, who must eat it, though it sounded absurd. Then she pointed at him, saying now that they had that thing, they could trade it since, well, that thing's edible. Soryang touched his chest, nodding slightly. Makes sense, actually, but he hesitated. Cold-blooded snakes hate cold. Feeding them ice was torture. He called Hyun over seriously to discuss the risks. Remembering her talk about ice jades, Yin chill. He asked what that even meant, since to him, Yin and Yang were just 2 fridges in different colors. Hyun burst out laughing. She raised a finger, lecturing like a martial arts teacher. She said Yin energy fuels dark flame Kai, a heavy, descending force embodying cold and stillness, the cold in Kai being its strongest branch. Soryang paled inside. So basically bad vibes, right? Hyun shook her head, saying Yang energy could overheat the body, burning life force like a candle. Soryang pictured lizards hugging ice cubes to recharge. Realizing they absorbed Yin to live, he quipped, it's just like charging a phone. Yin and Yang are the plug-in cable. Then he scratched his head, wondering how to balance it while carrying pure energy. Hyun blushed bright red. She turned away, stammering that she didn't know either. Then she yelled, then we'll figure out the balance together, turning the air 10 shades pink. Soryang froze, face crimson, heart ready to combust. Hyun hid her face, mortified just as Gupai popped it. We're here. Docking now. The boat reached Wuhan's port under the golden dusk. Ripples shimmered as the boat touched shore. Soryang and Hyun disembarked. She introduced them and their cargo. A ponytailed man greeted them warmly, saying the general awaited. Crossing a stone bridge, Soryang's jaw dropped at the grand scene. He was awestruck by the majestic fortress of the Miram Alliance. Nearby, a woman dragged a man by the ear as he screamed like under interrogation, sweating buckets. The man begged Jianfeng for mercy, claiming he just wanted to teach someone a lesson. She barked back not to fight comrades. Another man chimed in, agreeing with Jianfeng. Shanghu protested he only defended the lady's honor. Suddenly, Sanghu froze mid-sentence, eyes locked. He realized Hyun was the poison blossom who once stunned the whole hall. Hyun turned and recognized him too. The man in the white scarf was Shillong Drax. The woman, none other than Jianfeng, and Sanghu the Azure Dragon, legendary face of the martial world. Hyun smiled, saying it'd been ages since the Dragon Phoenix assembly, filling the air with warmth. They chatted merrily while Soryang stood stunned. Everyone here had the Elite Dragon or Phoenix titles. Jianfeng turned serious, saying she had to ask about a strange rumor spreading about Hyun. Hearing that, Hyun froze. People were saying she had a lover. Soryang instantly broke into a sweat, mind spinning. She stammered, half in disbelief. That rumor's real. Sanghu chuckled awkwardly, confirming it. Everyone was gossiping, and he even planned to punish the rumor starter. Seeing him, Soryang suddenly realized the man liked Hyun. Hyun coldly denied it, saying the rumor was total nonsense. Sanghu fumed, vowing to find and beat the liar. Hyun stepped forward to stop him. Then she suddenly grabbed Soryang's hand, making him freeze like carved wood. Smiling radiantly, she declared, I don't have a lover, I have a fiancé, and introduced Soryang to everyone. Everyone froze in stunned silence. Jianfeng stared at Soryang, surprised he was so young. Hyun smiled awkwardly, apologizing for not introducing him earlier. Soryang bowed quickly, trying to act polite despite the chaos, but when he looked up, he met Seunghu's fiery glare like the man wanted to eat him alive. Seunghu strode forward coldly. You're Soryang, right? He asked. Soryang squeaked a trembling yes. Suddenly, Seunghu dropped to one knee. Everyone gasped. He introduced himself as Yang Shanghu, the Azure Tiger of the Yang clan from Xinjiang. Soryang broke into nervous sweat. With deadly seriousness, Seunghu declared a challenge. Soryang, fight me, he roared, leaving everyone frozen. Jianfeng and Shillong sighed in sync, clearly used to this nonsense. Drenched in sweat, Soryang stammered, you really want to fight? Seunghu nodded fiercely. A man-to-man duel. Jianfeng groaned and yanked him back by the collar. He still looked dazed. Hyun glared, scolding, what's wrong with you? What kind of stupid challenge is that? Jianfeng added, get a grip. Meanwhile, Soryang just stood there thinking, why does everyone I meet want to punch me? Just then, a man in white appeared, asking what kind of circus they were running here. It was none other than strategist Jun Chu. So-ryong bowed deeply, while Seong-hyo trembled like a student caught by the principal. Without a word, Jun Chu smacked Seong-hyo in the face with his fan, demanding what he thought he was doing to a guest. Seong-hyo took the hit, dazed like a drenched cat. Then Jun Chu smiled warmly, as if nothing happened, inviting them to the Heavenly Martial Pavilion where the Alliance leader awaited. So-ryong nodded eagerly. Zenju, So-ryong, and Hyun followed the group toward the pavilion. Sang-hyo still clenched his jaw, eyes bloodshot with fight lust his friends pulled him back. Whispering to spare his life, sunlight sparkled on the river beside the pavilion, water glinting like glass. Hyun stayed in the guest hall while So-ryong walked quietly beside Jun Chu. Inside, a nervous maid sweated and pointed the way, urging them to greet the leader first. So-ryong guessed she was a rookie. Jun Chu chuckled, praising the maid So-ryong for catching a spy, saying she replaced the traitor they just arrested. So-ryong gave a shy smile as the maid bowed, announcing the general and Duong clan envoy had arrived. The leader permitted them entry. The grand doors opened slowly, light streaming in with ceremonial grace. On the balcony, the Alliance leader stood calmly watching the view. Jun Chu and So-ryong clasped hands and bowed deeply in respect. So-ryong introduced himself as Wei So-ryong of the Duong clan. Sichuan making the leader raise a brow, he smiled kindly, inviting them to rest after their long journey. But his eyes suddenly sharpened, his body tensing as if sensing danger. Pointing at So-ryong, he asked, "Those tiny things on your arm and belt, they don't bite people, do they?" So-ryong stammered, "No, sir." Beneath his robe, the baby centipede slept soundly. He shuddered, recalling rumors that this leader was among Miram's top 3 masters. One glance and had spotted every creature on him. They sat down, and the talk swiftly turned to business. The striped water snake Venom, So-ryong confirmed, had brought it along. He grinned proudly, saying he'd even prepared 3 full jars, plenty for smooth trading. Jun Chu gaped, while the leader fell silent, knowing how rare that snake Venom was and feeling deeply moved. He then eyed So-ryong and mentioned hearing had married into the Tang family. So-ryong nodded in confirmation. The leader gently asked about his family, and after a pause, So-ryong admitted he was an orphan with no one left. Jun Chu chimed in, explaining So-ryong had lost his memory after an accident and once lived alone on Hannan Island, surviving by hunting snakes. The leader pondered, realizing So-ryong had endured a lonely, harsh life. So-ryong scratched his head and said he wasn't completely alone. The leader shifted topics, praising So-ryong's role in the blood demon incident and mentioning a reward. So-ryong was startled, saying he'd already told the general what he wanted. Zenju smirked mysteriously. His discovery had terrified the blood sect, so he fully deserved a grand prize. So-ryong hurriedly declined, saying he'd just happened to save someone and the promised gift was enough. The leader and Junju grew serious, their eyes sharp with insight. The leader asked again, confirming if he'd truly found it by chance while rescuing someone. He burst out laughing, realizing he and So-ryong shared a deep similarity. So-ryong blinked, and the leader quickly clarified it wasn't about looks. His tone dropped, becoming solemn. He revealed that the blood sect had wiped out his entire clan, and the woman he loved, in his quest for vengeance and to save what remained, had accidentally mastered supreme martial arts. The leader recalled hearing of So-ryong's heroic rescue of Tang disciples poisoned in battle. So-ryong confirmed it. The man chuckled, saying he'd done the exact same thing 30 years ago. The leader stepped closer, his presence commanding yet shadowed by old sorrow. He placed a hand on So-ryong's shoulder, stunning him with a rare smile. He decided to pass down the ultimate skill, Iron Fan technique. So-ryong and Junja's jaws dropped in total shock. The leader laughed, saying he'd never taken disciples and wanted his art to die with him just to ease Tang clan's worries, making Junju sweat bullets. So-ryong froze, sweating as if in a blizzard. He bowed deeply, promising to uphold his future master's honor. The leader smiled kindly, eyes full of trust. That night, So-ryong wandered the courtyard, clutching a heavy tome. It was the secret manual gifted by the Ming sect leader. He was to guard it absolutely, only the elders could know, or the blood sect would hunt him down. He planned to share the good news with Xuan, but a man suddenly appeared, eyes full of suspicion. The stranger ordered him to stop. So-ryong turned, wary but curious. So-ryong nearly had a heart attack seeing Seong-hoo blushing like a ripe tomato. Sung-yu stepped forward, stern as if reading a verdict. He said he'd heard So-ryong visited the Celestial Commander Pavilion and demanded a rematch. He declared bluntly that only a duel could prove if So-ryong deserved to marry Huane. So-ryong broke into a sweat, warning that kind of fight might end in a hospital trip. Sung-hoo raised his spear, saying he'd remove the tip to avoid injuries. So-ryong replied coldly that what's at risk was Seong-hoo's life, not his health. They locked eyes, sparks flying like a death stare contest. So-ryong's words made Seong-hoo explode in rage. He grabbed So-ryong's collar, roaring like he'd combust any second. Suddenly, So-ryong's shirt moved, freezing Seong-hoo in place. Tiny centipedes crawled out, shooting toward him like bullets. So-ryong hurried to scoop them back, gently asking for mercy as Seong-hoo collapsed in fright. His face went pale, sweat pouring as his brain failed to process what just happened. So-ryong approached with the same carefree grin, like nothing occurred. He softly reminded him, "Told you. These tricks are dangerous." He sat down right in front of him, making Seong-hoo sweat bullets like enduring mental torture. So-ryong coldly warned had spared his life once, better remember that. Seong-hoo gasped, soul scattered, finally realizing the horrifying truth. Without So Ryong's control, those centipedes would send him to the ancestors. So Ryong stood up. Eyes ice-steel. Seong-hyo stared as if seeing a demon in human skin. He asked lightly, "Still alive?" "Huh." Then Hain appeared, demanding what nonsense they were pulling at midnight. So Ryong froze in panic. Hain fumed, questioning if Seong-hyo intended to harm Soriel. So Ryong scrambled, claiming it was a misunderstanding. Seong-hyo was helping him find the way. Hyoin still looked doubtful, but spotting the centipedes crawling around made her disbelief grow. So Ryong improvised, saying he was showing Seong-gu the bugs to test killing intent, and the result was obvious. He added it was just a prank. Seong-hu nodded dumbly like a robot. Hyoin eyed them both with suspicion, sensing something was off. Still, she thanked Seong-hyo and told everyone to return to the hall. So Ryong forced a grin, then bolted off like chased by ghosts. Seong-hyo rubbed his head, sighing in relief for still being alive. After a while, So Ryong glanced back. He grinned mischievously, reminding Seong-hyo had saved him twice now. Then he left, while Seong-hyo stood frozen like a statue, brain on temporarily unavailable. The next morning dawned bright. Boats docked as So Ryong, Xuan, and Guppy prepared to depart. Xuan bowed, thanking everyone. Slaying Dragon told the young couple to stay healthy. Before leaving, Sword Phoenix called So Ryong over. Eyes filled with curiosity, she placed a hand on Seong-hyo's shoulder. He bowed respectfully to So Ryong. She thanked him for his generosity. Leaving So Ryong puzzled and clueless, Seong-hyo scratched his head, admitting he'd been foolish, making everyone laugh in relief. Eyes misty, he said So Ryong's forgiveness proved he was worthy of marrying Hyun. He asked So Ryong to take good care of her. So Ryong bid farewell with a smile, thinking they'd meet again at the Phoenix Dragon Conference. No need for grudges. The boat left the dock as Seong-hyo and the group waved happily. The sky filled with birds, the farewell as light as morning mist. Night fell at the foot of Mount Huong, a small inn glowing to welcome guests. The group stopped for dinner. The waitress served the food, then slipped away quietly. They had left Wooin for Anking. Guppy suggested staying overnight due to the treacherous mountain road, and all agreed. Hyun looked at So Ryong, amazed and impressed to hear had inherited the iron chest technique. So Ryong asked if similarity was good. She nodded, saying it hurt to train but granted an indestructible body. She eagerly explained iron chest was the supreme art of the Emperor's fist, rivaling diamond immortality, and didn't rely on inner force. Perfect for him. So Ryong was stunned, realizing success would make his body like steel, invincible to all blows. She smiled kindly, offering to help train, saying the first emperor used to whip himself every morning for body tempering. So Ryong gaped, and she earnestly insisted it was true. Tough skin needs a beating. He blushed, imagining Xuan wielding a whip in a maid outfit. Just then, an old man appeared, asking if they planned to climb Mount Huang. So Ryong turned curiously. Hyun nodded, asking why the old man cared so much. The old man introduced himself as the innkeeper and asked if they were heading to the Namgang clan. So Ryong jumped up in alarm. Hyun recalled her father mentioning creepy rumors, but wasn't sure if they were related to this trip. The old man said people climbing Mount Huan had recently gone missing, later found alive but completely drained of yang energy. So Ryong went pale. Hyun frowned, sensing something wrong, and asked what that had to do with the Namgang clan. The old man blushed and coughed awkwardly like caught doing something shady. He revealed every victim, claimed the woman beside them was Lady Namgang Xiao. Hyun was stunned stiff, face frozen like freshly carved stone. She furiously denied it as slander. So Ryong had to calm her down while the old man sweated in panic. He explained that everyone who heard the story lost their temper just like her. Under the bright moon, the scene shifted. The Namgang estate. Xiao Satsuit, gentle and refined like a maiden in an old painting. A maid entered, surprising her slightly. The maid reported that the clan leaders summoned her to the ancestral hall immediately. Leaving her confused, she rushed out, anxious they'd found out about her secret night training. Upon arrival, she froze in shock. Before her father knelt several trembling men, who quaked harder upon seeing her. The clan leader sternly ordered them to raise their heads, then bluntly demanded, "The woman you met that night, was it truly my daughter?" One man shivered violently, while the rest begged for mercy like chicken thieves caught red-handed. The leader roared for the truth, leaving Seal paralyzed. He turned to her, accusing her of sneaking to Mount Huang and draining men's life force. Seal panicked, eyes wide in sheer terror. Her face went ghostly pale as tears streamed down. Her father barked for a full confession. Through sobs, Seal admitted to training swordsmanship on the mountain but swore she had done nothing unholy. The leader faced the men, demanding proof or face punishment for slander. The fat one wept, insisting they only told what they saw, unsure if it was human or ghost. Suddenly his eyes widened as he remembered something crucial. He jumped up, claiming there was a mark of identification. The leader pressed for details. The man tremblingly pointed to his chest, saying the woman they saw had a mole right here. The clan leader turned to his daughter, voice uncertain, asking if that was true. Seal covered her mouth in panic, tears brimming like a student caught cheating. Seeing that, her father's fury erupted like a volcano. He was stunned, never expecting the rumor to hit the mark. Meanwhile, So Ryong and Xuan left the inn. Strolling through the forest night, Xuan looked furious, her cold aura rising like fog. So Ryong timidly asked if she was still upset about the innkeeper's tale. She denied it, though her eyes screamed otherwise. Ahead, Gupai lugged their bags while Hyun snapped that the rumor of Seal draining men's energy was nonsense, making So Ryong sweat nervously. She sighed, trying to calm down. She apologized for her temper, insisting the rumor was absurd. Ciel couldn't even touch men. So Ryong's eyes widened in shock. Hyun sadly explained Ciel suffered a strange condition. Yang energy was poison to her. Only Yin kept her alive, so intimacy with men was impossible. So Ryong's mind spun, wondering what genre this story had turned into. Hours later, they arrived at the Namgang estate gates. A guard sternly asked the purpose of their visit. Hyoyeon whispered a warning that the clan was in chaos and told So Ryong to invent a good excuse to get in. So Ryong cleared his throat and stepped forward, trying to look composed, then boldly declared, "We're here for business." The guard stared blankly. Xuan froze, her plan evaporating like soap bubbles, while So Ryong sweated buckets. Just then, footsteps echoed as someone emerged from inside. Both So Ryong and Xuan widened their eyes in disbelief. The newcomer was Namgang Yoon, equally shocked to see Hyen. Thanks to that acquaintance, the situation flipped completely. They were invited, and Hyun and Yoon rejoiced like old friends reunited after a long dream. Yoon, touched, said it had been 2 years since the 7 clans meeting. Hyoyeon smiled in return. Yoon curiously asked what kind of business they meant, making Xuan sigh while So Ryong gave a crook grin. Quick-witted Hyoyeon said they came seeking the Ice Jade, which Seal currently held. Yoon looked slightly startled. Xuan honestly explained they urgently needed and hoped to negotiate a trade. Yoon smiled kindly, saying they should meet the clan leader first. He'd surely be glad to see Xuan again. Hyun placed a hand on So Ryong's shoulder, smiling mysteriously, saying she had brought something special to trade for the Ice Jade, leaving him stunned like struck by lightning. Yoon gawked and blurted, "Wait, don't tell me you're trading." So Ryong himself. Soon after, the group was escorted to the Namgang clan's grand hall. They explained everything, and the clan leader lipped up, shocked as if thunderstruck. He hadn't expected them to bring a pill condensed with immense cold energy. Xuan signaled So Ryong to present it, smiling. So Ryong pulled the pill from his robe and placed it on the table. The clan leader's eyes instantly locked on it. Inside the pill shimmered a faint glow, like a frozen soul swirling within. The leader asked to examine it closely. So Ryong nodded permission. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Had guarded this treasure all along, praying for a smooth deal. After inspection, the leader marveled that its frost energy could sustain Seal's life for 10 years. Yoon gasped in awe. Seeing that, the leader agreed to exchange it for the Ice Jade. Xuan and So Ryong beamed in delight. The leader pointed at the glowing core inside the pill, asking what it was. So Ryong scratched his head with a crooked smile. "I'm afraid I can't say." "Sir." Understanding, the leader assumed it hid the pill's secret origin and didn't press further. So Ryong bowed gratefully. Yet inside, he trembled because the truth was far less glorious. A few days earlier, while walking with his grandfather in the clan grounds, So Ryong had felt his robe go icy cold. His grandfather asked what was wrong. He pulled out a strange object, eyes wide. It was a tail. He handed it over, saying it was a gecko's tail he kept as a souvenir since it glittered with icy crystals. His grandfather examined it closely, discovering it emitted cold energy, recognizing it as a rare material for ice cultivators. So Ryong realized the gecko stored energy in their tails, never guessing it was pure frost essence. The old man smiled and suggested, "Why not try refining a pill from that tail?" Now So Ryong wished he could vanish, for the grand trade item for the Ice Jade was actually a dried gecko tail. Delighted, the clan leader ordered Yoon to summon Seal to accept the pill and hand over the Ice Jade. Yoon happily obeyed. He invited the guests to rest and announced a banquet, also asking Xuan to look after Seal. He explained his daughter had just gone through turmoil and hoped Xuan would console her. She smiled and agreed. The group stood up as Yoon enthusiastically guided them to the guest quarters. They left the brilliantly lit hall behind. Outside, the trio strolled through the courtyard as the wind carried the scent of bamboo. Yoon said thanks to Xuan, her father had calmed down before that. The Namgang household had been tense as a bowstring. Xuan asked about the Mount Huang rumors. Yoon was surprised she had heard of them too. Her eyes dimmed with sorrow, though she refused to believe it. All signs pointed against Seal, lacking evidence. Sal had been confined to her room like a caged bird awaiting vindication. Inside the gloomy chamber, Sil was forced to use virgin sand to prove her purity. Xuan gaped, while So Ryong froze like he'd just heard alien science. The powder was made from geckos fed with cinnabar, their red bodies used to test chastity. Xuan explained they grind the gecko into powder and rub it on the body if untouched. The red mark won't wash off. So Ryong's eyes nearly popped out. He fumed. How could chastity tests be delegated to lizards? Xuan hurried to calm his outrage. Just then, they reached Seal's quarters, and the sight stopped them cold. So Ryong's eyes widened in utter shock. Not far away, Seal sat quietly. Her hands were still stained with the red powder of cruel proof. Xuan greeted softly. Seal froze upon seeing her, like a jade statue. Yoon handed her the cold energy pill, saying her father wished to trade it for the Ice Jade. Sal looked astonished, feeling the strong chill radiating from the pill. She smiled gratefully and agreed to the exchange, making Xuan and So Ryong beam like lottery winners. She drew the Ice Jade from her robe, then placed it into So Ryong's hands. He admired it like holding an ancient treasure. Sal sighed faintly, her sorrowful gaze catching their attention. Xuan gently said she didn't believe the rumors and urged Sal to stay strong. Sile lowered her head sadly. Too many people knew the exact spot of her mole. So Ryong's eyes sparkled. A mystery to solve. He covered his mouth, grinning smugly like a rookie detective handed his first murder case. In his past life, during every deduction game, they called him Sherlock Faber. He eagerly asked if Seal ever bathed at night in a stream. She blinked. Confused, Schwan cut in teasingly. You mean someone peeked at her, right? Making So Ryong's face freeze in guilt. Blushing, Seal admitted she had never bathed outdoors, and anyone whom I've seen her was a close villager. Yoon snorted, mocking, your logic's rotten from root to leaf. So Ryong broke into nervous sweat. Mortified, he dropped to his knees, begging pardon for his wild guesswork. Just then, Schwan narrowed her eyes, sensing a clue. Folding her hands, she declared boldly that she had solved the case. Everyone looked at one another, hearts racing for her verdict. She grew solemn, ready to unleash a world-shaking twist. In the heavy silence, Schwan announced the culprit's name. The group stared at her, breath held. She paused dramatically for maximum effect, then proclaimed, loud and clear, the culprit is a ghost. Yoon and Seal broke into cold sweat. Eyes wide with shock, Schwan nodded firmly, while So Ryong stood dumbfounded, expecting deep philosophy, only to get literal ghosts. He stroked his chin thoughtfully, eyes glinting with doubt, then recalled once meeting the spotted centipede's ghost after its death. So maybe, yeah, not that far-fetched. So Ryong seriously asked if Seal had eaten or touched anything supernatural lately. Seal pondered, eyes filled with thought. She said she had touched an acorn and a tree branch. Everyone silently realized her innocence bordered on divine. Suddenly, Sile's eyes lit up as if remembering something vital. She recounted that during her night training, she had sensed something or someone lurking around her. It felt like invisible eyes had been watching her all along. Yoon asked in disbelief, but Xiao insisted she hadn't imagined it. She wondered if she was just too sensitive, while So Ryong started suspecting something sinister. Just then, a maid rushed in, panicked. Gasping for breath, she reported an urgent crisis, making Seal instantly anxious. The maid trembled as she revealed another villager had gone missing. She added that the clan's warriors had already gone searching. Leaving Yoon stunned, Sile lowered her head, fury simmering silently. So Ryong gently asked after her. Determination flashed in Seal's eyes. She swore to catch the culprit and reclaim her honor and dignity. Yoon tried to stop her, fearing she'd get in trouble again if she went out. Sile smiled confidently, saying she wouldn't act alone this time. Yoon blinked, not catching her meaning. Seal clasped Hyun's hand. With a pained look, she asked if they were willing to stand with her. So Ryong and Hyun gaped in total surprise. Night fell, owls hooting softly through the forest. One owl turned its head, watching the group searching the woods. Yoon clutched Hyun's hand nervously, afraid her sister would be punished if caught. Hyun could only offer a wry smile. Yoon whispered that So Ryong must be helping restrain her, but then noticed he was already sprawled beside Seal. Leaving her stunned, he could only smile weakly. Too flushed to respond, Seal pulled out a golden ornament. She explained it was a Norigi accessory made to hold the ice jade, and the others listened silently. She said it was the easiest way to carry the gem safely. So Ryong and Hyun examined it closely, eyes wide with. Seal split the Norigi in two, revealing it could divide into twin halves, symbolizing connection, and promised one to So Ryong if he helped her, nearly stopping his heart. All eyes fixed on the glittering ornament. So Ryong grew thoughtful, pondering deeply. He placed a hand on his chest, declaring he only wanted to defend Sile's honor, not for the gift, but Yoon could tell he was bluffing. Seal urged her sister to stay calm, while Yoon fumed as Hyen awkwardly smiled to ease the tension. The group halted after trekking for a while. Sile recognized the area as where Shed once felt watched and decided to inspect it carefully. Hoyen trembled, asking what if the stalker was a ghost. Seal drew her sword, channeling purifying aura, making So Ryong break out in cold sweat. Suddenly, So Ryong spotted something strange that piqued his curiosity. A heavy mist rolled in, obscuring everything. He turned frantically, losing all sense of direction. He shouted his teammates' names in panic. Stumbling through the fog, he realized he might already be lost. His foot hit something, and his heart pounded wildly. Looking closer, he found it was a spider web. The silk was unnaturally thick, meaning the creature behind it wasn't small. A terrifying scream echoed, making him whirl around in fear. Recognizing Yoon's voice, So Ryong sprinted toward it. He summoned his tiny centipedes, Grace and Mira, for backup. The two dashed ahead, eager to protect Haya. So Ryong ran full speed through the forest. He noticed everyone seemed to be drawn deeper into the web-choked woods. He recalled his biology lesson: some spiders weave webs, others hunt freely. He realized this forest was dangerous, no one should wander here. Yet the absence of ground webs meant the creature was something truly unnatural. A red mist rolled through, then faded. So Ryong steeled himself to find his team. He halted in the forest's heart. The trees before him were cocooned in thick layers of silk. His eyes widened, unable to comprehend the horror before him. Then Yoon's voice rang out, making him look up and freeze. She was bound in spider silk, strapped to what looked like a chair. It was actually a tree trunk, sending chills down So Ryong's spine. He spun around, breathing hard. Atop a massive spider's back sat a shadowy figure. That figure smiled mysteriously. It was Seal, but her glowing, corrupted eyes radiated pure malice. She gazed at So Ryong with a seductive, demonic grin. He stood frozen, unable to believe the nightmarish sight. The ground was covered with webbing, a sign of an unrecorded spider species. So Ryong clenched his teeth, meeting Seal's terrifying stare. She sat regally on the giant spider's back, and he finally pieced together the truth. The seal before him wasn't real, just part of the spider disguised as a human limb. The pedipalp, a spider's sensory organ, was often mistaken for its front leg. In truth, it was used for sensing, hunting, or mating. Seal began undressing, revealing her shoulders clearly, using seduction as a predatory lure. So Ryong blushed furiously, thinking she didn't need to seduce him, had surrender anyway. Yoon woke up, struggling against the sticky threads. Seeing So Ryong entranced, she fumed had fallen for the spider demon's charm spell. The young man stepped closer, making the spider grin triumphantly. Love struck, so Ryong praised the creature's beauty like she was a celestial maiden. Without hesitation, he hugged the spider, stunning it for a few seconds. The monster's eyes blazed with fury. It bared its fangs, ready to strike back. At that instant, So Ryong ordered his centipedes to attack. The tiny duo shot from his robe, sinking their fangs into the spider's neck. The creature shrieked in agony, shaking the forest. So Ryong backed away as the centipedes returned to perch on his shoulder. The spider lifted a trembling limb toward him, as if begging for mercy, making him hesitate. It touched its neck, then wobbled unsteadily. Moments later, the massive body collapsed with a heavy thud. So Ryong panted, unsure if the venom had been strong enough. He poked it with a stick, reasoning that while centipede poison was potent, this beast might have resisted. Then he even patted it gently, murmuring, "I was just saving you from angry villagers." Okay. His eyes sparkled with odd excitement. Unable to resist, he hugged the giant red spider with 4 glowing spots. Its soft fur mesmerized him. He stroked it fondly, muttering praises like a connoisseur. Out of curiosity, he leaned in to see what the 8-legged beauty really looked like. But as he lifted the spider's skirt, Huyen suddenly flew in with a heavenly kick straight to his face. So Ryong's eyes rolled, his mind spinning like a top. He flew backward into a tree while Huyen sternly declared the spider a monster. She told him to breathe and focus his energy to stay calm. Then she panicked, realizing her kick might have been a bit too much. So Ryong stared blankly at the sky, brain empty as if visiting heaven. Minutes later, he crawled up, and Huyen frantically asked if he was okay. Worried, she explained the forest mist was the spider's lure. Those who inhaled it fell into a trance like under aphrodisiac fumes. She'd tried breathing it in but expelled it with inner force. When she checked on him, had just shrugged, saying he felt nothing weird, stroking his chin. So Ryong deduced the villagers' madness came from this gas, likely spider pheromones. Then he casually touched the corpse, asking Huyen what kind of species could emit mist and venom. Making her shiver in horror, Huyen lowered her head, mumbling an apology so softly it was barely audible. Her face flushed bright red, thinking he'd been seduced by the spider. Though honestly she wasn't entirely wrong. So Ryong calmly stroked the spider's leg, claiming it was biomechanics research, making her panic and stop him. Despite trying to stay calm, she blushed, recalling something odd. Red body, 4 spots, velvet fur. Soryong gawked, clueless why she was so tense. Then came a soft cough. They turned around at once, curiosity maxed out. Seeing no one, Soryong wondered if the spider had just coughed. Another cough made him nearly drop his eyes out of shock. It was Yun, still wrapped tight in silk, had totally forgotten her. She sobbed as he hurriedly unwrapped the thick threads and helped her down. They laid her down carefully, Hyen and Soryong sitting nearby. Yun was pale but breathing just paralyzed. Huyen sighed in relief. As dusk fell, Soryong said they must find Seal. With the fog gone, Hyen could track better. Before leaving, he decided to do something that puzzled Huyen. He used the spider's own silk to tee up its massive body. Within minutes, the package was neatly cocooned, dragging the spider corpse to take back for clan analysis. Huyen could only stare in silence. Suddenly, Sile appeared from the forest, leaving Huyen gaping. Seeing the scene, Sile's eyes filled with dread. She saw Yun gasping faintly, heart tightening. Tears and fury mixed. She swore to destroy the beast that shamed and hurt her sister. Sword drawn, she charged to finish the creature. Soryong went pale, shouting for her to stop. Without hesitation, he leapt in front of the spider. Sale froze, her sword hanging midair. She pointed the blade at the beast, ordering him to move aside. But Soryong stood unmoving, statue still, confusing her further. He thumped his chest, declaring, "I caught it, so it's mine." Huyen stared, utterly stunned. Seal bowed her head, silent and conflicted. She took a deep breath, suppressing rage, then glared sharply, voice dripping suspicion. "What did you just say?" Her anger erupted. "Say that again," she barked. Soryong gulped, thinking killing a tiny spider seemed overkill, especially since she once nuked a salamander with one spell. Huyen hugged Yun, pleading for Seal to wait. "She's alive, just paralyzed." Hearing that, Sile's eyes softened. She sighed and steadied herself. Queen warned killing the host would distort the spider, dooming Yun's name forever. She sternly advised Seal to think before acting. If they brought the spider to the clan, truth would emerge, and so Ryung's rescue credit be clear. Both women gaped in surprise. Sile sighed, lost in tangled thoughts. She sheathed her sword, apologizing for her outburst. So Ryung waved it off awkwardly. He grinned and gave Huyen a thumbs up for staying calm. Sile, curious, asked about the spider, so Ryung said he'd take it to the Tang clan. He brushed Seal's hair, tearfully calling her adorable, making the air awkward. Seol froze, face blazing red, heart racing wildly. She muttered that So Ryung already had Hyun, shyly looking away. Hyun sighed, clarifying that Seol misunderstood. Hyun explained So Ryung meant the spider looked cute. Seol turned purple with embarrassment. So Ryung blinked in confusion, thrown off by her reaction. As night fell, So Ryung asked what the two had been whispering, but they quickly changed the subject. At dawn, Seol and the spider were escorted back with Lady Yun. Everyone gawked at the colossal nightmare-like spider. The clan head raged, ready to behead it for impersonating his daughter. But So Ryung swiftly stopped him, promising the truth would clear it. Hearing that, he calmed down, while So Ryung chuckled at how alike Seol and her father were. The clan head, moved, shook So Ryung's hand, thanking him for saving both daughters and promising any reward he wished. So Ryung pointed at the spider, smiling, saying he'd take this friend with him. The clan head agreed but frowned, still troubled. Looking closer, he went pale. The spider still wore Lady Shan's form. Sternly, he told it to change shape to prevent future heartbreak. So Ryung stroked his chin, realizing this face rights issue wasn't simple. Turning around, he froze, mouth agape at the sight ahead. Chaos erupted like a sudden storm. So Ryung rushed to Guppy, who reported that the crowd was in full uproar. 3 elders screamed in fury, calling the spider a fraud and demanding its execution. Guppy sternly blocked them, declaring the creature an official guest, making the trio pale and bow in apology, arms crossed. So Ryung said the proof was enough, ordering Guppy to lock the gate to protect the spider. Guppy obeyed, sealing the gates and ending the chaos. Then a shout "Wait!" cut through the air, drawing all eyes. Bald old man hobbled forward. Trembling, panting in terror, he coughed violently, begging to glimpse the creature, but guards refused. Sweating, he pleaded again for just a moment's look, yet they held firm. So Ryung smiled and granted permission. Touched by the elder's persistence, the man bowed in gratitude. The elder approached the spider, studying every detail as the group watched breathlessly. Tears streamed down his cheeks, and the spider gazed back, seemingly recognizing him. He gravely asked So Ryung if he planned to kill it. The young man calmly vowed he would not. He said the being was precious, to be taken to Sichuan and treated as an honored guest. It had done no wrong. The elder was deeply moved, never hearing such compassion before. Without hesitation, he untied the spider, shocking everyone. So Ryung shouted in alarm, voice cracking with fear, but the ropes fell, and the old man's trembling hand gently stroked the creature's head. The spider's eyes glowed bright, as if recognizing a long-lost kin. So Ryung watched, confused yet sensing a strange familiarity. Studying closer, he realized this elder was his like-minded companion from years ago. The old man softly said the spider's name was Yo. He told how, after losing his family to plague, he met the tiny creature and bonded as soulmates. Over 20 years, he fed Yo with his yang energy until his weakness made it unstable. Finally, he confessed Yo had harmed Lady Nangung, a fault entirely his own, leaving So Ryung stunned. Tearfully, he admitted his strength was gone after years of guilt, but knowing So Ryung would care for Yo, he could die in peace. So Ryung bowed deeply, vowing to raise the spider girl with all his heart as if she were his own child. The old man tearfully told Yo to follow So Ryung, admitting he was too frail to protect her anymore. Master and pupil embraced one last time, tears mingling between man and spider. So Ryung wept, moved by their bond, feeling Yo was truly the old man's child. He gently stopped him, urging him to come along to Sichuan instead of parting forever. The old man shook his head, voice trembling. Too old, bound to his ancestors' graves. So Ryung smiled, asking for guidance on caring for Yo, and the old man eagerly shared all his knowledge. Blushing, So Ryung shyly asked about transferring yang energy, the part he was most curious about. The elder demonstrated by letting Yo suck his finger, saying that's enough, or lying beside her also works. Yo suddenly transformed, and the elder explained it was her true form shaped by her master's ideal beauty. She turned into a stunning woman, the very image of his late wife, leaving him blissfully emotional. With a mischievous grin, he invited So Ryung to try. So Ryung hesitated, then gently placed his finger in Yo's hand. Instantly, Yo transformed again, leaving him slack-jawed. His heart fluttered, convinced she had become Lady Hyun this time. But when the form appeared, both stood frozen in utter shock. Guppy and the host gawked, asking nervously, "Is this your type?" Yo had turned into a stiff wooden doll. The elder was astonished, had seen that form only once before Yo learned to mimic humans. Dupai Penet, asking why she didn't become Lady Hyun, while So Ryung just sweated in confusion. He realized maybe it was because villagers deemed Nangung Seal the true beauty, and though the fairest in Zhongyuan was Du Ho Tang Hyun, Yo still didn't turn into her something he couldn't comprehend. So Ryung bolted, convinced the Tang clan would see this as treacherous betrayal. Leaving chaos behind, he gasped, unable to accept that he preferred poison over his crush on Lady Hyun. Desperately searching for a saner reason. Meanwhile, Hyun was in Namgung Yoon's guest room, sitting beside the resting girl. The door burst open. So Ryung stormed in, leaving Hoin bewildered. She stared, confused by his frantic look. When he said he had a favor to ask, his eyes gleamed seriously. "Can I hug you?" Hyun's face turned tomato red. So Ryung waved his hands, insisting it wasn't like that, then muttered that a tiny misunderstanding wouldn't hurt. She stood up, trembling, realizing he'd discovered what she'd been hiding, covering her face. She admitted she'd only read about it in books, unsure if it was true, so she'd stayed silent. So Ryong was completely lost. Taking a deep breath, she decided to reveal everything about the spider. Turns out, Yo was the human-faced spider, one of Zongyuan's 10 deadly creatures. The boy froze like a statue, brain crashing. He gawked, unable to believe Yo was one of the 10 great venoms. Hyun bowed her head, softly explaining she hadn't meant to deceive him. She'd promised long ago to be certain first. So Ryong studied her closely, slowly grasping her long hesitation. She stepped closer, thinking, a promise must be kept. Without a moment's doubt, she wrapped her arms around him. So Ryong's face blazed red, like a freshly picked tomato, but a sudden cough made them both jump. Nam Gung-yoon had woken, blushing, hesitantly asking if she should give them some privacy. The boy flailed awkwardly while Hyun couldn't meet his eyes. The sun rose high, flooding the house with golden light. 2 days later, So Ryong began bidding farewell to Seal and the others. Xiao bowed repeatedly in thanks, promising never to forget their kindness as the group left the Namgung estate, ending their journey. Luckily, after absorbing So Ryong's yang energy, Yo took on Lady Hyun's form, sparing him from curious stares. So Ryong gently asked if she was okay, soothing her with a promise of freedom at journey's end. Filling Yo with joy, the spider girl sat caged while Guppy asked about their next move, and So Ryong slowly explained, had planned to head straight for Mount Gongan to find the fat-eyed geckos. But with Yo along, he hesitated, thinking to stop by the Tang clan first. Yo shook her head wildly, worrying So Ryong whether she was upset or unwell. Her uneasy eyes stirred pity in everyone. He stepped closer to the cage, eyes misty, touched by her concern, vowing to get them to their goal quickly. Filled with resolve, So Ryong stuck to the original plan straight to Mount Ganga. Du Pai immediately agreed. The boat drifted downstream through a dreamy shroud of mist. The young man rowed leisurely, enjoying the view like a carefree tourist. On board, 2 soldiers whispered about the Azure Dragon Alliance leader personally joining a new assault after Bloodsect captives revealed more heady outs. A ponytailed soldier said the last battle was bizarre, no injuries, only the enemy poisoned by strange mist. So Ryong froze. It was clearly his doing, they discussed. The ponytailed one asked which hero caused that miracle. The other said his name was kept secret to avoid Bloodsect revenge, but had always admired that unknown savior. So Ryong buzzed with excitement, his inner past life YouTuber screaming, "What a viral story!" Lost in self-flattery, no one noticed they had already reached Mount Ganga. The group disembarked, heading toward a roaring white waterfall. Sheepish, So Ryong admitted his lightness skill was terrible, asking Hoyan and Gupai to take the kids across this time. No one was tossing him. Gupai scratched his head, saying without So Ryong the geckos might not follow. Hoyan agreed, offering to hang vines for easier crossing. Suddenly, a warrior shouted and pointed skyward, making So Ryong look up, baffled. On the cliff, Yo was climbing like crazy. So Ryong yelled for her to stop, but the spider girl didn't listen. She suddenly shot silk midair. Then, with a stunning leap, she soared over So Ryong's head like an action hero. She landed gracefully right before the whole group. Everyone froze, eyes wide as teacups, unable to believe what they'd seen. Yeo extended her hand, and So Ryong stared, thinking, wait, can she fly? The word ballooning spiders gliding on silk for miles popped into his head. The stray silk threads along the path were proof of that miracle. He gaped. Yo could do ballooning too. An idea lit up his mind right as the spider girl hugged him tightly. Thanks to that epic jump and ballooning trick, they both landed safely beside the waterfall. So Ryong beamed with joy, considering the mission a wildly successful win. So Ryong hugged Yo tightly, exclaiming, "You're the most versatile creature in the universe." Yo smiled brightly, but Hyun frowned, grumbling that it felt weird seeing him hug her. Since Yo wore her face, So Ryong panicked instantly. He quickly released Yo, told everyone to wait, and decided to fetch the Gecko clan himself. He entered the dark cave, his breath echoing in the damp chill. Light filtered through cracks above, shining on the familiar geckos waiting. Smiling, So Ryong waved, making the whole group turn at once. Seeing him, they lipped joyfully while he ran over to check for injuries. The little ones licked his face nonstop, making him laugh in delight, heart full of warmth. He pulled out the white jade ice, raising it to sparkle and lure the whole pack home. As they nodded eagerly, So Ryong grinned and named the cute pair. The girl was called Shu, and the boy was Bing, hugging both. So Ryong decided to bring the little family back where they belonged. From then on, Sue and Bing officially joined his chaotic family crew. That night, a shadow appeared before the Tang clan gates. The guards froze, stunned as if seeing ghosts. It was So Ryong, Gupai, Lady Hyun, and Yo still in Hyeon's form. 2 Hoyans standing together left everyone speechless. Once they realized one was a spider, confusion exploded even more. So Ryong cleared his throat. Striking a dashing pose, he proudly declared, "The Tang clan's beloved son-in-law has returned victorious and escorted one of the 10 deadly creatures." The guards nearly choked but sprinted off to report the news. Fireworks burst overhead, spreading celebration across the estate. So Ryong's back with one of the 10 deadly creatures. The news spread like wildfire. In moments, the clan head, his wife, the Grand Elder, and others swarmed out like startled bees. The Grand Elder, recalling So-ryong's plan to fetch food for his lizards, blinked at the spider and demanded, "How did that happen?" The clan head and his wife gaped. The spider bore their daughter's exact face. Calmly, So-ryong recounted the journey, saying they'd met Yo by chance at the Nangang estate, leaving everyone more baffled. The elders murmured, suspicious yet intrigued. How could one just accidentally meet a topped and venomous being? Then the grand elder burst out laughing, boasting, "This son-in-law pulls off absurd miracles daily, truly worthy of the Tang name." The clan head laughed too, proclaiming So-ryong the Tang family's official son-in-law. His wife cheerfully confirmed the old betrothal promise was now fulfilled. So-ryong stood dumbfounded, wondering how Hyeon's mother knew. While Hyeon blushed scarlet, the clan head gently said the past no longer mattered. He was family now. The grand elder casually told him to catch a live goose by morning, leaving So-ryong blinking in confusion. Chuckling, he explained it was a traditional engagement gift too early for marriage, but the betrothal must be formal. So-ryong's face froze, his mind spinning. The clan head pointed sternly, "Once the ritual's done, no backing out," making Hyeon cry out for her father to stop. Laughter and chatter filled the Tang clan hall. A soft smile slowly spread across So-ryong's lips. He turned, eyes gleaming with pride as he looked around. So-ryong clasped his hands and bowed, expressing his gratitude. The whole clan smiled warmly, joy shining in their eyes. Hyeon clenched her hands, heart racing with mixed bliss and nerves. With confident voice, So-ryong declared, "From now on, I am of the Tang clan of Sichuan, a true son-in-law." Hoping for harmony among us all, the first thing he did at the Tang residence was prepare housing for his little companions. Yo chose to live beneath the ancient tree beside the village well. Since the lizards were as gentle as puppies, So-ryong let them share his room for a lively household. Once all was settled, he sat chatting with his beloved pets. "You guys comfy?" The geckos grinned, and Yo nodded wildly like a rattle drum. He told Yo to come find him if hungry, then asked if she knew the way. She only smiled mysteriously. She gestured toward the silken web spread all around the house, leaving So-ryong stunned. Turned out she'd spun a defense net. Any intruder would trigger vibrations that instantly alerted her. Hyeon stood frozen hearing that, while So-ryong's eyes lit up like headlights. "So if I touch the silk, you'll come right away?" he asked. Yo clapped happily in confirmation. The gecko's eyes sparkled too, seeming to say, "Well, guard you as well." So-ryong teared up, heart melting at their pure devotion. He spread his arms to hug them all, thinking this was truly the most reliable little family ever. Their new home brimmed with life. Then came the big day, the engagement ceremony. Simple yet heartfelt, with gifts exchanged as a vow of lifelong bond. But while preparing the wedding gifts, a hiccup occurred. Hyeon appeared, holding two geckos. So-ryong gawked, stunned and confused. The girl smiled mysteriously, and he froze, realizing she planned to gift the geckos as wedding presents. His mind screamed, "Wait, they're not decorations." Cold sweat poured down. What kind of lunacy used lizards as dowry? He silently cursed his rotten luck. The image of Hyeon flashed in his mind. He knew she loved the geckos but hadn't expected her to blurt it out during the ceremony. Embarrassed yet earnest, So-ryong apologized, saying the situation was awkward. Leaving Hyeon puzzled, he gently took her hand, gazed into her eyes, and explained that betrothal gifts symbolized lasting love, not temporary cuteness, so a proper one should be eternal, like the white jade ice. Hyeon blushed bright red. He smiled softly and added, "The goose stands for lifelong happiness, the engagement scroll for sacred vows. From today, what's mine is yours." Hyeon's eyes shimmered, nearly brimming with tears. Turning away shyly, she nodded, and So-ryong secretly scored himself a perfect mark for romantic delivery. Then she softly called him, sparking his curiosity. With steady gaze, she said, "From now on, just call me Hyeon, no need for formality. We're engaged after all." So-ryong flushed like being splashed with hot pot broth, heart thumping wildly. The two geckos hopped about playfully but shared a worried glance. He could only nod shyly in response. The next morning, at sunrise, they were summoned to meet the clan head. The clan head began warmly, "Did you two sleep well?" While So-ryong silently wondered what kind of lecture awaited him this time, the chief's tone turned serious. Had called them to discuss So-ryong's grand cultivation method, making the boy instantly attentive and curious. Hyeon softly explained it was about learning the Tang clan's inner arts through venom absorption. So-ryong suddenly recalled, that meant the 10 great poisons. The grand elder smiled kindly, praising So-ryong's capture of the human-faced spider as good fortune among the 10. It was the weakest and best for beginners. So-ryong asked if it was time to learn top-tier techniques, but the elder shook his head, saying he had another matter to propose. He reminded that So-ryong once planned to train using 10 poisonous beasts, but the elder had a better idea. Leaving So-ryong wide-eyed, calmly, the grand elder said upon reviewing So-ryong's toxins, he recalled an ancient Tang secret long forgotten. He asked gently, "Do you know the 5 venoms?" Making So-ryong blink again, brain spinning for an answer, he cautiously asked, "Is it the 5 venoms reversion art I've heard of?" "Sir." The grand elder nodded, raising 5 fingers. "Lizard, centipede, scorpion, snake, and toad. These form the foundation of the 5 venoms reversion." He solemnly proposed So-ryong practice the 5 venoms divine art, making the boy sweat in both excitement and fear. Folding his hands, the elder explained that in the Tang clan, Venomous creatures were divided into beasts and spirit beasts. His eyes gleamed. Ordinary beasts bore simple toxins, but spirit beasts had intelligence, mystical powers, even inner cores. So Ryong asked if beings like the golden-furred Behebra King, the fat-tailed gecko Shu and Bing, the spotted centipede, and the human-faced spider were spirit beasts. The elder nodded, revealing that was why he had another suggestion. Laughing heartily, the Grand Elder said the standard 5 Venoms reversion used mere beasts, thus limited in power, while the true Heavenly 5 Venoms divine art surpassed all bounds. He explained that this art allowed absorption of spirit beast venoms, and Sorang already had 2, the green-spotted centipede and fat-tailed gecko. If he obtained the venoms of a serpent, scorpion, and toad of similar level, he could cultivate the full divine art. That was his advice. Sorang gaped, remembering the foul gecko wasn't poisonous at all. Stroking his beard, the elder chuckled. It emitted extreme cold, which counted as its venom, leaving Sorang completely stunned. Before him lay 2 paths: absorb toxins from the centipede and gecko to learn the 5 venoms reversion, or collect venoms from the human-faced spider and other supreme beasts to unlock the dual core of 10 venoms. So Ryong curiously asked if all 10 poison beasts could be used for the 5 venoms body. The elder shook his head. The fat-tailed gecko wasn't part of that list. He scratched his chin, realizing the easy path meant mediocrity, while the hard path could lead to legend. Pewing just stared, unable to read his thoughts. He chuckled wryly. This was basically picking a skill branch in Enrop. His past life gamer instincts echoed, mess up your skill tree and your career's doomed. Today's choice would shape his fate. The Grand Elder advised him to think carefully. The 5 Venoms divine art was a rare masterpiece, but finding all 10 poison beasts required heaven-defying luck. Those words snapped Sorang out of his thoughts. He sat frozen, weighed down and utterly lost about what to do. Between the easy but limited path and the harsh one of endless potential, his heart split in two, his mind spiraled into chaos, tangled like a maze with no exit. Hours passed. Sorang sat still, hair messy, eyes blank. Hyun looked over, worry flooding her gaze. She softly said, if the promise feels too heavy, don't force yourself. The 5 Venoms reversal art alone makes you a prodigy. Her eyes were gentle yet firm, reminding him not to choose in confusion. He'd still be himself. Still Sorang, he smiled, saying both paths begin the same, only differing in the final venom. So had think it over a few more days. Days later, Sorang lay sprawled on his bed, mind tangled despite all preparations for the grand cultivation. Seeing 2 geckos playing, he chuckled bitterly and muttered, so, which path should I take? Huh! Huing burst in suddenly, making Sorang lift his head in confusion. Gasping, she shouted, the blue-spotted centipedes are about to shed again. Sorang jolted up as if struck by lightning. Without a second's pause, he dashed straight to the yard where the centipedes lay. Seeing them, both felt relieved, calm washing over their hearts. The centipedes' bodies were now hard as stone shells. Remembering their recent growth, Sorang was shocked it came so soon, while Huing wondered if they'd look different. Sorang grinned proudly, saying this time their bodies would have shimmering blue patterns. His eyes gleamed with joy, heart racing at the thought they'd look more like their mother. Huing smiled with hope, while he believed they'd soon be cuter than ever, but then Sorang's gaze froze with sudden realization. Excitement vanished, panic hit if they weren't dry before the ritual. Disaster loomed. He ruffled his hair in frustration while Huang just watched. Clueless, Sorang recalled that the fat-tailed gecko's venom required special preparation to use. He hesitated between the blue-spotted centipede's venom or Yo's. Knowing a wrong choice would ruin the fusion, he sat pondering, aware forcing it now would backfire. Yet waiting was no better. Imagining a gecko-centipede brawl, he realized he'd been stressing over nonsense. 2 days later, Sorang's grand cultivation ceremony officially began. The ritual took place in the dark great hall of the Tang clan. Though he'd wanted to delay for the centipedes, the complex prep made it impossible. Everything unfolded like an intricate rite, starting with hundreds of alchemy furnaces. Each furnace brewed a specific herb to extract its pure essence. The essences were mixed in a massive cauldron, marking the first step. Next came a mix of toxins and beast blood, needing perfect precision to avoid ruin. A single delay would spoil it all, so Sorang chose Yo's venom. Staring at the pitch-black liquid, he couldn't help but shiver. The Grand Elder signaled that the moment had come, telling him to strip and step in. He removed his clothes, placing his feet into the thick mixture. Slowly, his body sank into the mysterious dark liquid. The spreading sensation stunned him. It felt like soaking in a warm herbal bath. The Grand Elder cheerfully said they'd add Yo's venom to trigger the reaction for his body to absorb. He laughed that it should be unbearably painful, but Yo's toxin numbed the nerves, making Sorang break into a cold sweat. The Elder left to fetch the last ingredients, leaving him alone in the empty room. Soon after, Quian entered smiling, carrying some geckos and Yo. Huing joyfully announced the centipedes had finished molting. Glowing jade green, Sorang admired Nova, Mira, and Grace. Amazed by how adorable they become, the centipedes climbed to the rim of the cauldron, looking like cute little bug toys. Seeing them stare into the pot, Sorang burst out laughing at the odd sight. He told Hyun to take them away for safety, and she nodded, calling the little ones over, but Vilva stubbornly stayed, eyes fixed on the dark liquid. It slipped, its antenna barely touching the mixture. It convulsed violently, shocking So-ryong. He shouted for Huing to wash Nova immediately. Its feelers had touched the poison, sending her into panic. She grabbed Nova to clean it, but Nova's mouth suddenly opened, and a few drops of saliva fell into the pot, making So-ryong stare wide-eyed. The drops turned the liquid's color and made it boil violently. Huing paled as the toxins spread through the cauldron. So-ryong bit his lip, body tense as stone. Seconds later, a scream of agony tore through the room. He writhed in pain as if burning alive. Lady Huang panicked, telling him to stay calm. The liquid began corroding his flesh, his face flushing red. The pain was hellish, yet he held still, obeying orders not to leap out. White foam bubbled from his mouth. Everyone froze. Huang covered her mouth, eyes brimming. When the Grand Elder and clan head returned, they were horrified by the scene. They rushed over as Huang trembled, explaining the centipede had accidentally spilled venom in. So-ryong weakly begged for help. The Grand Elder supported him while the clan head urged slow breaths and not to faint. He opened his mouth, blood spurting out, pain beyond bearing. His hands fell limp, body collapsing, stunning the clan head. Everyone panicked, fearing he was gone. So-ryong's eyes slowly closed as darkness swallowed the world. He felt himself sinking into a silent sea. Gradually, his eyelids twitched, light seeped in. Before him lay Nova, sleeping peacefully. When Nova touched him, a strange energy spread through his body, warm and powerful. Hours later, So-ryong gently opened his eyes, making Lady Huang burst with joy and call the Grand Elder. He opened them fully, breathing steady. Huang wept with relief, while his grandfather smiled kindly. The weight finally lifted. So-ryong rubbed his head, realizing he was still in the Great Hall as Huang softly asked if he was hurt anywhere. The Grand Elder explained had guided Kai through the Baewei Point to save him, and though Yo's venom failed, his body absorbed centipede poison instead. Ritual complete. So-ryong chuckled bitterly, realizing Nova had just dragged its dad onto the Five Venoms path. Worried, he asked if Nova was all right. Remembering its feelers touching the toxin, Huang and the Elder were surprised. She said she had washed them right after it happened. She had done it in panic, unsure if it'd live or die. So-ryong looked at her, eyes full of concern. She turned away, slightly sulky, making him guilty for rushing to the centipedes after their engagement instead of his fiancée. The headache returned, making Huang quickly ask if he was alright, but So-ryong's serious gaze showed he only cared about Nova. Huang and the Grand Elder were stunned. He worried more for the centipede than himself. She sighed softly, realizing he wasn't fully conscious yet. The Grand Elder told her to call a healer while he exhaled in relief. At least he could still move. 2 days later, once the cauldron's mixture had dried, the grand ritual was officially complete. So-ryong was summoned to meet the Grand Elder. The Elder asked carefully, planning to examine him, but So-ryong insisted he was perfectly fine. In a calm tone, the Elder said So-ryong had now stepped on the path of the Five Venoms reversal art and would be taught its secret manual. He listened, fascinated, and widened his eyes when he learned there were 5 martial techniques. The centipede venom claw, brutal and body ripping, the serpent's death grasp, and the scorpion tail combo striking like thunder, the gecko wall step, and the explosive toad palm. He explained each move embodied a different form: claw, hand, leg, body, palm, each pushing the limits in its own way. This art led one to merge body and poison as one. So-ryong's eyes gleamed with excitement. Seeing his grin, the Elder knew he was hooked, though So-ryong was surprised it didn't feel like an evil art at all. The Elder coughed lightly, agreeing, saying it hadn't originated from the Tang clan. Then, closing his eyes, he revealed the truth. The Five Venoms reversal art and its 5 deadly techniques came from the lost sect of Wu Dujio, long eradicated. 200 years ago, Tang clan's second son, famed genius, fell for the daughter of the Beast Palace of Nanmen. Defying fierce opposition, they eloped, founding the Wu Du sect, fusing Tang poisons with Beast Palace martial arts, committing the ultimate taboo. In the end, both were hunted down, and a century later the sect was wiped out in the forests of Yunnan. The Grand Elder raised his hand, saying after that tragedy, both clans reclaimed their arts, leaving only the Five Venoms reversal and its 5 poison techniques. Since the clan's martial paths intertwined, conflict never ceased. Only Tang dared train it, as it required accepting poison to the flesh. Legend says the last sect master fought both clans alone, making the art a myth. So-ryong felt this was made for him and shivered. Realizing the Elder had planned it all from the start, he bowed in gratitude, vowing to train hard, making the Elder smile proudly at his bright future. And thus, So-ryong's journey with the Five Venoms heaven reversal art began. He stepped out of the poison hall, stretched and took a deep breath. Awed by the sunlight he hadn't seen in ages, a tiny centipede dashed up, stunning So-ryong. It was Nova. The little one trembled with tears of joy seeing her master safe. He realized she'd been waiting for him all along. So-ryong grinned, flexing his arm to show he was fine. Teasing, "Not your fault, Dad's tough as an ox." Nova leapt into his shirt, wagging her tail as if nothing had ever happened. He winced slightly at her tiny pricks but let her crawl freely. Nova stared into his face, making him a bit uneasy. She slithered down his sleeve, making him blink in surprise. A thought flashed: could she read his mind? Then he dismissed it, just coincidence. He told himself longtime pet owners always imagine weird stuff anyway. Thinking it over, he laughed at himself. No way a centipede could read emotions. But Nova suddenly glared, clearly not amused. She looked angry, leaving So Ryong flustered. Unsure what had done wrong, he widened his eyes. Half scared, half curious, he silently thought, "Nova, climb onto my head." And shockingly, she did exactly that. Then he hid behind a tree, telling her to find him, and in a blink, Nova did. So Ryong grew utterly baffled as it happened 3 times in a row. No coincidence this time. Nova sighed like an adult humoring a clueless kid, eyes saying, "So Neve, really?" He froze, feeling like he'd just been dragged into a supernatural movie starring his own centipede.